All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Spoken Studios. I'm sorry, scratch that. The Starcade Media Studios. I get that right half the time, but today wasn't that day. Been a little off on this, man.
Walking out.
Episode 190 of the Spoken Podcast is here. I'm here with my guys, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz. Full swing, full motion. We're finally here, man. It feels like a long week. I've been out of town on vacation. Things have just been a little bit different, man. I feel like it's been a long weekend. Happy Halloween to everybody out there that celebrates. Trevor and I obviously are in the festive spirit when it comes to that. I heard Eddie might actually become Mario tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true, Eddie? Where's Yoshi? Where's Luigi? Where's everybody? Where's the princess? You got to save him tonight? What are we doing here?
I ate him yesterday, so Mario could be full when he puts on the costume.
Yeah, he's a plumber, so he'll be.
I'll be.
Maybe we'll have
I'll be
Clay.
laying the pipe tonight.
Maybe we'll have Clay play the Mario theme track on the background of this when we're playing this episode.
Oh no!
Dun, 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 dun. Nevertheless, man, we want to thank you guys so much for being here with us as we are here with you guys today to talk a lot of NFL football. We know that this is the Chiefs bye week, so there's obviously not a game to preview, but we have a lot to look back on, man. There has been 7 weeks of football that the Chiefs have played to this point. I want to get to a lot of that, man. We have a lot to get to when it comes to that. We have the Eddie Hour, obviously, we need to get to. I'm sure he's got some very, very good thought-provoking questions for us across the landscape of the world of sports. We're obviously going to give you guys week 8 NFL picks, but I also wanted to do something different today as well, where we actually go and look at the AFC playoff picture as it's currently constructed, and which teams do we think are Super Bowl contenders, which teams do we think are legitimate playoff contenders, and which teams are just absolutely fraudulent. And trust me when I say there are plenty in all 3 categories. And we're going to get to all that because obviously we have to end off every single show with a series of L's in the world of sports. We can't end a show without doing that. That's what we do here at the Spoken Podcast, and we can't wait to get to all of that. But we want to start here, right here in this in particular game that we just had last week against the 49ers. The Chiefs went into San Francisco as I believe 1.5 point favorites on the road. We saw how the Niners not only added back a lot of players off their injury report, and these guys got healthy at the right time for the majority of the roster, but they also added a stud running back in Christian McCaffrey. They traded 4 picks to get him from the Carolina Panthers, who looked to be in a fire sale until they beat the Buccaneers that week, which was absolutely hilarious, and I'm sure we could talk about that later on. But we knew that the 49ers were about as stacked as they have been all season long, because this has been a team that has dealt with injuries pretty much since the beginning of the season. Losing their starting quarterback in Trey Lance, Nick Bosa getting hurt, Eric Armstead, Charvarius Ward, Tufanga, all these players that are key contributors to this roster had been missing. And then they all get right. And I made a joke. I actually posted a video on Twitter of the scene from Hard Home in Game of Thrones when the Night King raises up all the dead and Jon Snow's looking there just shitting his pants. That's what it looked like for the Chiefs each and every week when they face a good opponent. Everybody just gets healthy at the right time. It's just so funny how that works every single week. But the Chiefs into this game with no excuses. Or the 49ers, rather, had no excuses in this matchup because they were not missing a ton of key contributors as they have in the last couple of weeks. The only, I think, key player they were missing in this one was Eric Armstead, which is a big loss. He's a really good defensive lineman, but they had Nick Bosa back, they had Tufanga back, they had Charvarius Ward back, they had a lot of guys on their defensive back. And going into this game was the number 1 ranked defense at home, off a frustrating loss against the Falcons, just absolutely getting shelled on the defensive side. They were feeling like they needed to come back and redeem themselves in a big game, in a big matchup against the Chiefs. And this game showed us just how great the Chiefs are and can be more than any other game this season, Because unlike the Bucs game, which going into this week against the 49ers was their big matchup, their big blow-up, their glow-up game, because it was a statement victory at that time against the number 1 ranked defense at their house, against a Tom Brady-led team that was frustrated and trying to prove themselves as well and trying to redeem themselves as well. But unlike that game against the Buccaneers, the Chiefs were down 10 points in this one. We remember in that Buccaneers game, the Chiefs had an early lead. They got the special teams fumble, and a couple plays later, Travis Kelce gets a touchdown. The Chiefs are leading. They never looked back. In this game in particular, the Chiefs were down 10-0. And it was a very frustrating 10-0 because the Chiefs were doing things that they did like they did in the Colts game. We had Sky Moore muff a punt. We saw the offense not executing correctly, and we saw the defense miscuing down the field, making it look easy for a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, that we have no business allowing that to happen and take place for a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. But the Chiefs had a 10-point deficit, and unlike the Indianapolis game, the Chiefs turned it around, and it felt very much like the Texans playoff game from a few years ago when the Chiefs ultimately ended up going on a 44-13 run. Now, it's easy to look back and say, well, I was never worried. And honestly, I wasn't either. I was pissed off because, like I said, field goals missed, muff punts, just mental errors, mental lapses, which was giving the 49ers that game. And like I said, before you knew it, the Chiefs put it on. The offensive line started to play some nasty football. The defense started to get pressure. The special teams started to work in their favor with Isaiah Pacheco running the ball back for about 55 yards. And then you saw the Chiefs click. When their offensive line plays like that, no team can beat them. When their pass rush is getting pressure on the quarterback like that, no team can beat them. When Mecole Hardman is effectively playing that quote-unquote gimmicky role, no team can beat them. When Juju Smith-Schuster, MVS, and Travis Kelce provide 333 receiving yards and the running attack gives them 115 rushing yards while averaging 7.7 yards per carry, no team can beat them. The Chiefs have faced the number 1 defense in the NFL 3 times in just 7 weeks this season. They're 2-1 in those matchups, and they average 35 points per game. With 2 40-plus point games, in fact, the Chiefs not only comfortably lead the league in scoring, only team in the league that score over 30 points a game, they're the only team with more than 1 game of 40-plus points scored, and they have 3 of them. We talked about all offseason about how this team was going to miss Tyreek Hill. And Trevor, we were watching the old Red Tribe Cinema videos, which, by the way, if you've not watched Clay's newest adaptation that he's put out there, you've absolutely been missing out, guys. He put out another masterpiece, another banger. But we were out here watching some old Red Tribe Cinema videos, and we were watching the Tyreek one, the running man. And we're like, man, we missed this guy. Trevor, you mentioned it. We missed this guy. We missed it because it was fun to watch. But this offense is better now. As crazy as it sounds, and it's something I've been praising this team for weeks and weeks and weeks now, they're a better collection as a unit than they were a year ago. From explosive plays to scoring in general to the way Patrick Mahomes is playing football, record-wise, they're 5-2 at this point. Last year at this point, I believe they were 3-4. This team as a whole is significantly better, from the draft picks to the offseason acquisitions to just in general the way this team is motivated, and they've made statements more times than they have not against legitimate foes. I know the Buccaneers now are 3-5 and they don't look like the team many were expecting. This is the team I was expecting. I didn't have them in the playoffs. But when the Chiefs faced them, they did have the number 1 ranked defense. Chiefs went in there and kicked their shit in their hometown or in their home stadium on primetime television. And then the San Francisco 49ers coming off a big loss. Number 1 defense. Everyone's getting healthy. Everyone's getting right. Over half of the nation was watching that game. The Chiefs did the exact same thing. Maybe in a different sense, but the same results at the end of the game. I look at this team right now at the bye week. I see them at 5-2, which was the exact same record I gave them at the start of the season. At the bye week, I had them at 5-2. I'm actually even more optimistic about this team now than I was at the beginning of the season. And the biggest reason why is because when the Chiefs need to make those plays, when the Chiefs need to have these types of performance and make these types of statements, more times than not this season they have done that. Have they had their struggles? Yes. Their run defense is not good right now. Their special teams has whiffed a lot of times this season, and it has actually cost them a game this season. Patrick Mahomes has had some costly turnovers. But if you were to tell me that by week 8, Patrick Mahomes is leading the league in completions, yards, touchdowns, quarterback rating, and QBR. I would tell you this team's in good hands, especially when, again, you consider the fact he lost his most deadly weapon just a few months ago. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this matchup as a whole, what you guys took away from this game, and what you guys are taking away from this team through 7 weeks of the NFL schedule. Because if you look at the rest of the schedule, the Chiefs have already gone through their gauntlet, and they have a 5-2 record. Now they face several teams down this slate of either losing records or completely underwhelming teams with decent records, but they're actually fraudulent. I want to get your guys' thoughts on both these things. Start with you, Trevor. What did you take away from this game? How do you see the Chiefs shaping up so far, almost halfway through the season?
Well, I mean, there were some good narratives going into this game with the rematch being one of them, the Super Bowl rematch. Us, ironically, going down double digits again to this team. And then the narrative of the addition of Christian McCaffrey. How much is he going to play against the Chiefs? The Chiefs have been struggling against the run. Is that going to really be, a troubling matchup for us? And it was. They still ran the ball, pretty in a healthy amount. They were getting pretty good chunk plays through the run. But as of late, I mean, it definitely seems like a lot of times we're letting teams kind of move between the 20s and really, really tighten up. Once they get down towards the red zone, and it's been pretty effective. Honestly, we still don't allow too much points. We don't allow teams to score very much. Just all I wanted to see was getting pressure on Jimmy G, getting sacks on Jimmy G, and a lot of guys showed up to do that. Chris Jones was getting pressures consistently. Frank Clark had his best game of the season. Sucks he's to be missing the next 2 games. That's unfortunate after having his best performance, but at least he's resting, taking 2 days, or going to have these 2 days off, sitting on a nice performance instead of a bad one. If you have a lot of time to sit there and think about your last performance and it was a bad one, that's not the best thing for your personal morale. So I'm glad he had a good game. Now he can take these 2 games off. Unfortunately, it sucks not having him out there regardless. But, But, I mean, overall in this game, I was expecting a dogfight. I really was. But, I mean, when we previewed this game, I let you guys know that I felt we were going to put up a good amount of points. I didn't think it would be in the 40s, but I had us in the upper 30s for sure. I think I had us with 35. But we scored almost 10 more points than that. Even with the muff punt.
And they left points on the board, yeah.
Yeah, with the missed field goals and the touchdowns called back.
Yep.
Juju should have had 2 touchdowns in my mind. So, I mean, MVS was getting chunk plays. It was good to see. Should have been 3 ball catchers with over 100 yards because Travis Kelce had 98.
Yeah.
And, yeah, man, I mean, what a performance against arguably the best defense in football. Yeah, they're a little banged up, but they've got pretty much everyone back, like you said. So, this was, heading into the bye, you couldn't ask for a better performance from this team. It was very impressive. And once the game started, I was a little nervous heading into this matchup. Not that we wouldn't put up points or win, but this is one of those rematch games to the team that lost the last time and is a well-coached team, runs the ball well, just got a really good new weapon. Debo scares the shit out of me, which we shut Debo down. He didn't really have a Debo game in any sense of that. So George Kittle looked great. That was a good matchup between him and Kelce. They were both, with National Tight Ends Day, they both performed well. We were getting eaten up the middle. Jimmy G, in my mind, is trash, but he was able to dice us up over the middle consistently. That was a little frustrating, but I feel like a lot of times, like I said, we kind of allow that. We allow one soft spot of the defense, and if they want to continue to eat through there between the 20s, fine. But when things get tight, our defense has been stout. And that's really all I can ask for. It's really about, I don't care about how much yards we allow. It's really about the scoreboard. That's all that matters to me. And we've been doing well at not allowing too much points against us, outside of some garbage time games that look like they were better than they weren't. But this game, this was a Pat Mahomes game. He did what we expect him to do. He went out there and lit it up. Obviously the person that stole the show in this game was McCole Hardman. Setting that record, being the only player in NFL history with 2 rushing.
Only wide receiver
in NFL history with 2 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown with the hat trick. That was just a performance we're probably never going to see again. That's for him to be the first guy to do that. That's probably something we're never going to see again, at least for the next 50 plus years or so. That's a unique stat line for him, and I'm excited that he put that on tape because I'm pretty sure he's going to get paid this next offseason by someone other than us, most likely. But this game was fun. I mean, it was a fun game. We were down double digits, but as a Chiefs fan, man, like that's why I love that Pat McCaffrey quote when he talks about it must be so fun to be a Chiefs fan. Not for a lot of reasons, but for this being one of the main reasons. When you go down double digits, it's like, nah.
Yeah.
It's like you go down 10 points. A lot of teams are, a lot of fans are like, God damn it. You know what I mean? You got 10 to 20 points, you're starting to worry. I didn't feel any of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is one of the best defenses in the NFL, arguably the best defense, at home in San Fran. And I never felt any of that. I never felt any of the pressure. I knew we were shooting ourselves in the foot early, but a lot of teams don't recover from that. But we are one of the unique teams that can do that because we have a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes, and he went out there and just after that mistake, after that interception, which was a tip ball, by the way, it wasn't a bad, terrible throw. It was a tip ball.
Well, and Sky Moore ran a loose route. It was supposed to be a short. Yeah, well, the defender did tip it. Tufanga got the ball. The point was Sky Moore ran a wrong route.
Right.
They actually broke that down. Brian Baldinger and a couple other guys that do film study. He was supposed to do a sharp route, and he ended up doing a route where he kind of faded, and it gave the defender an opportunity to read the ball. It was a great play by the defense, but yes, it wasn't really a bad throw from Patrick.
Yeah, Sky Moore had a rough day.
Yeah,
to say the least. I still believe in the kid. I still think he's one of the future pieces of this offense. He's a very talented young man. He's just got he's kind of got to get out of his own head and he's a rookie, man. Not all rookie receivers thrive.
Most don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not all going to be Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
Right.
Okay.
And those are all first-round picks.
Those are guys that were elite, ready, NFL-ready guys right away, and they were true number one. He's more of a not a gadgety guy, but he's got a lot to learn. He's going to thrive in this offense eventually, and we have weapons all over the place. So he's going to be all right. He's going to learn from guys. But this game was fun. That's my word I took away from this game. It was just a fun game. I never worried that we were going to lose it or the game was in jeopardy. Our defense looked good, especially in the second half. The second half adjustments were looking good. So yeah, Pat balled out. It was the McColl game. Travis Kelce had damn near another 100-yard game again. Yeah, it was just we just forced our will onto this team, and when we do that and our offensive line plays like that, I mean, there's not much you can really do. So we got everyone involved for the most part, and it was just a scoring party, man, and I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, I love what the offense did out there after the first after the interception early on in the game. Obviously, cost us a few points, but yeah, I wasn't worried at all. It was a little shocking that we went out there and just gave the ball away like that. I know you said Sky Moore did a kind of like a fader route instead of a sharp route. Yeah, and that was Patrick trusting that he was going to run the correct route. I get it. But defensive-wise, where my worries are, I know you guys said we had a great defense game or whatever. My biggest concern is the running game, the run defense. It's non-existent. If the 49ers decided to run the ball the whole entire game, they could have probably won. Why? Because they would have just ran the clock down. They ended up trusting Jimmy Garoppolo with throwing the ball. I don't know why. Obviously, he had a couple missed throws. He had a couple picks. So I like how the Chiefs put the foot on the gas and made the 49ers kind of change game plan as the game went on. Instead of running the ball, they started focusing more on having Jimmy throw the ball, and I like that. But this run defense, it's a little concerning to me because yes, it's the starting of the season, so hopefully they tighten that up as the season goes on. But if they don't come playoffs, you can't have that kind of defense going into the playoffs because they're just gonna try to run the ball and keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes, which we know Patrick Mahomes is deadly. Doesn't matter how much time you give him. Other than that, it was a great game overall. I think our pass defense, our pass rush was amazing. Frank Clark finally did something that we all were shocked and actually impressed at. He had the safety. He had a couple sacks, few pressures. We finally saw the Frank Clark that we saw in 2019. 2019. The Frank Clark that we knew was there, but he hadn't shown it yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knows that this is his last season in Kansas City, but he's slowly progressing as the season went on. Obviously, now the suspension that hit him for 2 games. Not too concerned because it's Titans, Jaguars. We're going to miss him, but I don't think it's going to be too drastic. But I love the way he came into this game and just dominated Trent Williams. He made him look like a rookie out there. He was just beating him with the speed. I don't know where he got the burst of speed, but he was just beating him. And he actually beat him to the safe to get the safety on Jimmy Garoppolo. That was impressive. Nick Bolton again. Willie Gay came. Finally, we saw Willie Gay back, and we saw what he can provide to this defense. Chris Jones doing his thing, and finally we see what Juju and Patrick Mahomes can be in this league. And it's funny because they talked about how they played Call of Duty the couple nights before, and they saw that the chemistry was building up, and we saw it as well. The game prior to the 49ers, we saw the chemistry started building up with Juju. And we saw now with the 49ers game that the chemistry is slowly getting better and better and better. Mm-hmm. And we saw MVS chemistry with Patrick Mahomes has been the same since the start of the season. But now you have MVS and you have Juju, who are starting to be both confident and having that chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. This is only making this team even more deadly. Why? Because now you can't just focus on Travis Kelce and focusing on him, doubling him up. Because now you have to focus on Juju, who's having a great season, and then you have MVS, who's also having probably his arguably best season in his NFL career.
It's on pace for it for sure.
Yeah. So now teams have to worry about 3 receivers, and then obviously Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman. You have to worry about Mecole Hardman now with the run game, with the jet sweeps. It's like this team took a step forward after Tyreek Hill. I think this game, to me, the Tyreek Hill conversation is finally over. It's over. What this game showed me is that Tyreek Hill conversation, done, finished, finito, like you say at the end of the show. It's over.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, because if you look at the just the raw numbers, I mean, like when I talk about the explosive plays, which, by the way, again, and I love to update this every single time, and I think this is now, like you said, Eddie, an established, DIA or DOA, dead on arrival, with Patrick Mahomes and the whole Tyreek Hill thing and him needing Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's now the Chiefs are now 9-3 in the Patrick Mahomes era without Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes completes 65% of his passes, averages 325 yards, 28 passing touchdowns, only 6 interceptions with a 107 quarterback rating. The fact that the Chiefs, how now, if you look at the explosive plays, here it is right here, through the first 7 games this season and last season. So last season, through first 7 games, they had 23 plays of 20 or more yards. This season, 37. They've almost doubled the amount that they had this time last season with Tyreek Hill very much healthy, very much playing. And so you're seeing a growth across the board, and that's actually to the point you're making. I want to make that last point, and we'll move on from this particular game. But the fact that in big games this season, the Chiefs have shown that they can not only score a bunch of points, but it's almost like a backdoor frustration, because you have games like the Bills where the Chiefs only scored 20 points and they left so many points on board. If you look at it, for instance, that first drive against the Bills, they have 2 penalties that cost them 2 touchdowns on that first drive, and then Patrick throws that interception to Elam. That's 7 points right there. That would give them 27 points. And then Harrison Butker misses that field goal, which would have given them 3 additional points. That's 30 points right there. Chiefs win that game 30-24, even if you consider Spags having those 2 horrific decisions to leave Josh Williams on that island. So even in their bad games, you see how much potential the Chiefs have out there, and how it isn't necessarily the opposition slowing them down, it's them beating themselves. And that is why I can maintain that principle that the Chiefs beat themselves. That is why they have losses. The Colts loss, it's such a frustrating loss, not because the Colts went out there and legitimately beat. It'd been one thing if Jonathan Taylor would have had 170 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm like, well, the Colts were just the better team that day. You can live with that. What's frustrating is the Chiefs literally handed that game to the Colts, and they lost by 3. The Chiefs literally handed that game to the Bills, and they lost by 4. That is what's frustrating about those losses. But as frustrating as those losses are, the redemptive quality of the victories against teams like the Bucks and the 49ers doing what they do against defenses at the peak of their power. It'd have been one thing if Shaq Barrett would have got injured before the Chiefs played them, like he did this last week, unfortunately. It'd have been one thing if Nick Bosa didn't play this week against the Chiefs. But both those guys were there. And the Chiefs beat the shit out of them when both those guys were healthy, and their defenses were formidable, and they were healthy, and they were about as healthy as they've been all season. The Chiefs proved their point once again. I don't like the fact that the Chiefs have their 2 losses in the AFC, because that can mess with their seeding. Having tiebreakers now with the Bills having the tiebreaker, and the Colts, if the Colts end up making a run. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but the fact remains, AFC losses matter a lot more than NFC wins. And so the Chiefs, I believe, now are 16-2 in the Mahomes era against NFC opponents, which is just absolutely absurd. But I digress, man. I think that, like I said, this victory was a great statement victory. And quite frankly, it's so satisfying when this happens before a bye week because you get to kind of sit here and relish on it for a couple weeks, and just really feel good about the team moving in the direction they're moving in. So I like this win overall, especially in the time that it was. And I think there's a lot of positives, like you both said. This team has taken a step forward without Tyreek Hill. And to your point, Eddie, I 100% agree with that. It is time to let that die. And I'm almost tempted to stop posting stats about it because I think it's now definitive. This team is just fine. We don't need to prove it anymore. And I think that now Patrick Mahomes has really established himself. If he has, I don't even know how people do it now, but he's established himself as by far the best quarterback in the NFL because he's doing it without a superstar receiver.
Well, especially when our fourth receiver on the depth chart has as many touchdowns this year as Tyreek has.
Thank you.
Justin Watson has 2 touchdowns. Tyreek has. I'm just saying.
On a fifth or a sixth of the targets.
And that's no shot at Tyreek.
It's the truth,
like,
though.
bro, we can replace those numbers.
Tyreek has obviously the yards. He's had
an historic
170
clip.
yards.
He's a funneled receiver, of course. He's getting 15 targets a game.
But again, there's a difference between Tua and Patrick Mahomes. I know a lot of people are like, well, like Tua is like has a better, what is it called? A better yard
completion percentage or whatever.
Completion or the yards in the air or whatever.
Nothing.
Has thrown deeper balls than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
What?
I think Kirk Cousins has like the 6th or 7th highest completion percentage in the history of the NFL.
That's a deceiving stat, though.
Yeah, it can be because especially when the guys are dinking and dunking
Let's
constantly.
talk about average depth of target, shall we?
Yes.
Let's do that.
I think Patrick right now is averaging over 8 yards an attempt right now.
Yeah,
like that's got to be at the top of the league right now.
But I think Tua is like 8.6.
Right, but Tua's also thrown a ball a lot less than Patrick.
Yeah, because he's missed 2-3 games.
And Tua's had a good season to his credit.
I'm not saying Tua is terrible.
Yes.
He's had a really good quarter this year.
But when you
sure.
add Tyreek Hill to a Jalen Waddle and Gesicki offense, you better be having a good season.
I'm still not bought in on Tua. I don't think he's that great.
We're definitely going to hold that thought because we're going to talk about this in just a minute. But yes, I agree with that 100%, Eddie. That is the progression of Patrick Mahomes is what should excite us and terrify the rest of the league because he's doing this against great defenses again while still gelling with these other pieces. And I think the Juju emergence is here to stay. I think MVS being that nice little deep threat, we saw it finally connect. The MVP to MVS connection, it's finally starting to be a consistent thing. Where it isn't Travis Kelce having to carry everything. Travis Kelce he was the 3rd leading receiver on the team this week. When that happens and he has the game he had, no one's beating this team, like I said, guys. When they're putting up 333 yards of receiving yards between those 3 guys, you can't beat them.
Yeah, our third leading receiver on the day against the best defense of football had 98 receiving yards.
They were trying to give him the record time of the record with Gronk for most 100-yard games for a tight. He'll get that, but it was fun to see that at the end. But like you said, it was lax by the 3rd quarter. We're like, they got this game won, man.
It was great seeing Juju finally, just.
He's
had that breakout game.
Yeah,
Well,
he did against the Bills, but you're right. This was like he should have 3 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, you can see the evolution of him and Pat's chemistry.
That's crazy.
Shout out Call of Duty, you know what I mean? So that
and the Call of Duty came out yesterday, so hopefully they're playing because Patrick Mahomes did say it's like, hey, new Call of Duty Friday. Seems like we're gonna have a good day and all you see was Brittany Matthews say no.
Absolutely not. Well, it wasn't all peaches and cream, if you will, this week. I know that we're all feeling good about a victory, but we had some unfortunate news come down this week about the Chiefs, in particular the defensive end, Frank Clark, getting finally handed down a 2-game suspension from the league. And again, I swear, I leave town for just a couple days, and all this news starts coming out, guys. This is some bullshit. I'm starting to wonder, man, if they're paying attention to where my current state of affairs are at. I don't know, but it's starting to piss me off because I had to get to this a little later than we know. And as we all know, coming into this season, Frank Clark did have multiple gun charges in the LA district area against him, which is the definition of violating the NFL's personal code of conduct policy. Clark did in September plead no contest in Los Angeles on the 2 counts of misdemeanor possession of an assault weapon and was sentenced to 1 year of probation and 40 years of community service. And because of this, Frank Clark will now serve an immediate 2-game suspension, which means he will miss the Titans and Jaguars home games and will be back to play in SoFi Stadium against the Chargers in a few weeks. And you guys know that I try to do my best to stay up to date with everything that was going on. Again, I was late to this party because of the fact that I was out of town and bad reception and things of that nature. But just like Clark's suspension, my take was delayed, but my delay actually made sense when it comes to how this has been handled. And I want to expand on this. We all knew a suspension was inevitable. We all knew that was coming. In fact, most of us were assuming that it would have taken place either a year ago or at the beginning of the season. The NFL has been aware of this whole thing. They've been settling. All these other things have been going on legally, but it didn't, which is where my confusion and, quite frankly, my frustration resides. A month ago, we had gotten news that the league decided to conveniently suspend Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay Jr. for 4 games after week 2, which would have meant that he was going to miss the Bills game for a domestic dispute with his baby's mother, where no one was touched or harmed outside of a vacuum cleaner and a frame. After the week after Gay was activated, Frank Clark is then finally suspended, which you cannot convince me otherwise, unless you guys can do it for me, wasn't the NFL's plan all along.
I will say, though, in that investigation, there was an accusation that he threw her across the room.
There was no proof of that. There was no bot.
I'm just telling you how the law works, especially on a domestic situation.
Yeah.
If a woman, or anyone, but preferably if a woman is accusing a big man, and there is a broken item in the house, a big man of assaulting her,
Yeah.
it's her word over yours is most likely going to take the way. I just want to throw that out.
Yeah, that's
probably,
fine.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether we feel that Willie Gay deserved a suspension based upon the accusations or not, we all know that Frank Clark did what he did. This has all been proven. He's pled no contest twice.
Yeah,
exactly. Thank you.
it's multiple times.
So that's not what I'm arguing here. I'm not sitting here arguing that Frank Clark shouldn't be suspended in any way. What I am arguing is the timing of it. It's very weird to me. I had people replying to me when I had posted my takes on Twitter about, well, if the NFL was really trying to screw the Chiefs over, they would have suspended them both at the same time. But see, of course that would have been the ultimate screw job. Of course that would have been if the league decided to do that at the exact same time. So what's the best case scenario for the NFL to do it the way they want to? You roll out the suspensions in succession, one after the other. And look, I am in no way a Frank Clark fan or defender. I've told you guys this. I've not been impressed with this guy for years now. But it's hilariously odd to me that the moment Willie Gay is back off suspension, that's the same moment Frank Clark, and he obviously has that big game like Eddie was talking about, the first game he even resembled having that 2019 playoff run where he's running by Trent Williams and sacking Jimmy G for a safety. Yeah. He's suspended. The moment all this happens, like maybe I'm being the Mr. Conspiracy Theory, maybe I look like Fox Mulder on X-Files here, and I want to believe, but I'm just looking at this from an honest perspective and saying, why did you guys wait till now? Why didn't you do it at the beginning of the season? You knew what was happening. You knew he violated the conduct policy. Why do you wait until after the moment Willie Gay is back off suspension? Why do you wait until after he has this kind of game? It just, to me, again, hilariously conveniently timed. In a league, to me, guys, I'll be honest with you, they don't get the benefit of the doubt from me right now. They got a lot of problems going on. I mean, just looking at the officiating side, all these problems they continue to have, it's only getting worse. We don't know what a roughing the passer call is. We have refs literally asking Mike Evans for autographs, and then they come out and try to give out this detailed bullshit response about, oh, well, he was trying to give him golf tips, and he's going to, have him give him his number. Bullshit.
Even Travis Kelce on the New Heights was like, yeah, that was definitely an autograph.
That was an autograph, 100%. Here's the thing. Players didn't care about that, but the point remains. Really. You guys, but they have rules in place.
Yeah. Yep.
And this official is now not being in trouble for this. They don't have any integrity across the league when it comes to how they officiated games. Exactly. So my point remains. They don't get the benefit of the doubt from me. So when I see things like this line up the way it does just perfectly, I have to question it. Yes, it looks like I have my Chiefs glasses on because it's my team. And again, in all actuality, the Chiefs aren't going to need Frank Clark for the next couple of weeks, especially if they up and trade for a guy like Josh Allen out of Jacksonville or go get a Brian Burns. True. I'm not debating whether he deserves to be suspended. He does. But the way it's all structured is where I have a problem. And if you guys think it's different or want to convince me different, that's fine. But that's just the way I see it right now.
My only question is, when did Frank Clark's case close, and when did the investigation for the NFL begin, and when did it finish? So that would be like if Frank Clark's case closed late last month, and then obviously the NFL has to do their investigation, make sure they hand down the correct suspension, ended literally the weekend of the 49ers game. It's kind of, okay, we're going to let him play here, and then they talk to the player, to the agent. We're thinking this many games, and they finally came down and was like, we'll sign 2 games. We're good with that. Then they gave him 2 games. So I don't see it as a conspiracy theory. It all depends on when the cases were closed, when the investigation for the NFL began, when did it finish. So That I don't see it as a
I
conspiracy
mean, if it's
theory.
conspiracy, in my opinion, if it's a conspiracy theory, it's working in our favor. I mean, the way that these suspensions have been broken down are convenient for us. I feel. I mean, like you said, it would be way more impactful if both of them were suspended at the same time. My only thing is, I wish the suspensions timetables were flipped. I wish we had Willie Gay during the Bills game and all those games, and we didn't have Frank Clark in those games. I would gladly trade those two guys for the stretch of games we have coming up right now, because I think these two games next couple of games we can win without Frank Clark. Granted, he played really well against one of our biggest, toughest matchups in the season. But I feel like that the timing of this is actually favorable for us, because the stretch of games we're going into, I don't feel like we're going to necessarily need Frank Clark and whatever he brings on a weekly basis, which is very unknown. We don't know the consistency of what he is, and I think we do, but I don't think we're going to miss much compared to what he's been the majority of his career here. So I don't think there's any kind of. I just think that there's going to be other guys probably throughout the league that are going to be suspended at certain times. I just think that depends on there's probably legalese things going on behind the closed doors, that settlements that need to be taking place, or what is the actual accusation. I mean, the court timetables take different time for different scenarios. Obviously, I felt like Frank Clark should have been handled a long time ago, so that's like a slap on the wrist kind of misdemeanor. Like, you just had a gun. He owned the gun, so like it was his. It just, in California, their laws are strange, so getting caught with the gun.
They're just strict.
Well, yeah,
very, very strict.
Well, they're extremely strict.
Yeah, exactly. It was an
Of
assault
course.
weapon.
For guns like that, of that caliber, you don't just walk around and carry those around in a car.
You don't
man.
put that in a holster.
It's stupid.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't
so
have to use
obviously,
a holster.
there's a very numbskull
Lie
thing for him to
about it.
do.
Right.
And Willie Gay's, I just feel like they could have been handled earlier, because I know the NFL has sections of people that handle these legal things nonstop. That is what their jobs are. So I feel like these things could have been done much more swiftly. But at the same time, we don't know what the timetable, what the trials look like, what the court situation, what the accuser was trying to, are they trying to push back and extend this?
That's why I wanted to. That's why I'm confused, because we don't know a lot of things. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking for answers
I don't know
here,
if
because
us as fans deserve that. That's
because
not really our business.
Look at the tea leaves here. Deshaun Watson didn't commit one actual crime. He was not charged for anything.
Right.
He's serving an 11-game suspension. Was originally, I think, a 4 or 5 game suspension. Then there was a revolt. Then the NFL wanted to do their thing, and then they decided to randomly make it 11 games. There's no precedent for those types
It's a
of
much more complicated
I'm just
situation.
saying, there's no precedent for those types of suspensions, right? We have no real precedent. This is definitively this amount of games for this act, right? And then you have Willie Gay. His whole court proceedings took place in June and July. These were all finalized in the summer, and then randomly in September, he gets hit with a 4-game suspension. That one made no sense. And then again, with all these other... Alvin Kamara right now has assault charges on him, and he's still playing football.
I just don't understand like the idea that there's some kind of like foul play in the NFL. I don't feel that way at all, really.
Without the Kamara, that's because his case is still open.
I get it.
So I think so the NFL doesn't hand down suspensions unless the case is closed, and
But
then
that's
they
not even
can
true.
go.
But that's not even true,
because
because
that could be self-defense on
But
his end.
no, hold on. That's not even true, though, about them waiting for for things to be finalized in court. Because Deshaun still has open civil cases against him, and he got suspended.
Yeah, but a violence
But-
thing is different.
But that's Alvin Kamara's situation. That's what I'm talking about. That's assault. He has assault charges against him
That's
right
a
now.
violence thing, though.
Yeah,
Deshaun's
like
isn't
he
a
actually
violence.
physically injured that man.
I know, sexual assault, physical assault, all these things run in the same. I know there's different degrees of action from the
are
legal
pictures
standpoint.
of this man that was
but my
just
point is,
had
I'm
his
talking-
ass kicked by
I know, but I'm
Kamara.
talking about the NFL side of things. When we talked about this before with the Deshaun Watson situation when it came down, when the league knows that you violated the code of the conduct policy, personal conduct policy, they're within their right to suspend you immediately. Which is why I'm confused that if Frank Clark did this a year ago, and Will Gay did this, and it's been going on in the courts, and it was finalized in the summer, why didn't these come through immediately? That's what I don't understand. Why are you guys waiting until week 3 and week 7? Why are you guys waiting for these particular... I understand the court system has to do its job, but so does the league. And if the league believes within themselves, according to their own investigation, that you have violated the personal conduct policy, they should be immediately suspended, not waiting for convenient time periods in the season.
I'm just saying, like, you're making it sound like there's some kind of like there's a purpose behind, a motive behind why the suspensions have taken place when they have. So if they all took place and they just jumbled them up and took them both out for the first few weeks of the season together, that would make you feel better?
No, that would make more sense to me because of the fact that
But that doesn't always happen, dude.
I get it, but my point though is that the league back then had the belief, according to what they knew, that these guys violated
maybe they
their
didn't.
personal
Maybe
they
they
did though. Why do you think that these suspensions were in place
the league
already?
Isn't the law though. The law is still settling things. The league has to know what the law comes to agreement on, and then they have to make their decision.
I get it. I'm not talking about the law side. I'm talking about the.
have to talk about the law side.
Trevor. I'm talking about how the league has handled this. The judicial system does its thing. But again, the Deshaun, we just had another person come forward about Deshaun Watson, right? We just had a 26th, and he's still in line to play.
Why did Tyreek get his stuff settled and everything took place? They had to wait for the law to figure out he was innocent, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And
So
then
the NFL didn't suspend him. They didn't take. They didn't,
The NFL, but they said their own investigation saw that he did no wrongdoing.
but they had to wait for that to come clean in the law in the court of law.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember. I thought that the court system stuff was still going with Tyreek
according
even
to you,
after
the
that.
NFL
If I'm not
had
mistaken, I thought that he was still going through stuff. I don't think the
never
case was
suspended,
closed, and then the league's like, all right, you're good. I don't think that's how it went. The point where I'm trying to make though is that with the league having, and again, we've talked about this about how we feel more than ever, their officiating has been determining outcomes of games and helping with other situations, asking for autographs. With the league having problems like this from their own representation that officiates games, I have to look at some of this stuff a little suspiciously. I have to. I'm not saying there is a conspiracy going on. I'm laying out all the chips and I'm saying, you guys know they violated the personal conduct policy. Why are you waiting for a convenient time? Because again, Willie Gay coming back.
What's convenient about it, though?
The fact that Willie Gay had to miss the Bills game.
Yeah, but I don't
That is weird. You're going to tell me that wasn't weird to you guys? That week 3, all of a sudden, he gets this suspension when it was settled back in June and July.
We have tough games week in, week out to start the year. I mean, all those would have been games we could have used.
Come on, let's be real here. It would have been a lot more pivotal for the Chiefs to have Willie Gay in a Bills game. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's a real thing. I'm saying you have to question these things. When it first came down, were we not talking about this? We can't act like we didn't have this in our minds.
The conspiracy behind Willie Gay's absence.
Okay, well maybe that's just me, but that's the way I saw it, and that's the way it was.
Don't be a fuck up off the field, bro. That's my thing. I don't understand. That's on him. Like whenever they decide to suspend him is what it is. I don't. And the Frank Clark timing has no bearing on my thought of the NFL. I don't. That just doesn't.
Okay.
Just don't carry guns don't walk around with Uzis in LA, bro.
And that's again why I'm not opposed to him getting suspended.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the timing
for Frank Clark isn't odd at all.
These guys, if they want to suspend them, that's fine. I'm talking about the timing. It's just weird to me. These things are just they're not adding up, especially when things have been settled for guys like Willie Gay, and then you wait for you're getting deeper in the season. All right, let's go ahead and throw a 4-game suspension that happens to line up with them playing the Bills that final week where he won't be there, and then he'll be activated for the next one.
Wouldn't it be a better conspiracy theory if like Frank Clark and Willie Gay both got suspended for the Bills game?
I literally was just talking about that though. Of course that would be the ultimate screw job. But that would be too obvious for them to do it that way.
That's some tinfoil hat stuff. Bro.
And again, the court system's having, you guys want to talk about the court stuff. Again, Willie Gay's situation was settled long before the season. Frank Clark's wasn't. So you can't actually do it that way where you suspend them both at the same time if we're going by the letter of the law. But if the NFL feels that these guys are... all I'm saying is that the timing is so weird, guys, that literally the week Willie Gay is activated is the week Frank Clark gets suspended after something that took place over a year ago. It's just weird timing to me. That's all I'm saying, guys. And if this was going on with any other team, I would still be pointing it out. It just happens to be our team here in Kansas City that we cover and that we follow. That's all I'm trying to bring up. The timing of it is weird. You want to suspend them as a league, fine. If you believe they violated the conduct policy, fine. I'll live with that.
I'm a Chiefs fan. If I had a choice to suspend them both at the same time or separate the suspensions, I'm choosing to separate them. I just wish they were flipped. I wish we had Willie Gay during the Bills game and not Frank Clark.
Yeah, because, and I don't know if you guys saw that stat I posted before the Niners game. In games that Willie Gay hasn't started, the Chiefs allow 28 points per game. In games that he has started in his career, they allow 20. So there's a touchdown plus difference. But so I'm just saying, if you would have had Willie Gay in that game against the Bills, even with the Chiefs having their problems offensively, I still think the Chiefs end up winning that game because he's that much of a difference maker. And you did see it in the Niners game. You saw how he started getting pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm just saying, guys, the timing was just weird. And if we're being honest here, it was odd that after week 2's game against week 2's game against the Chargers, we see the suspension come down for a month, and it lines up perfectly with that game not being able for him to be played. It's just weird to me. That's all I'm trying to say. But we did get some good news this week. Well, a lot of people think it's good news. I have my opinions on it, and I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about it. The Chiefs ended up making a trade with the New York Giants for wide receiver Kadarius Toney. So we had gotten the news this week that the Chiefs did end up trading a conditional 2023 conditional third-round pick and a 2023 sixth-round pick. And Kadarius Toney was just taken in the first round last season in 2021 by the Giants. And via BJ Kissel on Twitter in regards to what the Chiefs actually traded away in order to get Kadarius Toney, quote, a third-round comp pick comes after the third round, so essentially a fourth-round pick. With all the comp picks, the sixth is basically a seventh. This is a 4 and a 7th for Toney, who costs less money than a good free agent veteran special teamer for 2.5 years, end quote. Toney was and still is praised for his abilities to create space and run routes with precision that were showcased in his college career. I've seen a lot of videos of this over these last few days. But to this point of his early NFL career, that hasn't been the case. Suited up for only 12 games out of the 24 possible games in his career to this point, he has 41 receptions for 420 yards and 0 touchdowns. Me personally, I have no idea if Kadarius Toney is going to make anything out of his NFL career. And he doesn't strike me at this current time as an actual difference maker, which is why I'm hoping this isn't the big signing or the big trade that the Chiefs make before the deadline. The Chiefs still need to be, in my opinion, and you guys can give me yours, I don't think the Chiefs need to be all in on OBJ. And according to the Athletic's Nate Taylor, who continues to big time us, never mind, the Chiefs are still very much big in the OBJ sweepstakes, as they should. Biggest reason why? Unlike Toney to this point of his career, OBJ is a difference maker and has played great when the lights are at its brightest. We just saw in the Super Bowl last year, before OBJ's knee went out, supposedly he had already tore his ACL before that game. He was balling in that game, and then it finally blew completely, and he couldn't play no more. And he was on his way to be the MVP of that game. So we've seen OBJ, when he's given an opportunity to play in big games, he plays very well. If Chiefs fans, and here's the biggest thing I want to talk about when people are on board with this Toney signing, and then when they push back on my OBJ takes, if Chiefs fans can sign off on the Chiefs trading for a receiver that won't be a legitimate contributor in my eyes for this season, and he'll probably have to be more of that guy in 2023 just because of how many mouths they have to feed right now, and him not really being a difference maker to this point of his career, then Chiefs fans should and would sign off on the Chiefs signing a wide receiver that can and will, in my eyes, be a legitimate contributor for December, January, and February based upon what we know of OBJ. All in all, because I know I've come off as like the negative guy when it comes to Kadarius Toney, all in all, though, I am rooting for him. I am rooting for Kadarius Toney because, to his credit, he has played his career in New York where they haven't had a decent quarterback. I know Daniel Jones is playing better, but let's be real, Daniel Jones has been a bottom 10, 12 quarterback for the majority of his career. So I think some of that plays into why Toney hasn't had the production that some people were expecting him to have early in his career. Now he's walking into KC with the best head coach, the best quarterback, and the best football culture in the NFL. So if he's ever to succeed in his career, it's going to be here in Kansas City, and the Chiefs have him for the better part of 3 more years on a very cheap and reasonable deal. So overall, it's not a bad signing in my eyes. I think this could be a good thing. I think he'd be a solid player for this team, and he's got a ton of skill. He's young, cheap, inexpensive, all those cool things, and the Chiefs really only gave up a 4th and a 7th for him. And the Chiefs have still 10 picks to choose from for this next draft, or if they want to trade for another player. There's not a lot of negative in this. I just hope that people are a little bit more reasonable and honest about this trade, because if we look at how the Chiefs have utilized other former first-round picks in trades or in signings, they really haven't panned out. So I'm gonna keep my expectations low on Kadarius Toney, but I am rooting for the kid, and I'm hoping for the best for the kid. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
For me, if I'm a GM, I'm attacking this the same exact way Brett Veach is doing. I love a low-risk, high-reward signing on the cheap. I love it. I love these kind of moves because what I like about this kid, this isn't a kicking the tires on an age veteran that's been a guy that's been a has-been kind of player. This isn't a Josh Gordon. This isn't an OBJ kicking the tires kind of signing. This is a chance for a very, very raw talent, raw athlete, gifted player to be reborn. To have an opportunity to play in an offense that actually throws the football. Granted, he's had his hamstring issues, but this kid, you watch his tape. He has 4.3 speed. You watch the tape. I'm not saying that this is what I think, but you watch the tape. There's remnants of Tyreek Hill on this kid. There is. He's very twitchy off the line of scrimmage. Very hard to press. He's a very tough guy to press. And a lot of teams have been starting to play press on us. He's similar to Sky Moore, very quick off the line of scrimmage, is very good at beating the press. Good against cover 2, which a lot of teams tend to be playing against us. Very aggressive. Like I said, he's very twitchy, so he's hard to maintain, and it throws the hips of the defenders off. Clay, similar to Tyreek.
Our producer Clay Wendler just posted a video on Twitter of Nick Bolton back in his college days trying to Darius, and Darius made him look like an absolute clown.
He's twitchy, bro. He's really twitchy. Which I'm saying, which reminds me of Tyreek Hill, which is one of the most deadliest skill sets of Tyreek Hill. You don't know where he's going.
Yeah. And
just like that, he can go left or right. You don't know where he's going. He's extremely quick. He has that. He's an incredible underneath route runner. He has a lot of the Cooper Kupp ability to where he can stop and it looks like he's going to do a sit route, but he turns one way and then goes the other way, and it's very effective. His Florida film is fun to watch. He hasn't done much in the league, I get it, but I love these kind of signings, these low risk, high reward, because this kid not only could be a special teamer for us, because I think Sky Moore lost his duty here. So I think, and this guy can also do that too. He's very good, very fast. Like I said, 4.3 speed, very muscular, aggressive, a solid frame for this kid. Not big, but just a solid kid. So I love these kind of signings. I love this what he could do in this offense. I don't know what he's going to do this year, but this is definitely a future signing in my mind. I think he's going to be here. I think we're going to find a way to keep him around. First, the Chiefs last year had him last year he got drafted, right?
Yeah, 2021. Yeah,
the Chiefs had him as a first round grade. So Brett Veach obviously had his eyes on him.
He's been big on him.
So
sure.
And people, I've been seeing around, the Twitter sphere and Chiefs Twitter and Chiefs Facebook posts and things like that. People, and not gonna name names, but people talking about how they're doubting Brett Veach and trust him, but they don't trust Brett Veach. The body of receivers that we have in this offense right now are superseding what we were last year with Tyreek Hill. And these are the same people that were bitching about Tyreek Hill being gone, how we're not going to replace him, and then we were doubting the duty and leadership of Travis Kelce being the guy and why we kept him and not Tyreek. I don't understand how these people are not trusting Brett Veach to make the proper decisions for this offense to thrive when this offense is the best it's been since 2019. Have more explosive plays than last year with Tyreek Hill. We've already talked about this ad nauseum, but I think we need to pump the brakes on doubting the trust that we have in Brett Veach to make right moves. And this is, to me, is a small move. This isn't a big, but this could be a high reward. So I love this move.
Real quick, I just want to push back on that before you get your take. I promise I want to hear it.
Yeah.
In regards to the Brett Veach doubt, real quick, in his second year as the Chiefs GM, did the Chiefs not win their first Super Bowl in 50 years?
They did.
And who were key contributors to that game? Oh, Patrick Mahomes, who Brett Veach had been scouting for years.
Pounded the table for
he stuck by Tyreek Hill through the biggest allegations of his career, and he made that wasp play. Sammy Watkins on that third down play against Richard Sherman, he signed him that last offseason. Damian Williams, who he signed basically out of nothing, for nothing. I mean, we could just go down the list. Frank Clark, who had an insane playoff run, he traded for that guy.
The best defensive player between him and Chris Jones, for sure.
I'm just saying, man, I get that Brett Veach is not perfect here, and I've been a guy, we've all been critical about things he's done.
Yeah, no GM's perfect.
My God, this guy's a top 5 GM in this league, and it's not close. It's ridiculous to even
I just want to say, I actually love this.
That's
I don't want to get too excited and act like I'm like some fanboy of this kid,
yes.
but as a fantasy player, I know what he can do, and he's had some big games. He doesn't have any touchdowns yet because he's played in an offense that just doesn't contribute touchdowns to receivers. It's tight ends or running backs. The Giants, that's what they've been for years. They've never had. I mean, he was second receiving yards last year to Galladay, who was trash as well. Hasn't been anything there. He was second, and he missed 4 games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. In the COVID, he had COVID. I guess he missed like a few games, and he still was second in the team in a non-passing offense. Dude, there's so much upside for this kid in this offense. I don't think it's going to be like right away out the gate, but maybe in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and then into next year, I think this kid could be a really deadly weapon for this offense.
I agree to what most of what you guys said, but my biggest concern that I have with him is his health. How healthy is he going to be? When he comes back, is his hamstring going to be healthy? I know he's been out twice, I think, this year for that hamstring, and obviously last year he struggled with injuries as well.
It was just COVID, really. He wasn't really injured much last year. He missed a few games because of COVID. That was the only time he missed.
So I know he's missed
12 of his
games?
24 possible. He's missed 50% of his career so far.
This year he's missed almost every game, and he's
Yeah.
been a healthy scratch a couple of them because I think there's inner turmoil.
And to that point, go ahead, Eddie. I'm sorry.
No, but I think I've seen some of his videos of how he twists and turns to evade the corners, which is amazing because he does the little step and then twist
So
and it
quick.
just goes the other direction that they have no time to react. I love that from
Yeah,
him.
sure.
Well, and he's deadly with the ball in his hands too,
But,
man.
yeah, but like I said, it's just his health and when can we see him with the Chiefs uniform? You know what I mean? Who are you gonna take away from that offense? Wide receivers? Are you gonna bench Watson, Sky Moore? Who are you gonna put on the bench?
That's why I don't believe he's going to be a contributor this season.
I think this is more of a 24, 25, 23, 24, 25 kind of move.
Yeah.
I don't think they're looking for it as a now contributor this season. I think Brett Veach is looking more like towards next season and the players that we have to pay. Like we still got to pay Juju if he does phenomenal. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to want to keep Juju. You still have to pay MVS if you want to keep him. So it's still. I think this is a move for the future for the Chiefs.
This
Then
is
instead of now.
McColl's replacement. That's what this is. McColl's going to be gone next year. I think we all know that. McColl's probably going to get paid somewhere else. And this he's a juiced up McCole Hardman. He's a superior athlete. He's a much better route runner than McCole Hardman is. I love McCole Hardman, but he's never been the best route runner. He's got the connection with Pat finally, and it's starting to really bloom now this year. And he's really good. But Kadarius Toney is also very effective with the in route plays, the sweep plays. He's very effective with those. He's just as fast as McCole.
Well, I will say this, though, about this McColl, because I think that there's potential to that comparison. There are differences, though, I will say. One, McColl's more of a durable player to this point, and he's accepted his role. I don't know if Kadarius Toney's the kind of guy that's going to play ball, if you know what I mean.
Because if you put McCole Hardman in that Giants offense, his numbers are nothing.
I'm not debating that. All I'm saying is when it comes to mentality, we've seen McColl embrace the fact that he's not the guy. He's not even the third guy on this offense, and he still goes out there and plays his hardest. I worry about that with Kadarius Toney because we've heard, like you said, healthy scratches with a coaching staff with Brian Dable doing what he's doing and how effective he's been, how awesome he's been. For him to be willing to part ways with this guy for essentially a 4th and a 7th round
he's
pick.
not Dayball's guy. He didn't
I get it. I'm just saying, if a guy like that has the kind of talent and the fortitude in his mind to become a difference maker, I would believe a guy like Brian Dable would be able to access that. So there has to be something about. I'm not accusing Kadarius Toney of anything because here's the biggest factor in all this. Patrick Mahomes likes this signing. We saw Patrick Mahomes make that rock gif on Twitter of the big smile.
This guy is an Andy Reid kind of player.
And then he showed up, but Brian Dable is a coaching tree beneficiary of Andy
Runs
Reid.
an entirely different offense.
I get it.
Doesn't mean he's Andy Reid's kind of offense.
Well, I think you're missing what I'm trying to say, though, is that Kadarius Toney is clearly a great talent. He's a first-round talent. But there's a reason why Brian Dable couldn't access him.
He didn't have a role in the offense.
Exactly. And why is that? It's not because he's not talented enough.
No, he doesn't fit this scheme. They run their offense. They were playing Sterling Shepard over him.
I think the only real difference between the schemes, quote unquote, between the Giants and Chiefs is the quarterbacks. No. Yes, because Brian Dable does come from the Andy Reid tree.
That doesn't mean he runs the same offense.
I get it. My point, though, is their familiarities to it. And if you're a skilled player like Kadarius Toney and you're willing to play ball for your team, I would imagine it's going to work out. But it hasn't worked out.
That's not how it always works.
Okay, then name me the last player the Chiefs went and got from a team like that worked out.
Did OBJ work out in Cleveland?
Well, the reason it didn't work is because Baker Mayfield sucks.
Oh my goodness, dude.
What receiver in Cleveland was playing well?
No,
they had Jarvis Landry. They had him. They sucked.
What receiver has done good in the Giants?
OBJ.
Trevor, Brian. This is Brian Dable's.
That was a decade ago.
This is Brian Dable's first season.
That was an entirely different team.
This is Brian Dable's first season. We know the Giants before sucked.
Okay, but what I'm saying is like that team's flourishing in their run-first offense. He's not going to get any opportunity. None of the receivers are doing good in with the Giants right now.
Well, that's not fair though, because Sterling Shepard was doing really well and then he blew his knee.
He was getting catches. None of them were doing.
He was
good.
playing well. All I'm saying though is I hope it works. And again, Patrick's all into it. You saw him taking the selfie with Kadarius in the locker room. That was awesome to see. And I hope it works.
I think he's the replacement for McColl.
And I can see that. I could see that. I'm just saying I'm going to watch closely because he's never going to be the guy here in Kansas City as long as Travis Kelce's here. And if they do pay Juju, which I am anticipating, he will never be the guy.
Under contract.
So I have to know: is Kadarius Toney coming into this franchise wanting to play a role?
I think
is he going to be that guy?
I think he's returning punts against Titans.
I think that's I don't know if it's going to be that soon, but.
I think he could. You're going to tell me you can't go get that freak
It'd
athlete?
be funny though, because he's all of a sudden healthy.
I'm just,
No, I mean his last
he is
game.
healthy.
His last game, I think he was out because of his hamstring.
Right, and
I
if
don't
he
think he's healthy.
He did
right
clear.
now.
He did clear his physical,
But
so
I don't think he's like fully healthy
Yeah.
right now. I think he's still.
You
I
think
think,
he's back?
I think there's some smoke and mirrors between the injury thing going on over there with the Giants.
That's kind of proving my point. Why
No,
I'm a little concerned.
Well, dude, I mean-
Because if you're that talented and you have an awesome coach in Brian Daboll, and you're getting traded for a 4th and a 7th
but
on a
dude,
rookie deal,
Yeah,
the Giants could have just kept him.
well, he's not Dayball's guy. He didn't draft him, and I just think there might have been just some players don't tend to be a good marriage for certain teams, and we've seen guys leave other teams and do well. I just don't think that this is a scenario where they meshed well, and I think he doesn't fit that offense and what they were looking for, and I think he's the kind of guy that fits the Chiefs offense very well because we are very good with finding ways.
Wouldn't a team want that kind of talent? Be desperate enough to give you more than a 3rd and a 6th?
Well, it could be on the player side wanting out, too.
Especially for a team-
No, but I'm saying, don't you think the Giants, knowing the player that you're saying that they had, wouldn't you expect another team to come in there like, we'll give you a 2nd and like a 4th
Right.
for that kind of talent that you're saying he is?
Because the Chiefs basically give up 2 flyer picks.
Yeah.
They essentially give up 2
So
flyer picks.
there's something there. I'm sure. Yes, he can potentially work out with it, but we don't know. We're not gonna see this until next year, I believe.
To Eddie's point, we all know that Andy is famous for what? Giving guys second chances, guys that have
That's why I said
character
this is a
flaws,
rebirth.
things of that nature.
This is a rebirth situation.
There has to be something that's going on within himself.
Yes,
that makes
I
this.
don't
So
disagree
that's what
with
I'm going to be watching for, because we both know and we all agree he's got insane talent physically.
That's what I'm saying. I don't believe this is a talent issue. I
Yeah.
think there's a beef between him and the Giants. That's what I believe, and I think
But
he,
to Eddie's
he's
point,
forcing his way out.
Why wasn't the trade market as rich as a guy that talented?
Well, he doesn't have it on the film.
Yeah,
There's
well, that's
there's
fair.
not enough film on
and he's
him.
injury prone
Yeah.
to this point, so that's all I'm saying. Dude, if this works,
I'm not calling him
if
injury
this
prone.
works,
He's
if
had one
Tony,
hamstring issue,
hey,
that's it.
if Tony becomes a legitimate contributor at all, let alone this season, the Chiefs are going to be in such a even better place than they are right now. And maybe they don't make a trade for a guy like or sign a guy like OBJ. I still think they are according, because again, people that are very much connected are still saying the Chiefs are still
OBJ's
one of the
cost like
favorites
a
to land him.
$1.5 million.
Yes,
Like, of
exactly.
course we can still go get OBJ.
I do want to ask you guys real quick before we get to the
I'd
Eddie
rather
hour.
get a defensive player, but yeah.
Yeah, you know I agree. Before we get to the Eddie hour, I do want to ask about Juju, because I said as soon as the Chiefs signed him that I want to see him here for the next 4 or 5 years.
my guy, dude.
I think he's more than proven himself to this point this season. He's gelled perfectly, team guy, no controversy. Remember all that bullshit people were trying to put on about him being a TikToker? How much of that's been a problem?
don't care about that shit.
Exactly. Like it's such a non-starter.
miss games because
it's
of
such a
TikTok,
non-starter.
I don't give a
he's
shit.
he's a legitimate contributor. I think he just turned 26, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Just entering the prime of his career. Such a good dude. Such a hell of an
According
athlete.
to Andy Reid, he loves to play the game, and Andy Reid loves those kind of guys.
And Patrick Mahomes are already BFF, and man, on the field, off the field, doesn't matter. Guys, I put it out there, and I want to hear real quick what you guys think, and we'll move to the Eddie Hour. I think the Chiefs right now, as currently constructed, it might change because he might continue to produce and the number might go up. If I'm the Chiefs today, I'm offering Juju Smith-Schuster a 3-year extension for $48 million, which puts him around $16 million right now, which is actually on the low end. That's right below the average salary for wide receivers, because that's gone up significantly. But I would start with that'd be the baseline. If he wants to up it maybe another $5-6 million, we could talk about that. But I would right now offer him a 3-year $48 million, or if he's looking for more years, give him a 4-year $64 million deal. What would you guys? Would you guys be on board?
That and do that now before he
Right now.
absolutely erupts as the year goes on? 'Cause his cost is
Absolutely.
going to go high.
Save the market.
Okay, but you can also use the same argument against you, though, because throughout, we want to talk about injury prone. Juju's been an injury prone career player for outside of his first year.
Yeah.
Or his second year. So,
But $16 million
And he's had
for
a lot of
Juju is
soft-
actually a save.
for sure. I mean,
That's a
locking him up
save.
now does make sense, but at the same time, if he has another injury down the stretch of this season, that also can cost us a little bit more too. I love Juju. I'm just
saying they gave $12 million a year to MVS.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Juju's a significantly better receiver.
I want to
than
lock
MVS.
Juju up for sure. I want our receiving core to be Juju, MVS, and Sky Moore, and then possibly a Kadarius Toney. I think that's a nice little, and then maybe we can keep Watson around as like a 4th, 5th guy. I love that room. This room is obviously starting to bond and click.
Yeah.
So I love what Juju is getting going here. He's finding his space. He's finding those soft spots in the defense to kind of sit, and Mahomes finding him. We saw that last week. That was an incredible touchdown play. He's great after the catch, very strong runner, hard to bring down. Not the fastest guy, but he's just tough to bring down. It's kind of like well, I guess I can't really think of a true comparison right now, but he's just one of those guys that's a rock solid dude, good hands.
Yeah.
My only concern is the longevity of Juju. He's had injuries. Even during camp, he was dealing with like lingering knees and things like that. So I just want to kind of Make sure he's good to go. And, like, obviously, football, anybody can get hurt any time, but he does have a history of it. That's my only concern with Juju. I love him to death. I love him as a player. It's just longevity purposes. Locking him up could be a ball and chain kind of thing going on if we lock him up and he's hurt all of next year or something. You know what I mean? Like,
But
that's
then-
just a scary.
Well, so would you give it to him?
Yes, because I think we were willing to pay Sammy Watkins what we paid him.
I was just gonna bring Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
I was like, if we paid Sammy Watkins, knowing the player,
$18 million a year.
injury-prone player
We
that
could pay him
he
half
was,
of that, and I'll be fine with it.
Yeah. So
And Sammy, at that time, when that was, 4 years ago when they signed him to that was the 6th richest contract the wide receiver had in the NFL.
He got paid.
Now that would be like the 24th. So you're getting essentially Juju Smith-Schuster, a better receiver who's been more reliable for as the 24th highest paid receiver according to the current market
I'd say they're the
status.
same tier, him and Sammy Watkins at the time. Was Sammy.
I would say I
I
would
would-
pick Juju significantly over
I
Sammy.
would pay Juju Sammy Watkins.
Sammy
money.
was good, man.
Yeah, Sammy's
not?
always hurt.
Sammy
Like
was good in
Juju's
this
had
offense,
injury
though.
The
problems.
playoffs.
Sammy was good in this.
He's always
offense,
had Juju's had injury problems. Sammy Watkins is an injury problem. Let's just call it what
Yeah, I
it
don't
is.
know if
He's
Sammy Watkins
always
even put,
hurt.
I don't even know if Sammy Watkins put up back.
Non-existent there. Packers non-existent. He was on the IR immediately.
He's hurt,
like
yeah.
he's always hurt, guys. Yes, Sammy had big moments, but I obviously has contributed to the fact he was playing with the quarterback and head coach that he had
I do
in
think
Kansas
Juju
City.
is better, yes.
Juju is the better receiving end. In fact, I would go as far as to say Juju at his best is the perfect receiver for Patrick Mahomes. Big, physical. He's quicker than most people think he is. He's actually deceptively
He actually
quick.
moves.
You saw the way he was burning those corners in the secondary of the
He follows his
49ers.
blocks well, and he's very tough to bring down.
Very
That's the
smart.
kind of
He's
guy.
a big
Yes.
receiver. I never pictured like Juju as a big receiver until this last game when I see him
He's
like running with the
6'1",
ball.
Yeah.
but he's
I was like,
stocky.
that dude is big.
Right,
Like
6'1", a big receiver for the most part, because there's a lot of 5'9", 5'10", 5'11" receivers. He's 2, 3, 4 inches taller than those guys. Like Tyreek Hill, great receiver, 5'9", 5'10". This dude is 3, 4 inches taller than him, and he's big, broad. Like you said, he stays healthy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question about it. The Chiefs are going to want to keep him because, again, they back-to-back offseason, the Chiefs have tried to get him. They ultimately ended up getting him. He's a Veach, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes kind of guy. I do think he's going to be here for the foreseeable future. I don't foresee any downfall with him, and if he does get injured, that's something to revisit. But if he plays the way he continues to play, on pace for 1,200 receiving yards, he's going to get
Well,
paid
and if
here.
we're being honest, I don't think there's a big market out there for Juju right now.
Not yet.
You know, I mean, if he balls out the rest of the way this season, somebody's going to want to pay him.
Yeah.
But I still don't think Juju's not like one of those sexy players. He's a get it done kind of guy.
Yes.
But he's not like a big market guy. He's not like a big play guy.
I
really.
won't underplay his market, though, if, in fact, the Chiefs do win the Super Bowl and he plays well all the way through, then that Super Bowl tax goes way up.
But what do we know about Juju? He's a very commitment-based guy.
I
He's
get
stuck
it.
with the Steelers, even though it was a shitty situation. He's stuck with it because he loved Big Ben.
Yeah.
And I think he's getting entrenched in the
But
culture here in KC, and he loves Pat.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bond there. He's obviously shown he'll take less money to stay elsewhere.
But if there's a team like the Bears who are trying to give Justin Fields some more weapons and have Brian Pohl's connection with the Chiefs,
Yeah, he hasn't made his money yet
If
in
a
his
team
career,
like
so
that's like, hey, we'll
that's
give
true.
you a 5-year, $105 million
hard to
deal,
turn that down.
Juju's going to take that because the Chiefs aren't going to give
Well,
him
and
that.
Juju hasn't made real money in the
Right,
league yet.
right.
And he's young enough to make a big contract.
He's
if
had
he balls
back-to-back
out.
one-year deals.
Yeah.
This is the time to make that money. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully the Chiefs can retain him, get him now. Like I said, they need to get ahead of it. Maybe they already have offered it. We haven't heard anything. Yeah. All I do know is that he's a guy that I want to see here for the next 3 or 4 years. Get his prime years here in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. That'd make things that much more easy and put us at ease as far as having that wide receiver that you can trust.
I'm confident we're going to lose McColl this offseason. You don't want to lose McColl and Juju at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think it's like with MVS.
And I think Kadarius Toney is a shot in the dark here.
And then
at
hoping
being,
Sky Moore
at being the
flourishes.
McColl replacement. We don't have a Juju replacement.
Because Sky's got promise, Tony's got promise,
Sky is gonna
but
be
we
good.
know that Juju's an NFL receiver.
Yeah.
We know he's a
Sky
good
Moore
guy.
is
He's a
going to be good in
legitimate
this
guy.
offense as a receiver. Maybe not a punt returner, but
And
as a
Travis
receiver.
getting older,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure to get that guy to be the next dude.
And to Trevor's point with the Sky Moore, I think him not being a punt returner, I think it's going to take a lot of stress away from him because he fucked up a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's twice
with the
now.
muff
Yeah,
punt.
can't have that.
And then he had it again with the 49ers, and then you take him away kind of like that and let him focus on the
Some
receiver
guys just
job.
don't have it. He just
Yeah, and then just let him focus on the receiver on the wide receiver end. I think that can help him in the long run. Eventually,
we've got our kick returner. I mean, Pacheco is a beast. I love seeing him return those kicks, man.
I don't think he's gonna be the long-term answer there, but I agree. I
think this season he probably will be the guy.
He's proving himself.
Put McColl back there. Fuck it.
Hey, we all know he can do it.
All right, let's get to the Eddie Hour. Each and every week, Eddie's got some good questions for us across the landscape, across the world of sports. Eddie, what is in the Eddie Hour this week, my man?
All right, before we go to UFC 280, I want to finish with the UFC 280 reactions. I want to finish with that. So let's go with the Lakers have started 0-5. they seem to get worse as the seasons go by. Do moves have to happen now, or are you still confident they will make a push for the playoffs?
If they keep this team remotely close to what they are right now, they're dead in the water. This is a lottery pick team right now, as it currently stands. They're the worst team in basketball right now. They have the single worst shooting team in basketball. It's literally statistically proven. They cannot shoot the basketball.
The Hornets have something to say about that, but yeah.
The Hornets, but here's the thing:
They're 0-5.
we kind of knew the Hornets going into the season were going to be that bad. We have expectations when it comes to the Lakers, just based upon status alone, clout alone.
Yeah.
Having LeBron James still playing a very effective game to this point of his career, or this season,
They're not getting destroyed, though.
they're not, because
They're
their
in every
defense is
game.
good.
Yeah.
Darvin Ham is a very good defensive-minded head coach, but so is Frank Vogel, and he just got fired. So my point in all this is the Lakers needed to make moves months ago. They've had trades. We've talked about this multiple times on the show. They've had trades for Russell Westbrook. Teams were willing to take him on because of his expiring contract and because of those multiple first-round picks years down the road. Teams want those picks. They're unprotected picks. So that I don't understand what Pelinka and Jeannie Buss are thinking, other than the fact that they are simply incompetent people. This has been something LeBron James has been asking for months now, and they've refused to give it to him because they feel that they're not giving up these picks in Russell Westbrook. They're giving up power, and that's not how this goes. It's a business relationship. LeBron James knows how to win. You got to trust the track record here. He's gone to multiple franchises, and every franchise he's played for, he's won a title that has something to do with influence, skill, and all the things he brings to the equation. You have him on your roster. LeBron is still playing very good basketball, still very much a top 10, top 5 player in this league. Utilize that time, capitalize on it, and give him the weapons. You can worry about the future later. What matters now? Winning now or hoping for better later? Because as I recall, they did this exact same thing with Kobe years before. And what'd they do, Trevor? Oh yeah, they were a 25-win team just about every single year for the last 5 years of Kobe's career. Do you want that same thing again? Do you want to just reminisce on the good times, or do you want to continue to have good times? Because I'd like to believe you give LeBron James an adequate shooting team, which you can go and get in a trade. You can go and get a 50-win team out of this and potentially get back into the finals. That is still very much on the table, even with their bad start. Their bad start is because of the fact this team doesn't gel. It doesn't work. Russell Westbrook is not willing to stop shooting threes, first of all, turning the ball over the way he does. LeBron had a really bad game turning the ball over the other night, but that's because he's also pressing, because he knows he has to go out and do that. When at 37, 38 years old,
his usage rate's like...
It's insane, man. So yes, they need to do it yesterday. I still think ultimately they're going to do it. I just don't know why they're dragging their feet, because I can't imagine the trade market's going to get better as this gets worse, because teams know they're going to be desperate now, as opposed to doing it in the offseason when you still feel confident about your chances. Now they know, oh, you guys suck. We're not going to trade you anything of value. I still think you can get a good shooter, another good swing player, something of that nature. But they better do it quick, man, because it's not getting better anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not a good team. It's not a good... I think they made some moves with Lonnie Walker. I like that signing. He's played well. Kendrick Nunn's finally actually playing this season.
Yeah, my God.
He's decent. But I mean, it's just not the team's not deep enough. The starting rotation. And Anthony Davis is always banged up already. I mean, it's just a bad thing. I wouldn't even be. I mean, I love AD, but I wouldn't even be that upset if they've moved him and try to get surround LeBron with people. Because look,
Sign
man,
me up.
Look, we know what LeBron has thrived with. He's carried teams that not a lot of people expected to be in the finals. He's carried teams with really good role players that are good 3-and-D guys, and and bigs, versatile bigs that know their job and know their role to go get rebounds and get second chance points. LeBron knows how to find guys and get guys in space and find the shooters and hit the shooters in the shooting pocket. He's always known how to do that. That's similar to how Luka runs his offense. He's very good, very effective. He knows he can go and score at anytime, anywhere from the floor, but he also knows how to find guys and know where they like to be found. So that's the kind of leadership LeBron and Luka they have that ability to go do that every night. But like when guys aren't available or guys can't hit wide open fucking shots, that's a frustrating thing as a team, as a leader of a team. You're finding guys and putting them in the best position to play their best ball, and they're failing every time. And I'm not gonna shit on Russ. But he's just not good anymore, man. He's not what he was. He's still playing decent defense. He can still facilitate. A good passer, has great court vision, but the dude cannot score to save his life unless he's attacking the rack or has a wide open lane to put a ball down. We know he can throw the ball down with the best of them. Still, his dunks are entertaining and fun. He's an entertaining personality, but that doesn't give you wins, man. And he's getting into it. The fans already, and that's when the Laker fans turn on you, you're pretty much done, dude. That's just kind of how it is over there. They're cold blooded, and yeah, you know, I mean, LeBron is playing good ball. He's been efficient outside of he had an 8 turnover game a couple days ago. I mean, that's not fun to see. But he, like you said, he's pushing it. He's trying to do everything on himself, and you can't expect that from him anymore. He can still lead the ship, and you know, you surround him with talented players. You can still very much be a contender. But I think moves are imminent. I think moves are going to be made here. They just need to find some shooters because this is the worst shooting team in arguably NBA history. They're on pace to be the worst shooting team in NBA history, and that's weird for a LeBron James team to say that. That's just strange because LeBron has always known how to find ways to get guys open and shooters put the ball in the hoop. But he's also all his great runs. He's also had good shooters. You know, even you say what you want about J.R. Smith, he had hot streaks with LeBron James, finding ways to get jumpers, and he was hitting big shots. You know.
I would make the case that every team that's ever made a run to a title had good shooters.
Right, especially
every single one.
in this era.
I mean, the Lakers had Robert Horry and Derek Fisher to hit those big-time shots. The Bulls had, obviously, Tony Kukoc, Scottie Pippen, Ron Harper, Bill Paxton, Steve Kerr. You always have shooters. You
secondary players that can hit threes. And I think if the Lakers, I think the only guy I've really been hearing buzz around is like a Terry Rozier, who's been banged up, who's a good player, good 3-and-D guy. He can hit threes, and he's a good defender. But I mean, they need something. They don't need a big blockbuster trade. Like I said, LeBron's never really needed that.
Yeah.
You just give him guys that can put the ball in the hoop from the perimeter.
Yeah.
And you know, let him work the rest and find. You know, there's a lot of work, man. I don't know if they're going to figure it out this season. If I'm being honest,
I'm not feeling good about it.
This season's pretty bad to start, but they've had a rough. They've been playing some tough teams to start the year too. Also, but they're in every game. They're only losing by like 4 points, 6 points, 3 points, 2 points. Like they're in all these games. It's just there's nothing exciting. There's no buzz around this team at all.
There's a dark cloud around this team, and
it's very dull.
It's Hurricane Westbrook,
which is strange. Which is strange for a LeBron-led team. And in LA, it's a bad look. But the West is tough, man, and I do not see this team making it right now at all.
Is it true that AD got hurt by hanging on a basket?
Yes.
Yeah.
They showed the video. He's
going to be Mr. Glass for Halloween.
He doesn't even have to. That's just who he is. I mean, AD is such a great talent. In 2020 he managed to put it together long enough to sustain a finals run. And I think this guy has got Hall of Fame talent and potential, but he's not even 30 yet, and his body just continues to break down more and more, so much so that something that subtle is causing him that much pain, and now he's missing games because of injuries. I'm over the AD business. Last year I said that the Lakers should have traded him. I'm even more on that side. I still think you can get a good amount for him. The problem is he's a clutch client. That with LeBron James, they managed to get this massive trade for him.
You can make it work with him and AD.
You can make it work, but the problem is you're relying on his health, and he is unreliable with his health. Yeah, so if they could trade him, they should. I don't see any scenario realistically that takes place. Yeah.
All right, let's talk baseball. Obviously, the Yankees were exposed to the team they were. They were relying a lot on their hitters. And you pretty much nailed it. You said that once October comes and the cold, a lot of these hitters are going to be pretty much busts. So I'm going to get your reactions on the Astros sweeping the Yankees and obviously the Phillies beating the Padres the way that they both did. When did you get
before I pat myself on the back here, my picks were absolutely wrong. I had the Braves and Rays in the World Series. That didn't happen at all. So I will own that for sure. But I will say that this is exactly as I saw it coming with the Yankees. They were wrapped up in this Aaron Judge phenomenon, which I totally get because it was the coolest story in baseball this year, getting the new AL record for most home runs in a single season. That was all great. The problem, though, is that once Aaron Judge had to refocus on actually trying to win games, you saw how much he started to struggle, which was very ironic because it looked like he was pressing after he got the record. It was very weird to see, and I have to really question how good of a manager Aaron Boone really is. I think that guys like him who inherit really talented rosters with an unlimited amount of resources to utilize to make your roster better sometimes look better than what they really are. But when it comes down to actually managing the game and knowing when to pick your spots and changing the rotation of your pitching staff or bringing in a guy at a certain time, I don't know how good he really is at that, and I think that's been negatively paying dividends on the opposite side of the results of them losing the way they do in disappointing fashion is because they actually do have pitching talent. They don't have a ton, but they have guys. They have one of the best aces in baseball, Garrett Cole, and it doesn't even matter because again, When their bats dry up and Giancarlo Stanton, who's making a ton of money and is one of the biggest freaks in the history of baseball, goes cold each and every October. Aaron Judge goes cold again in October because I think a lot of his free agency is starting to weigh on his mind about getting out of New York. You see this team have the same end every single year. It's like literally watching the same movie hoping for a different end. It's going to end the exact same way, and just like I called it. The Astros, the reason why they're so great is because they're fundamentally great at these types of things that the Yankees aren't. They're obviously great. They're obviously talented throughout their lineup and rotation, but it's because they know how to execute in the moments. They have a great leader at their manager, and so that's why they're where they're at. And then you see teams like the Phillies. What did we talk about? Why was I so confident in the Rays getting to the World Series? Because they're one of those teams that when they get hot, it doesn't matter what their record was. That's baseball. That's why baseball is such a beautiful sport. The Phillies won 87 games this year. They barely made the playoffs. Yep. And now they have a 1-0 lead in the World Series. And they have right now, in my opinion, the best player in baseball, Bryce Harper. This dude is playing out of his mind great. And this was the guy we've been waiting for all along. And he's emerged. And the beautiful thing about baseball...
all along in the postseason.
Yes, finally. He's a two-time MVP, so we can't sit here and act like he hasn't been great.
Right.
He's a Hall of Famer. My point, though, is these are the moments we're going to look back on. When he gets that Oppo home run that gets them into the World Series.
I'd love to see him win one.
I mean, my God, I think they're going to.
Yeah.
Because they're just that team that just got hot at the right time. We saw the Red Sox in 2004. We saw the Cardinals in 2005. These teams that were wild card teams that got hot and bam, they took off and they beat teams they had no business beating. So that's the beauty of baseball. But again, to your point, Eddie, about asking about the Yankees, man, the math always adds up. 1 + 1 is always going to equal 2. And when you don't have the right leadership and the right team and infrastructure in place, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're going to lose in October. And that's what happened, man. When it gets cold, so do the bats. You got to have the situational hitting, you got to have the situational pitching, and you have to have the right guys in place to lead your way. And the Phillies and the Astros do, and that's why they're here.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that. I fell for the trap. I was buying in on the hype of the Yankees and the Dodgers. I had the Dodgers winning the World Series, and boy, did that fail. So, yeah, I don't have much more to add to that.
All right, let's go back to the NFL. Does this look like Aaron Rodgers' last year in the NFL?
No. I do not anticipate this will be how he ends his career. I know that's a safe assumption because of his body language and the way the Packers are playing. I told Trevor during that Commanders game that I think the Packers are done. I'm actually going to recant that statement. I don't think they're going to be done. Yeah. Because of the very fact that, one, the NFC is still so bad. I think that there's only, 4 teams in the entire NFC that even have winning records. So the Packers could literally go 8-9 and make the playoffs. And I think they're still going to make the playoffs. We're not going to talk about the NFC today, but I will go ahead and throw that out there. I still think the Packers are a playoff team because they have too much talent. I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach. I don't know if he's a great coach yet. Yeah. I don't think he's done enough to prove. Football. Yeah, situationally, I don't know how great he is. Yeah. But I still have not given up on Aaron Rodgers. I think that we talk about it all the time about how the Chiefs have to gel. Well, it's even more so for Aaron Rodgers. Now, I do think this season is showing us just how much greater Patrick Mahomes is than his peers like Aaron Rodgers because while gelling, he's still by far the best quarterback in football to this point, whereas Aaron Rodgers is struggling a lot more, and to his credit, he's got a lot of young, unproven talents to rely on. What the Packers need to do, it's so simple. You got to get Aaron Jones the ball. They are undefeated when he touches the ball 15 or more times. Undefeated over the last 2 years. Get him the freaking ball. They don't utilize Aaron Jones enough. And what do you know? The one drive, they were throwing him the ball, running him the ball. Guess what happened? They scored a touchdown.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Their offense is struggling so bad because they're overthinking things. They're not... God, my nose keeps itching. They're not picking their spots when to throw the ball deep downfield. They're not. You see Aaron Rodgers on the famous third down plays or the free plays. He tries to chuck the ball. You don't have those guys to rely on to do that anymore. You don't have even Randall Cobb to this point who's injured now. You don't have those old school dudes that you know, hey, free play, boom, 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 let's go throw it down. Jordy Nelson for 65 yards. That's not their team right now. But I do believe they're going to turn this around and be good enough to get into the playoffs. So I hope that answers your question. But no, I don't anticipate this will be his last season because I think Aaron's too good at football still, and I think he still loves the game. I don't think he's going to be a guy that plays deep into his 40s like Tom Brady because Tom's different. Tom literally will sacrifice his personal life to continue to play football, and that's just a fact. Aaron's not that guy. I think Aaron's more at peace with who he is as a person, and I don't think that football matters as much to him. It does matter, but I don't think it matters as much to him as guys like Tom Brady, where they're going to play deep into their 40s. I think we get at least another season after this season of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have faith in Aaron Rodgers, at least during the regular season, to find a way to get there and make the dance. I'm not doubting them as a playoff team. The NFC is definitely open still in a lot of ways. I hope the Packers do something non-Packer-like, is go trade for a receiver or go actually give Aaron Rodgers weapons that you didn't organically draft, which is rare. And I think Brandon Cooks is a possibility.
Chase Claypool.
I think Brandon Cooks is a possibility here. I think they need some good deep speed and a good guy that's over the middle that can catch and make them plays with the ball in his hands. And Brandon Cooks has been that his whole career. He's been you can lock him in for 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns every season almost. That guy's as consistent as you get. And he's been on a lot of bad teams, a lot of bad quarterbacks throwing him the ball. So I think Brandon Cooks is a possibility there. I think they need to make a move if they want to be a playoff team, because Sammy Watkins is back right now, but he hasn't been on the same page, and he's probably a step or two away from being hurt again. So this team need to make a move, I feel. And this defense has not put it together, but I still think this defense will find their stride. There's a lot of talent on that defense, so I think they can eventually get it together. They've been struggling against the run, but they've been a good pass defense. They just keep getting gashed up the middle against the run. Once they figure that out, I think this defense will be good, and this will be a good team. Aaron Rodgers is good enough to steer the ship and find guys, but they need another talent. And Watson has barely played any football this year. They're for the receiver they took first, and Dobbs has been very inconsistent. They've tried to make him something, but he hasn't really become anything yet. He's been thrown to the tight end and the running backs more than anybody else. That's not really what you want. But getting the running backs involved obviously is the way you want this offense, because those are your best offensive weapons. But defense is going to tee off on those running backs, man, because they know you just want to run the ball, and their offensive line hasn't been that good. And Bakhtiari's been in and out. So I have faith Aaron Rodgers will find a way to get this team to the playoffs. He's a back-to-back MVP for a reason. The guy's incredible. First ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to figure it out. And he's still got it in him. You can see it. He's still got it. Just give him time to make plays. The offensive line's been bad so far. He's always been getting hit. So I think they'll figure it out. I do think they need to add another piece, though. With Randall Cobb going down, he was doing well this year. With him going down, that's a big loss for this offense.
Just a few minutes ago, I wanted to put this out here while we're live streaming. Albert Breer is reporting that the Chiefs have checked in on the availabilities of Jaguars defensive end Josh Allen, and also mentioned Odell Beckham Jr. as a strong possibility.
Let's just get them both.
So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
The Chiefs might end up whiffing on both, but that is Albert Breer. It's been he put that out there just about 16 minutes ago.
So that to me tells me that Clark Hunt has given the okay to trade away the first round pick.
I would hope so.
Thanks, Clark.
Or they know that this is Chris Jones last year, and we're going to trade him next year and potentially get a couple first out of Chris Jones, maybe.
I don't think we trade Chris Jones.
So
I mean, that is a possibility. His value has never been higher.
That's true.
It's never been higher.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. There has to be something, because I'm sure Clark Hunt wants a pick the first night of the draft here in KC. But
I definitely do, but as we talked about, I think holding another Lombardi matters more. It has to matter more to him. I mean, I would imagine.
Second round picks matter more.
Trophy more than.
Well, Lamar, yeah, that's the step up. You know,
Give me all
get the Lamar to go get the Lombardi.
Give me all the second and third round picks for Veach, man. That's all I want.
Those are the two L's you want to hold: the Lamar and the Lombardi. You know what I mean? Those are the L's you want to hold.
All right, man. Let's talk about the other quarterback you mentioned. Do you think that Tom Brady is only it's only in the league because he thought he would be in Miami instead of Tampa?
Yes, 100% yes. He did not want to play for the Tampa. This is so weird to me that his divorce has been more covered than his actual NFL career, which is what should matter more to us. But you know how our world goes and the media goes. But this has been reported time and time again that he was colluding with the Dolphins to make this work while still under contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That doesn't sound like a guy that wants to keep playing for the Buccaneers. I would imagine that Tom Brady, who was loyal to the end with the Patriots, they told him he had to go. He was going to stay with New England. I would imagine that same guy, if he makes this type of decision or is doing these kinds of things in the background, he really does want to play at that other place, because he could have done this in New England. He didn't do that in New England. Him and Bruce Arians, although I do think love and respect each other, I think he knew that there was too much of a rift there for them to ever get back to where they once were, so he wanted changes. But the biggest window of opportunity for him was to go to Miami, get Sean Payton to become the head coach out there. Tom Brady could become the owner player on the team and try to get himself another championship because he saw that Tyreek Hill just went there. He saw that roster was very talented. He knew the AFC East, at least to what we thought it was going to be the Bills and everybody else. Well, that's not true. He knew that was an opportunity for him to get out of the situation of the Bucs because they had their time. And you're seeing it now at 3-5. This team is done. They're dead in the water. And he saw that coming because Tom Brady's a very smart man. He knows that team was aging. They didn't have the great veteran presence they once had on both sides of the ball. Guys were getting injured, things of that nature. He wanted out. It was clear as day. Yeah. And I can't believe there wasn't suspensions and fines handed down to him. It was just only the owner of the Dolphins that really suffered any punishment from that, even though we all knew they were all in talks and connection. So yeah, it's without question this was his full intent and why he wanted to continue to play. Yeah. And hey, real quick, I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't think he retires after this season now.
Wow.
I actually think Tom Brady's going to play somewhere else after this season.
Wow.
I do not think he's done. Not to get into the personal affairs, I think if him and Giselle were still together, he would maintain the truth of, hey, you know what? I gave it one last effort. I think because there's still going to be a market for Tom because he's still good enough to play in this league.
You can't lose what you already lost, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think because of the fact that now football is at the forefront of his entire life and he's still good enough to play. I'm not saying he's Tom of 4 or 5 years ago, but I think he's still good enough. If a team out there wants him, like the Dolphins again, I think we could see him playing somewhere else next season.
Oof. I mean, with the performances we've seen on him this year, I don't know if the Dolphins still want him. But I will say I'm not a body language expert, but man, I've watched damn near every game of the Bucs this year because they've had some primetime games, and I tend to watch them and pay attention to what Tom's doing because it's fun to watch him suffer this year, if I'm being honest. But that's a guy that just does not enjoy the weekly process of football right now and being out there and just the O-line, the guys not being on the same page, Julio not being available. There's a lot of debacles going on there. The defense is not what it was. Losing to the Panthers, you know.
They're still only giving up 19 points a game. Isn't that crazy to think, though?
Yeah. I know, but the defense has not been, it just hasn't been, I get it, but they haven't played, either way. One passing touchdown in the last
13 or two touchdown passes in the last 13 quarters, and one of them was garbage time against the Ravens.
Right. So, it's just, that's a guy that just is not enjoying himself and enjoying life right now. Regardless of things that are going off the field, he's losing twice in 2 different ways this season. So I think he should have hung it up last year. I really do. I just don't. Even if he goes to the Dolphins, that doesn't concern me in any way in the AFC.
I think the Giants are another possibility.
Boy, go for it.
Yeah. I think there's gonna be a market, man.
Okay, go. Yeah. Who's he throwing the ball to in that offense? Okay.
Well, they're gonna have like $80 million in cap space. They can go out there and spend. I'm just saying, don't sleep on the Giants. There's gonna be other teams out there that I think, even the 49ers, if they don't believe in Trey Lance.
I don't even know outside of a trade position what they would get from wide receivers. Because a lot of the good wide receivers are locked up in big contracts from the past offseason. So I don't know. I think he should hang it up. He has not looked good even for him. He's throwing a lot of dirt balls and just. He doesn't look healthy, which he normally looks healthy. You know what I mean? He takes care of himself really well. He's just looked sunken in cheeks, bags under the eyes, looks stressed. Yep. I know he's going through what he's going through. I've been there. Not on the grand scale he's going through, but I've been there. And it's just, he's playing some bad football, the worst football of his career so far this year. And it's tough to watch, even as a guy that doesn't like him very much. It's tough to watch this train wreck as a season for the Bucs. They're probably going to miss the playoffs.
Who called that?
Hey, I didn't say that. I had them winning, I think, 12 games this year. So trust me, I'm eating that crow hard right now. But yeah,
I had him winning 13.
I know you don't think he's going to retire, but I think he needs to quit. But I think he's obviously the pride that this guy has. He's going to want to redeem himself somewhere.
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is based upon his own personal life, which we know was the biggest reason why he initially retired. Yeah. That being gone, I do think there's a good chance he tries to play again. And if there is a team, because we saw with Brett Favre after he retired with the Packers that final time, we saw the Jets were willing to sign him on, and he's like, okay, I still can play this game at a decent level. They want me, and I've always said, if a team wants you and you're good enough still, and you feel it in yourself, you want to keep playing, by all means keep playing. If Tom wants to keep playing, and there's a team out there that wants him next year, go play. It's what you love. Clearly, you're sacrificing a lot of things in your personal life to keep playing. If you still think you're good enough, and teams think you're good enough and want you, keep going, man. I think there's a chance he keeps playing.
He just needs to ask, Giselle to reverse the curse, because the witch spells and all that, and It's real.
We got a major Showtime pay-per-view fight tonight. I'm sure you guys are very aware. Logan Paul or Anderson Silva?
Because of the fact that I know that the Paul brothers run a circus, and I really do. I think if there's ever scripted or rigged fights, it's with these guys. Because that fight with what's his name from the UFC, just Woodley, that fight was very weird, man. And it's the way it seems so
timing was pretty
perfect.
odd.
Yeah, I think that Logan Paul's going to win this fight. I think Anderson Silva now is in that place in his
Jake Paul.
or Jake Paul. I'm sorry, I apologize.
You said Logan Paul.
Okay,
My
yeah,
bad,
I apologize.
Jake Paul,
Yeah,
Jake
I knew
Paul.
which
My
one you were
bad.
talking.
Get it right.
I saw him in my head. I watched
Paul
the
brothers
weigh-ins. I see the way they're dancing and stuff during the showdowns and stuff. This is all just a dance with gloves. Anderson's going to get a massive payout because he didn't make a ton of money in the UFC. I think that Anderson's going to take the knee. He's going to lose this fight because Jake Paul and them want to continue to gain clout and credit and credence in the fighting game. Respect to him because they're making tons of money doing it. I know it's a business. Jake Paul's going to win this fight. I don't know how. I could see him winning by knockout or something like that. I don't think it's going to be a legitimate fight, though. I think it's going to be very Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor. They're dancing around, acting like they're really fighting. It's a dance with gloves. I'm going to pick Jake Paul.
I enjoy this stuff. I think it's entertaining.
That's all it is, though. It's just
and I like
entertainment.
the Paul. I mean, Logan Paul kind of gets on my nerves. I actually kind of like Jake. He has this quirky, swaggy way about him. He's entertaining. It's like a Chet Hanks.
Yeah.
I love the gimmick. I think it's fun. I think they're entertaining guys. And I like these fights, man. The little celebrity death match kind of thing going on. I think it's fun.
It's popcorn.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for it, that's for sure. But I mean, I think it's fun. I think Jake's gonna win. I think Jake's actually a good boxer. He's got a lot of power and he's got pop just punches.
Non-boxers, I agree.
I mean, he trains with the best. He does. His training crew is incredibly good.
What have I always said, though? Until he fights a real boxer, I don't care.
We can only compare him to.
I agree. No, you're fair.
A
That's
lot
true.
of real boxers
That is true.
respect what he's doing.
I will give him that
They
credit.
Don't want
He
to go
did
down
try.
to his level, and I
Yeah.
respect that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's got skill, man. You can't not deny what he does.
And I want to give him credit. If he goes out there and beat real boxer, I'm like, dude, this guy's legit. I'll give him all his flowers.
He is a guy that came from nothing and is out there beating other professional fighters. That you have to give him that. If he goes out there and beats one of the greatest UFC fighters and then he just beat one of the greatest knockout artists of all time.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
Wouldn't you kind of agree with me on this, though, that some of these fights have been a little flimsy? It's like, Askren.
Yeah, both of these guys are getting. Nonetheless, the guys he's fighting get paid handsome whether they win or lose.
He was the one that fought Nate Robinson originally, too, right?
He put him in a coma.
And Nate Robinson's a former basketball player that's shorter than I
has
am.
a massive boxing.
He's
background.
shorter than I am. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, Jake isn't like some bred fighter, you know what I mean? So he's made himself into what he is, and he has legitimate skill. I don't think he has the speed to go out there and compete, and the footwork to go out there and compete with the best of the best. He's still a young guy though, boxers wise, but I think he has legitimate boxing power, and he has a good technique to his hits, and I think he's legitimately a good boxer. He's not great in any way.
How quick do you, Eddie? I know you hate Canelo, but come on.
Oh, dude, that's not.
If Canelo and Jake Paul fought right now, I'm just saying.
You're talking about one of the greats.
How quick would that fight be over?
Probably
Be
12
real,
rounds.
Eddie. Be real.
12 rounds. Probably the judges will go Canelo.
You're going
Canelo
to the top.
We talk about integrity on this show, and he's saying 12 rounds with
You're
Canelo.
going to the top, bro.
I know.
You can't just go right
I'm
to
saying
the top
you
with
like to talk
Canelo.
about these circus fights. They're fun. I'm saying take it to the extreme on the other side
I
because
think
these
he
are
would be able- I
jokes.
think
These
he
are
would be able to
jokes.
compete with some professional
These are
boxers.
novelty fights. These are just novelty fights.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
And people pay for it. And
And Jake
he's-
Paul's going to win. Anderson Silva's not going to beat him in a boxing match. He's 44, 45 years old now. He's getting a big payout. Come on. We
He's
know
probably
what this
gonna get paid
is.
more for this fight than he ever did in the UFC.
It's a name versus a name. That's
Yeah.
what this is.
All right, let's go to UFC
Yeah.
280.
Let's go to real fighting.
Yeah. Reactions. We're going to go fight by fight. It's only 3 fights I want to focus on. The first one is Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, so weird thing. I thought his name was Peter Yan. It's actually Pierre Yan. Pierre Yan. So no, it's not your fault. Because it's spelled Peter. Okay, here's the thing about this fight. We texted. Trevor, you and I watched this together. Eddie, we were texting throughout the fight. I thought Yan won this fight. I really thought he won this fight. And I was pulling for Sugar. I love me some Sugar Sean, dude. That's my guy. That is our guy here. I want to see him get a chance for the belt. And I think he's now legitimately going to get that. I don't think that Yan whooped his ass by any means. I think that Yan won the first 2 rounds, though. I do think Sugar won the 3rd round. So I thought it was a 2-1 Yan in favor of Yan. But I actually dug deep into this. And supposedly, according to the UFC officiating structure, they look more for significant strikes and damage. That's what they look for in fights more than they look at like ground control and stuff like that, which is weird because you would think an MMA-based sport would look more for the ground control and things of that nature because Jan destroyed him in that. He had like 6.5, 7 minutes of ground control to like Sugar's like 3 seconds. So if we were going by that, Jan dominated him. But because of the fact that Sugar opened his eye up really bad with that knee, the hell out of him in that third round, had him phased a lot, I think that's why they gave Sugar the fight. But I do think that if it was my way, I would have Sugar go get a belt title against Sterling. And if he wins that belt, Jan needs to get a shot at it. That's what I really think needs to happen. Because now that Sugar got the dub, I think that they need to give him a chance at the belt. Sterling and him need to get a shot at the belt because he jumped up big time. I think he was the 11th ranked fighter in his own weight class to Jan's 1. He was the number 1 contender. So him getting that W over the number 1 contender should have him jump up and get that fight because Dillashaw took the L to Sterling the same night. We'll talk about. I think that Sugar gets the fight, gets an opportunity. I think he could beat Sterling. And if he beats Sterling, Jan should get a rematch.
Yeah, I mean, Sugar Shane's my guy. I love that guy. I think
Sean.
or Sugar Sean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I always do that. Yeah,
exactly. That's why.
But anyways, I love him. I think he's great. I don't think he won that fight though. I don't. I know he had more significant strikes, but he was consistently being taken down. Owned the time under the possession of the mounting and all that. He had him control the fight in the majority of the rounds. I only think Sugar won 1 round.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And for that to go to a split decision and he wins even on technicalities, the significant strikes. I guess he had a pretty significant amount more,
by like 40 something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he had gone bleeding and things like that. And I don't know, man. I don't think he was the aggressor most of the. It was a good fight. Don't get me wrong. Yes. It was a good fight. They were back and forth. They both were getting each other for sure. It was definitely the best fight. I just don't think he did enough to win. I really don't. And that's a lot for me because I tend to be biased for him. The last time out, that was a strange occurrence. But I was excited about this fight. I love this matchup. I think we need a rematch between the two of them, man. I think we do. It probably won't happen now.
Yeah.
It probably won't happen. It'll probably happen later.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure both these guys probably want that. Because I don't think he felt like he won.
Well, and Sterling wants another fight soon
For sure.
because Dillashaw. We'll talk about it. But Sterling didn't really get a challenge in that fight, and so I think he's ready to go.
Yeah, this was a strange one, man. And I'm glad he won. I'm not glad he got the W, but it was a strange way of getting it because I felt he was dominated most of that fight, and that was the most dominated I've seen him be. He doesn't get taken down much. His defense is great. So it was a good attack from Gon's side. I just don't. I don't see how he really truly won that fight. But yeah, it was a close one. I guess significant strikes was the reason they leaned his way.
It had to be.
Yeah, I mean, because
that's all he had going for him.
He wasn't getting any takedowns. I mean, he had some good significant strikes for sure, and he had him shook and he had him bleeding. So I guess that was what edged him out. So it was a good fight though, nonetheless. I mean, even if there wasn't a winner, like it was a good fight to watch. Both those guys were so technically sound and both great professionals at what they do, and they're both. One of them's kind of been there, one of them goes on the rise. So I kind of like that dynamic. But I mean, that was a battle for sure. But Sean won, man, barely.
All right, next fight we'll go with Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah, this one was so anticlimactic because TJ Dillashaw, his shoulder popped out almost instantaneously in this fight.
He fleeced the UFC, man.
And TJ even apologized for it. That was now that I think about more than it was messed up that he took that fight. He apologized for it, and I appreciate him doing that. But he was in no way, shape, or form ready for that fight because all throughout his training, leading up, he had popped his shoulder out multiple times. That should have automatically been, hey, we got to cancel this fight. We got to find a replacement for him, and it would probably been Pierre Yan. It probably would have put him in that fight because, as we all know,
much better fight.
What happened though? Why did Sterling get his belt to begin with? Because of that illegal knee that Yan put on him, and then ended up giving Sterling the belt. So that would have been a really good storyline. Dillashaw, I think, would have lost that fight regardless. But we were robbed. We were definitely robbed of a main event there, or not the main event, but the co-main event, because of that fact that Sterling was trying to prove himself as a legitimate champion against a legend like TJ Dillashaw. A lot of people don't like TJ because he is a cheater. He is a guy that's been proven to be a cheater throughout his career, and then does some shady shit like that. It's a bad look. It sucks for the UFC. I know Dana White's very very pissed about it, and that's why they need to make up for this horrendous matchup and get a Sugar Sean Sterling matchup. I think that needs to happen. Or if they want to convince us to get a Jan Sterling rematch, we can do that too. But I think Sugar deserves it. Like, I'm not trying to repeat myself, but that's what it is. But yeah, this one sucked. Sterling's the better fighter, I think, already. This is the perfect time for Sterling to prove himself against another number one contender. He's 33 years old. This is a great time to really establish himself as that proven champion. This fight didn't do that.
I think Sterling's the best fighter in that position, in that division right now. I do. I think he's
incredible. Yeah.
Even over Sugar, I think even if they fought, if I'm betting, I'm rooting for Sugar, but I'm betting against him. I think Sterling is just an absolute. He's a beast, man. He's great. There's not a weakness.
Yeah.
He's great on the ground. He's an incredible striker. He's in peak shape. I mean, the guy. The only thing I'll give Sugar is his unpredictability
and his reach.
Not just that, but I'm saying like his uncoordinated, not uncoordinated. His just a strange, very unorthodox.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. His style is so odd. It's similar to how, like, we've seen guys like Bones Jones and Stylebender, guys like that are just incredibly unpredictable.
Yeah,
they're long and unpredictable.
No idea what's coming.
That's one of the greatest edges you can have in mixed martial arts is length and unpredictability, and knockout power. And Sugar has all of that. That guy has brick for hands. So that would be a fun matchup. But I think Sterling is just so. He's just so dynamic, man, in everything he does. He's incredible. So I would love to see that fight, though. But yeah, I think this fight here with Dillashaw, he fleeced the UFC, and it was really frustrating. I know he wanted to like be humble about it at the end, and like maybe he was gonna earn some cool points with the fans. No, bro, you fucked the fans over because you didn't give us a fight.
Yep.
The fight was over from the jump. You pulled your shoulder right out immediately, as if you didn't know that was going to happen, and you couldn't even throw blows with that hand because that shoulder was out of place, and you just absolutely got dominated on the ground because you couldn't get up because you couldn't leverage your body because you had one arm. It was embarrassing, and I think he deserves some kind of disciplinary action, if I'm being honest, because he was dishonest. I know he didn't lie technically, but he was dishonest about his injury, and supposedly he told the ref right before the fight that he had a shoulder issue.
That his shoulder is gonna dislocate at some point in the fight.
Yeah.
He warned the ref.
But if he came to the UFC and told them that, they would have pulled him from that fight.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's like you were dishonest with the UFC.
Leading to this
fight, it's a bad look.
Yeah, leading to this fight, he said through his camp, leading up to this fight, I think his shoulder dislocated like 5 times.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're gonna go out there and think you have a shot against Sterling? Bro, good luck, man. Like that was embarrassing. That could have been, if they were both healthy, that could have been a really good fight because Dillashaw is, whether you like him or not, his controversies over the years, he's an incredible fighter. And one of the guys that just has a motor that doesn't quit. He just keeps going and going. That's why I think he probably tried to give himself the benefit of the doubt that he can go out there and will his way with a bad shoulder. But no, you're not gonna fight through that against this guy, man. That's just not gonna happen. So he fleeced fans. He didn't give us a show that a lot of people paid for. I didn't, but a lot of people paid for to attend. Yeah, so yeah, man, we were robbed of a good fight, honestly. If Gon would have been out there, that would have been a much better fight in my mind. So yeah, that was if you go back and watch the fight since this one, you can just fast forward right through and skip right over. So that was as a fan of the game, a fan of the sport, yeah, that's just unacceptable, honestly. So
now to the main event of the night, the last question I got for you guys: Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, so I picked Oliveira in this fight originally because I felt that this was the right time for Oliveira to get his belt back. You know, he's worked his way back from, losing weight the last fight against, God, I forget the matchup he had just recently, but he choked him out, and God, was that your guy? I feel bad. Blake Senior's probably cussing at me right now if he's watching. But I picked Oliveira because I thought he was the guy that can win in more ways than Makhachev. Makhachev's a great fighter. He's a Khabib understudy. I think he's actually related to Khabib, if I'm not mistaken. So we knew that he was a proven fighter too, 22-1 going into this fight. I gave Oliveira the slight edge. But what was weird is when I was watching them doing their walk-ups, I felt like Oliveira was very distracted. He looked very emotional. He kept hugging people and watching the crowd.
Honestly, it looked like he was attending his own funeral.
Yeah, he looked
I think he kind of knew, man.
I feel like he kind of knew he was going to lose this fight. He was. I mean, he's always been a humble guy. Yeah. So that wasn't surprising to him and Khabib and the teams hug out and stuff like that. But it just looked like Makhachev was much more of a confident fighter, much more of a focused fighter, and it paid dividends because Oliveira got caught with that right over, and then he got choked out at the end. Seeing Oliveira get choked out from the first time in how many years, seeing him lose like that was just very uncharacteristic, and I just really wonder where his mind was in that fight. I do expect Oliveira to bounce back because he's not an old fighter. He's too great.
It's a bad matchup.
He'll bounce back. Hopefully they can get a rematch for that one because I know that was the interim belt fight. it was very disappointing to see Oliveira look that out of it.
You were talking about Gaethje before, right?
Gaethje, thank you. Yes, when that was
That was a great
primal,
fight, man.
Primal Oliveira,
Gaethje was
dude. Where he
catching
just
his ass,
he
too.
killed him. He was ready for. I mean, Gaethje was giving him the business, and it didn't stop him. This fight, there was no real pushback from Oliveira. He looked very timid, very distracted. I hope that he comes back being the fighter we know him to be after this one, because this was a humbling matchup against Machiavev, because Machiavev is a proven champion now, 23-1. That's wild to think, man.
He's 33 too. He's up there in age.
Yeah,
but
he's older too.
He's
so,
here though.
Yeah, he's here.
But yeah, this fight was it was pretty much a dominant performance from Islam. These Chevs and Maevs, I'm telling you, man, they're taking
My
over
boy,
the OC.
Chimaev.
These guys are a different breed, dude, and these guys are starting to take over this sport in my mind. Islam is, I mean, that was a dominant performance on an all-time great. You know, that wasn't just a win. I didn't expect that. I really didn't. I thought there was going to be a lot more back and forth.
A front choke or neck choke.
Yeah,
too. I mean,
and the way he did it was just like he sunned him.
Yeah, dude.
He straight up sunned him. Like he was like me fighting Jax. That's what it looked like. My son Jax. Like, it was like that was a dominant performance.
money's on
man.
Jax.
I'm just saying that was a dominant performance. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a good back and forth. Which there were some moments there where you kind of would get him a little bit, but Islam is a scary man, and similar to Chimaev as well. Those two guys are on the rise. Chimaev, much younger, has a lot more time, I think, to be a champ, and I fully believe he's going to be a champ for some time.
Yes, sir.
I do believe that. He's an unstoppable
You in
force
trouble,
right now.
Leon Edwards?
100%. But yeah, that was a dominant performance, man. Islam is a guy I think who also could be pushing to become a champ here sometime soon as well.
Well, he is now.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
He won the belt. But
I guess the
defending
title fight.
I don't think
Defending
you can do
it and being a guy for some time.
Yeah.
Obviously, that weight class has a lot of talent, and there's going to be some true contenders that are going. There could be a rematch as well.
Gaethje?
Of course.
Yeah.
Man. Gaethje is a guy that can catch anybody, but that matchup, I just think the wrestling prowess of Islam too. I know Gaethje has a wrestling background. He was a great wrestler as well, but he's developed more into a stand-up fighter, and I think that could bode well for him in that matchup if he can catch him a couple times. He's got haymakers for days, but man, that was a complete just ownership of that fight. So I wasn't expecting that. I was really expecting more of a back and forth, but that was really a one-sided fight there. And Islam is here. I mean, don't say that too loud.
He is him.
Don't say that too loud in America, but I'm just saying, like that was a dominant performance, man, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, great Eddie Hour, man. We appreciate that. We always have good questions. I always love when we get to talk UFC too. That's always one of my favorite things to do.
It was a good card.
We need to get Blake back on here before that November. Was that the November 5th or 12th with Israel Adesanya?
Yes.
And Poirier or.
The kickboxer.
Pereira, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Man, that's going to be a great card. We
could
need to
be-
get Blake back on the show for that one.
That could be the kryptonite.
Let's get to some NFL picks, Week 8. I have this, and I want to do a little bit of a special thing afterwards and get to discussing
Pick the Ravens.
Yeah, there we go. Chiefs versus the bye. I got the Chiefs winning by 17. I'm just kidding. No, we have there's actually some fun matchups this week, and I know there's been people have really enjoyed this segment, man. We've had some people text me, message me, like, hey, man, put a mark on when you guys start doing that, because I want to start going on your guys' over-unders. I'm like, you don't want to follow my shit, man. And just follow your instincts. Don't follow mine. But nevertheless, we have the Jaguars hosting the Broncos tomorrow night at 7 or 8:30. I believe that's the Sunday night football game. Yeah, that's correct. The Chargers, the Jaguars are 2.5-point favorites at home. The over/under is 40.5. We all know that these two teams, record-wise, aren't good, but one team is much better than the other, in my opinion. I think the Jaguars are a much better team, just based upon quarterback, head coach. That alone gives them such a significant advantage. The Jaguars play great at home this year. They're not a very good road team, as to be expected. They're a young team that's still trying to find their way in this league. But Doug Peterson, I believe, does have this team going in the right direction, whereas the Broncos are just a complete and utter disaster. They have the worst coach in football right now. They have the worst quarterback situation in football right now, based upon the salary and the expectation and just the utter disappointment of play to this point. I don't know if Russell Wilson's playing this game or not. I haven't heard anything as far as whether he'll play or not. I don't think it's honestly going to matter, because I think the Jaguars defense is going to eat up whoever plays quarterback in this game. I think that front seven for the Jaguars is improving each and every week. I don't think the Jaguars are a playoff team, but I do think this is the perfect game for them to get right, if that makes sense, because they've had some frustrating losses in the the recent matchups, I am picking the Jaguars to win this game by double digits. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a very good game. I'm expecting James Robinson. I'm sorry, not James Robinson, ETN to have a big game. I know they just traded James Robinson, but I'm expecting ETN to have a very big game as well. The Broncos defense, I know they're good, but I never thought they were as good
Very
as
good.
I mean, here's the thing. They've really benefited off of playing some bad offenses to start the season. They're playing some better offenses as the time goes on, and with Randy Gregory still being out, I just don't know what they're really going to do in Jacksonville that's going to make me think they're going to win this game, because they cannot score points. They are scoring the fewest points in the entire NFL. I think they're averaging 4 points a game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I don't see that changing in Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's going to go in there. I think they're going to win this game by double digits, and the Broncos are going to fall even further into where we have to start asking the question, does Nathaniel Hackett make it through the season? Because if they lose this game again, they might put Russell Wilson on the shelf for the rest of the season and try to figure out something for next season to try to get him more help, more of an opportunity to develop, and maybe try to go and take a big swing on a Sean Payton or somebody like that, which I don't anticipate to happen. But the Jaguars are going to win this game. The Broncos are an absolute mess. And like I told you guys a couple weeks ago, outside of the Jets game that they ended up losing, I didn't see another W on the schedule for the Broncos. They might pull out one that's surprising, but I think they're a 3-4 win team this season. They're horrible. And I think that trend's going to continue.
I don't think the Broncos have lost by double digits once this season, though. So I don't think even their biggest loss was to the Raiders. And I think they only lost by like 9 or something like that.
It was like 32, 29, and 23, I think.
Yeah, so to say they're gonna, I don't think the offense of the Jaguars is potent enough to really go win out like that. The only time that I think the Jags have only won by double digits once was that shutout against the Colts. So I just don't.
But they lost by 7 to a team that can't score in the Jets at home. Now they're going to Jacksonville, where they play much
The
better.
Jets might be better than the Jags.
Yeah, I think they are.
You know what I mean?
I'm just saying that the Jags play really good home, and they have a better quarterback.
And they barely won against the Broncos. They didn't play that great against the Broncos. They did. Granted, they outside of that big
lost
play by
full
Brees.
touchdown at home.
Well, but that only big play for the Jets was that Brees Hall play.
Yeah.
And they just defensively got after ripping, and that was just the game. So, and it was just a field goal battle from there. So, I think the Jags win. They're going into Denver. Right?
No, this is Jacksonville.
So it's in Jacksonville. Okay, yeah. So that's I give them the edge at home. Traveling, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be for the Broncos. We don't care who the quarterback's going to be for the Broncos because it doesn't matter because they're a bad offense. Jerry Jeudy's probably going to get traded some point.
For the Giants are interested.
There's going to be a lot of teams interested in Jeudy. Judy's good. Judy's good. This offense has good weapons. They just are guided terribly by the quarterback and the coaching staff. So, yeah, I'm picking the Jags just blindly because I think they're the better team. But I do have a lot of respect for this Denver Broncos defense. And I think they are legitimately elite and for real. And they are getting healthier outside of a couple guys that are gone for the year. I do have a lot of respect for that Denver defense. But on the road, they're traveling. Not too far, but I mean, you're going to the East Coast.
Oh, that's right. Is it in England?
yeah,
I've wrapped everything I just said.
I was going
It's
to
in
say.
London.
You know what's funny, though, is the Jaguars actually play very well in Wembley because they play there every freaking year.
they're one of the favorites, yeah.
Yes.
Is it Wembley or Tottenham?
Wherever it's at.
Yeah.
It might be Tottenham. I don't know.
not sure.
Man,
But
I got to
yeah.
scrap that all together. I totally forgot this was I got to hold the L on
A
that
lot of
one.
my matchup decisions go into who's the better quarterback and who's the better coach, and the Jaguars have both. And the Jaguars' defense is good still too. Yeah. They have a lot of guys that think they're going to get after go through that offensive line of the Broncos, which is bad. So I'm just blindly picking the Jags. I just think they're the better team and the better situation. They're home away from home in the UK.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So. Yeah, and I just have no faith in the Broncos just to go win a game.
Yeah.
Like, unless something breaks their way and they get a defensive touchdown, which could happen. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has had his fair share of some mishaps and fumbles and pick sixes and things like that. That could definitely happen as well and change the momentum of that game. But I don't see the Broncos going out there just straight up winning a game. I'm picking the Jags.
Yeah, we got to give Starcade Media there a little high five because they were the ones that
Corrected you?
corrected
Appreciate
us.
that. Thank you, guys.
But it makes sense.
We can't know everything, okay?
But it makes sense because I mean, for 4 hours of a plane ride, Russell Wilson was doing high knees on an airplane.
Dude,
So-
when I first heard that, I was picturing that. I was dying in my head, just picturing it. And his teammates are sitting there like, bruh.
You guys see that
Are you
Photoshop video?
serious?
That Photoshop video
Yeah,
of the pan of the
the-
plane. He's like, "That's Rod." He's over there in the aisle. That was funny as hell, dude.
Oh, dude.
No, but
He's the worst.
the Broncos are, other than their defense, who is keeping them alive,
Yeah, their
in
defense
my
is really
opinion. The defense is what's keeping this team alive. What's giving them those wins.
And their field goal. No.
Yeah,
Kickers.
and the kick.
McManus, yeah, his foot's got to be in a
He's
cast
the
by
team
now.
MVP right now.
Yeah, I mean, the better team going into this game, I think, is the Jaguars. I think as a collective group, I think the Jaguars are in a better moment. I think these kids are looking for that playoff spot, that wild card in their division.
Yeah.
So, and that division is still wide open.
Yeah, they're only 2 games down.
Yeah, so they're still looking for the playoffs. You know, looking to win the division because I mean, like I said, it's still wide open. And the Broncos, I mean, the Broncos are the Broncos. They've been terrible this whole season. I just don't see the Broncos going to England to wherever they're playing and pulling out a win.
Wembley. Yeah, they're at Wembley.
Okay, Wembley. Yeah. So going to Wembley and then pulling out a win. I don't know if I trust this off. I don't know how healthy is Russell Wilson going into this game. I get it. He's played through injuries before, but obviously he was much younger. Now he's an older quarterback. He's an aging veteran. Obviously, those injuries start to linger a little bit longer or take a little bit longer to heal. How healthy is Russell Wilson going into this game? Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I just don't see the Broncos going out there and putting a great game and winning. If it's a close game, it's because of the defense. But like I said, I think the Jaguars are in a better moment. I think they're the better team going into this game. So I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a safe pick here. We actually have a game that shouldn't be intriguing, but it actually is. The Falcons are hosting the Panthers. The reason why this game is intriguing, both teams have losing records to this point of the season.
But
if one of these two, whoever wins this game, will be in sole possession of the NFC South. The Panthers would be 3-5, but have the tiebreaker on the Bucs. And the Falcons, obviously, because they both would be 3-5. So it's a wild thing that's going on out there in the NFC South. That's terrible. By far, I think the worst division in football. I think all 4 teams have losing records. This is going to be one of those games that I think is going to be a lot of fun in a very low-scoring affair. It's going to be one of those games where I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers. I think both quarterbacks are going to struggle in this one because the Panthers' defense is actually pretty damn good. Yeah. And I think Mariota is actually going to struggle in this one because we know he's one of those quarterbacks that has one big week and then he's going to probably tail off in the next couple of weeks.
They throw the least amount of times per week than any other team. So they constantly just run them. It's going to be a slow game.
Yes. I think this is going to be one of those like 13-10, 16-9 kind of games like that where it's just ugly, but it's been kind of fun because you're going to see a lot, like you said, a lot of like fumble recoveries, interceptions. It's going to be one of those just chaotic events. I'm going to give the Falcons the advantage in this one just slightly because I do think that they have the better head coach and the better quarterback situation. By the way, I do think Steve Wilks should have never been fired in Arizona. I think that was wrong of them, and you see how the Panthers have rallied around him. But I think that the Falcons are the better overall team. I think that Marcus Mariota will do just enough, and I think that Arthur Smith is going to lead his team to a very close divisional game and take sole possession of the NFC South, which, my God, I did not expect to say 7-8 weeks into this season, but it's going to happen. I'm picking the Falcons to not – I think it's going to be Panthers +4, but the Falcons end up winning the game. That's what I'll go with. What do you think, Trev?
Yeah, I'm picking the Falcons. I think they're definitely the better team. The Panthers have – I think the wins – I think teams that have won against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Chiefs included, those wins maybe look a little more inflated than they should have at the time now that we're like kind of retroactively looking back because I think the Bucs are bad. So, yeah, that win, it was a good, still, regardless of what you think about the Panthers, that was a good defensive performance from them against Tom Brady. They absolutely just owned that offense of the Bucs. So I think they can do that against a Mariota-led offense. But I think the kind of offense that Mariota runs under Art Smith is a good offense actually to counteract the defense of the Panthers because they're actually really good against getting after the passer and playing really well against the pass. So I think the running a lot of the option plays and getting the ball out quick, wildcat plays, and a lot of the things they mix up, a lot of the trickery that they do with that Atlanta offense, which is I think that's going to be more effective against that defense than a Tom Brady kind of pass heavy offense. So I think points will be at a premium here in this game, but I think the offense of the Atlanta Falcons will actually be pretty productive. I think they'll have nice long drives, but they're a very good running offense. Mariota included, he's been very mobile this year and good in the red zone. And they are always in every single game. They have not been blown out. They have not been absolutely destroyed. Outside the Seattle game was like a shootout.
Yeah.
But that was a close one through and through. They have been in every game, so I think the talent of. I think Kyle Pitts has got to eventually have a good game, a really good game here. He's had one good game this season, but I think this is a game where Kyle Pitts can really kind of find himself in the end zone maybe once and then have a good game. But Cordell Patterson should be coming back, I think, in the next couple of weeks for them. So that's a guy that they're looking to get back. So if they can take advantage of this game, get this win, and lead that division, and then you get their main offensive weapon in Cordell Patterson back, who's been good for them since he's been out there.
Looking good.
I think they win. I still think the Panthers are terrible.
Yeah.
That defense is bad, and Wilkes might keep that job maybe, but they have P.J. Walker out there at quarterback. They just lost McCaffrey. Chuba Hubbard's banged up. I don't think he's playing. So they got Deontay Foreman leading the way, who's a solid back, but he's a perennial backup everywhere he's gone. So I'm taking the talent and the coaching and the quarterback play of the Atlanta Falcons to win this one.
And then the Panthers, you might have to think that there might be some healthy scratches.
Well, and they should want to lose.
Thinking of potentially trading these the following week and probably not causing an injury
That's
to
fair.
a significant player of theirs.
Possible, and they're looking to get a good draft pick position as well. So I think losing is kind of a benefit for them. If I'm being honest.
So I think the Falcons are the better team in this game.
They are the better team.
The Panthers, they beat Tampa Bay, but I mean, the way it's looking now, it's like I think anybody can beat Tampa Bay.
Falcons very well should have beat Tampa Bay too. If they were given the chance on a terrible call. But
the Falcons have been playing great football. They haven't really been blown out. Like they haven't been. This is a completely different Falcons team that we've seen in the past years. Especially now with Mariota at the helm. It's different, and it's fun to watch them play football. They do come up with some creative plays. I don't know why they don't target Kyle Pitts as much as they used to.
Offense, very leather helmets.
Yeah, because you're just wasting his talents at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's why he's only had one good game, like to what Trevor said.
Once.
Yeah, because I think they're just looking away. They're scheming away from Kyle Pitts. Like, you know what I mean? So
it's like a decoy the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much. But I do think this team is good enough to beat another bad team, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the better of who's less worse, I guess you could say.
Atlanta's the better team in my mind.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think they have the better quarterback. They have the better quarterback. They have the better running game, I think. Yeah, defense-wise, I think they're better. I mean, I'm going to go with the Falcons here as well.
Well, and then we have a noon slate game. The Vikings are hosting the Cardinals. Cardinals looked really good last week against the Saints, putting them at 3-4. A team that I actually had in the playoffs, and I'm still not giving up on that. I think they can still very much make the playoffs, even if they lose this game against the Vikings, because the NFC, again, is that bad. The Vikings are a team that a lot of people are sleeping on. They're 5-1. Mm-hmm. They're 3-0 at home this season. Their defense has played actually pretty well, considering how many guys they've lost over the last year or two. And I think the Vikings are a team that, although I may not be big on when it comes to the playoffs, are a team that I think can rack up 11, 12 victories this season with the great start they've had to this point of the season. And again, although the Cardinals did whoop the Saints pretty bad last week, I think that had more to do with the Saints than the Cardinals. I think that you saw the way that Dalton managed to throw back-to-back pick sixes on back-to-back drives. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Yeah.
That pretty much decided the game. I think this is going to be a lot different because although Kirk Cousins is a guy that struggles in primetime games, noon games are where he likes to hail supreme and reign supreme. I think that Kirk Cousins has been one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the league. Again, they haven't lost a game at home this season. They've already won 2 divisional games at home this season. This is a game against a Cardinals team that I think are feeling better about themselves, but still have a lot of inefficiencies, primarily at their head coaching position. I think that the crazy little stat here that I want to throw out here, the Vikings, although are 5-1 and are one of the better scoring offenses in football, still haven't scored 30 points in a game this season. I think they do it this week because I think they have to, because I do think DeAndre Hopkins being back is going to help the Cardinals' offense elevate to the next level. He played incredible this last week. I think he has another incredible game. I think the Vikings are going to cover. It's a 3.5 point. They're minus 3.5 right now. I do think they cover, but I think the Cardinals make this a fun game. I can see this one being like a 31-27, 34-29 kind of game. I do think that the Vikings will cover because they're at home. They're a really good team on noon games. Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback on noon games. I think Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, those guys are just going to have really big games this week. They're going to dash that Cardinals defense up, and I think it'll be a high-scoring game. And I do I'm taking the over as well because if I'm not mistaken, the over in this game is 49. I'm taking the over in this one. Because you could tell that Vegas is expecting this to be a high-scoring game. Neither defense is great at stopping their teams. I think the Vikings, though, score their first 30-point game of the season and win this game by one possession.
All right, yeah. I like the Vikings here.
Yeah.
I want to say a part of me wants to pick the Cardinals because I think they are in a kind of a must-win mode right now. They got to make up for the slow start to the season. But I think DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, right out the gates, came out and showed who he is and how vital he is to the offense and how vital he is to the production of Kyler Murray. Because you can look at the splits with and without DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray, and it's telling. So. I think this game will be competitive. I'm not sure if it's going to go hit the 50 mark. I don't know if both teams are going to score, north of 25 points, but it could definitely happen. But the unders have been this season has been a lot of the unders have been hitting. A lot of lower scoring games than what we're used to outside of the Chiefs. We just kind of break the mold there. But yeah, I mean. I think it will be a competitive game. Kyler Murray's kind of started getting it going. And him and. Cliff kind of getting into it on the sidelines. You kind of want to see that. If I'm a Cardinals fan, you want to see that out of your quarterback. That rowdiness and see him actually show some spirit. That's kind of good to see. So Kyler, and say what you want about Kyler, when he's on, that guy is on fire. That guy is fun to watch. That guy makes incredible plays. We've seen it with him, but he also has terrible moments where he's just the decision making is just like, how did you even come to that conclusion that you're going to make that decision or that throw? So. It could be one of those games where it's actually just a barn burner and the Vikings just blow them out because I think that's a definite situation here. I can't see that happening on the other side, but I think the Vikings win. I think they win by double digits, man. I think their defense is better than people be getting them credit for. And I think, you said Newton game, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, Dalvin Cook. There's so many weapons for that defense to defend, and that Cardinals defense has been playing better as of late. They played well against the Eagles. That was a close game. They could have beat the Eagles, honestly. Some late game decisions kind of kept them from that win, but they were definitely in that position to win that game. So they've been playing better, but I'm taking the better offense and then coach, honestly, in this situation right now. As the Vikings have been the better coach season. Cliff's been struggling so far, and the Vikings are at home. You know what I mean? So I'm taking the Vikes here.
I'm taking the Vikings for the simple fact that Call of Duty came out yesterday.
The narrative.
I do think the Vikings are the better team. I think they're 6-1 going into this game, leading the division that everybody picked the Packers to run away with, including me. So I think that the Vikings are the better offense in this team. In this game, the better offense. They have the better coach, the better receiving weapons. I think overall the better offense. Defensive wise, like Lance says, I think they both struggle a little bit. I think that's why this could potentially be a high scoring game. I just don't see it as high scoring as Lance does. It's probably going to be in the mid 20s to lower. So we'll see what each team can come out with. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins came out gunslinging last week. Obviously, we all knew Hopkins is that dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think nobody ever questioned it, doubted it. I think DeAndre Hopkins carries the entire Cardinals offense. If it
They're
ain't,
supposed to be getting James Conner back, who I think is legitimately good.
He's a good running back,
for sure.
but injury prone.
They've been without him for like 2 weeks. Yeah, it's about 2.5 weeks. He was
but injury prone, and
for sure.
Hopefully they can have him back, but I think it's not going to matter anything. I think not even having DeAndre Hopkins is going to matter much. I think Kyler Murray is going to struggle in this game a little bit, just because the pressure is going to be there. It's starting to mount. You're starting to go into mid-season. You're starting to see a lot of teams, what they're going to be, what they are. So we'll see what that happens. But I got the Vikings win this one.
Yep, I like that. I like that we're all three picking the team that I think, like you said, has the better situation, quarterback and head coach, in my opinion, right now. Even though Cliff Kingsbury is not, or Kevin O'Connell hasn't proven himself, I feel more confident with him than Kingsbury.
They've been a good team, man.
But you got to think of what happened last week with Cliff and Kyler Murray. Yeah, a lot of people are not reading into that, but then sometimes you do because it's there and you've seen it.
But you want, if I'm a Cardinals fan, I like seeing that.
Yeah,
I want that fire out of Kyler.
Your coach and your
yes, you do. Give me something. You know what I mean? Because there's been nothing. there. And there was the criticism of him, the video games and not studying and stuff. You want to see that fire in him to go want to win.
Yeah.
If I'm a fan, I'm like, okay, showing me some kind of personality. Thank God, because he's kind of a dud personality-wise. If I'm being honest, Kyler, he's kind of hard to digest.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, dude, like, geez, it's like unseasoned chicken. It's like there's nothing there. Finally, see him get fiery because he has talent. Finally see him get fiery, whether it's good or bad energy, something. Give some kind of life to that Cardinals team, and I think that's what you want to see out of him. So.
Well, and then we have a game that is inside the AFC West, so I have to mention it. The Raiders are visiting the New Orleans Saints, two teams that have been utter disappointments this season. A lot of people were big on the Raiders for whatever reason. I didn't see it from the beginning, and the Saints were a team I was very big on. So far, they've just been injury-ridden. I get it. It's unpredictable. It's how the league goes. But this game, to me, is going to come down to what the Raiders can do on the road. Because if you've noticed anything about them, 3 of their 4 losses this season have come on the road. Their only 2 victories have been at home, and they're against bad offenses, against the Denver Broncos and against Davis Mills and the Texans just last week. The Saints are at home, absolutely embarrassed in primetime game this last Thursday, or the Thursday before, if it was Thursday Night Football, right? Yeah, it was the last Thursday Night Football. Got absolutely embarrassed in Arizona. What's funny about this matchup is, as good and Josh Jacobs is incredible this season.
I was
right?
going to say.
Here's the thing that's weird about this matchup. The Saints are coming in as the better running offense. They average 142 yards per game on the ground to the Raiders 128, which is really
Mark
good.
Ingram was leading the league in rushing for a little bit this year.
And Alvin Kamara's healthy now again. Like, he's getting into his stride. I think Andy Dalton's going to start this game again, which, by the way, he's averaging more passing yards.
He's been good outside of that Cardinals game.
He averages more passing yards this season than Derek Carr does. Derek Carr only has 9 touchdowns. Andy Dalton's only played 4 games and has only 2 fewer touchdowns.
Chris Olave is legit.
Yes,
bro.
Chris Olave is really. I had him as the offensive rookie of the year.
He's
It's probably not
legit.
going to happen, but he's looking really good.
Yeah.
They have the same third down efficiency in this season. Saints actually have more sacks on the defensive side than the Raiders. The Raiders are almost dead last in sacks this season. So the pressure's not going to be. Neither one of these teams can get takeaways. Saints only have 1 interception to the Raiders 3.
Well, Lattimore's been in and out.
Yeah, so both these defenses are really bad right now. Both offenses can tally it up, which is why I'm going to lean on the home team side of this, because I think that they actually have more going for them offensively this season, as crazy as it sounds, than the Raiders do. And it's on the road. Again, the Raiders have not been a good road team this year, offensively or defensively. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I actually think Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs have really good games, but I think that Andy Dalton puts it together with Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, like you said. I think those guys do just enough. They're going to run the ball all over. It's going to come down to time of possession, and I think they're going to squeak out a close victory. As if I'm not mistaken right now, this game is a 1.5-point favorite for the Raiders, a road dog. I have to believe the Saints, knowing how close they are in their division.
The Saints are a home dog?
The Saints are a home dog.
Okay.
1.5 point, the road dog,
Yeah,
a home dog.
yeah.
The over-under is 49.5. That's even more than the Vikings and Cardinals
As it should
game.
be. I think this one
As
will
it
shoot
should
out,
be.
yeah.
It's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm giving the edge to the home team in this one, again, because of the desperation of knowing how close they are to potentially winning this bad, horrific division. They win this, they're right there with the rest of these teams. I'm going to give the Saints a close victory, and I obviously have them covering and winning outright. I think it's going to be a 3-point victory. This one, it might even go into overtime. It could be like a 36-33 kind of game,
Yeah.
but I'm going to give the Saints this
I
one.
will be watching this one. This one, I was kind of marking it. I was looking at the matchups this week. This is one of the juicy ones for me. I like that. I like this game. And I like what I've been seeing out of the Raiders, man. They've becoming more of a run-first. I know they got Devontae, but the last couple weeks they've been like a run-first offense. And Josh Jacobs has stepped up. My God, dude, he's been balling the last 2 weeks, and I think they're going to continue to ride that train. But it sets up and what Derek Carr is best, his bread and butter is play action, right? So he's really good at those play action plays and setting a guy. He has a really good deep ball. Give him what it is. He's a very accurate deep passer. And Devontae Adams has been good so far, but hasn't been like what we expect out of him, really. But Josh Jacobs has been a pleasant surprise, and they've really leaned on him those last couple of weeks, and he's looked incredible. And neither one of these defenses have been able to stop the run. Neither one of these defenses have really been able to stop anything. So that this is set up for a shootout, and I think that's what it'll be. And I think the Raiders win here. I do. I think Josh Jacobs is really rolling. Granted, he's a guy that never stays healthy, so this workload is worrisome. So if he goes out there and gets the normal workload he's been getting the last couple weeks, he could get banged up. But Josh Jacobs has been balling. I don't see a matchup out there that is any way successful against Devontae Adams. Their corners have not. They've just been getting shredded. And Devontae Adams is arguably the best in the game, and I think that's a bad matchup for the defense. Granted, Michael Thomas is out for this game. I'm pretty sure Landry is probably going to be out, I think, again for this game too. So they're down those two guys. So they're depending on Olave to be the wide receiver one. Granted, he very well could shred this just for secondary, which is absolutely just terrible. But I could see Max Crosby getting after Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton has very terrible pocket awareness, and he's prone to make mistakes. Granted, he's been good this year, but I think Max Crosby could be a guy that wrecks this game and makes a big play that is the deciding factor of this game. Although I do love the Saints' red zone. When they get in the red zone, their package with Taysom Hill is very effective. It's damn near unstoppable because that guy is a force in the red zone. He is determined to get in the pay dirt, and he's been successful at it damn near every time. So I do like that attack there as well. I think it's going to be a fun game, man.
Yep.
And I won't be surprised if the Saints win because they're at home. They're a home dog, and that's an added boost to a team that sees that, we're getting counted at our home stadium, which we play fairly well at. But so that's definitely something that can come to take place as well. But if I'm betting on the Raiders. I just think they're kind of finding their stride and they become more of a run heavy offense, and I like that. That actually frees up some pressure from Derek Carr to have to be the guy with the addition of Devontae Adams having to show out. I think they find that balanced attack once again this week, and they find a way to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders on this one. I think after the Chiefs game, they found that the Josh Jacobs running the ball a lot more than what they had the previous games was giving them good points, was giving them leads. So I think they're going to do just that. And I don't think Andy Dalton's going to come out and just blaze this defense, tear this defense apart. I don't see it. Obviously, they had a tight game against the Cardinals. They were actually leading, and then next thing you know, it was 21 to
2 picks,
10.
Man, yeah.
It was 3. Yeah, it's like 2
One
picks.
wasn't his fault, but yeah.
But I mean, like, it was 3 picks, 3 interceptions. Like, come on, dude.
Actually, I'd say
like,
2 of those picks weren't his fault, but yeah.
Like, dude, and I just think that the Raiders pass rush is really good. I think Max Crosby is that dude.
He's legit.
He's gonna tear up Andy Dalton. I don't think Andy Dalton gets the ball out quick.
He already got 5 or 6 sacks. I think 6 sacks this year already.
Yeah. And he has only played 2 games.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna continue. Yes, it's gonna be a high scoring game because both secondaries I think are pretty terrible, especially the Saints. I think the Saints secondary is just non-existent. We've seen quarterbacks just beat him up high, and that you see Tyrann Mathieu just not even try to tackle the dudes. He just goes and kind of like touches them and then gets away. I don't know why. Yeah, they just can't bring the receiver down. And obviously Devontae Adams being Devontae Adams, I think he's just gonna eat all day. Yeah, because there's no secondary for the Saints. And obviously running the ball with Josh Jacobs and just running the clock down. I don't think the Saints have really a answer for Josh Jacobs or Devontae Adams. I think they're both going to have a great game in this game. So I'm going to pick the Raiders on this one.
Fair enough. I appreciate you guys disagreeing with me. I love being right when you guys are wrong. So we have a AFC East showdown this week. We have the Patriots visiting the Jets. This game is hilarious to me. The Patriots are getting 2.5 points on the road against the Jets this week. And it's funny because we had been, you guys know my stance. I said that Bailey Zappe's the best quarterback on the Patriots. I stand firm on that. I don't know how legitimate he's going to be down the road, but right now he's clearly the best quarterback on that team. And it's funny too because Zach Wilson, who I'm not big on at all, Trevor, you've been a little bit bigger on him than I have. Zach Wilson in 4 games is only completing 57% of his passes, has 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions with a 74 quarterback rating, and yet has a higher touchdown to interception ratio and a higher quarterback rating than Mac Jones this season. Think about how wild that is. And according to Bill Belichick, Mac Jones is going to be starting this game. I am picking the Jets in this game confidently because of that very fact. I think Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams are going to be absolute difference makers in this matchup because of the fact that if you look at it right here, the Patriots scheduled to this point of the season, they have 1, 2, 3 road losses, and I don't think, although the Jets are not a team that can score a lot of points.
Especially with Breece Hall out.
Especially with Breece Hall. I do like the James Robinson signing. I don't think he's great by any means, but I think he's a good, considering what you lost, a solid acquisition. They're already pretty deep at running back as it is. I think that the Jets are going to do just enough in this game. It's going to be another ugly fought victory. I know the Broncos game that was 16-9. Good road victory, though. Back-to-back road victories against the Packers and against, like I said, the Broncos, a team that's been trying to just find something.
Game.
It was a terrible game, but that's the kind of team the Jets are. They have not not lost since Robert Saleh came out and said, we're holding our receipts. He's got something special with this team. We'll talk about this team in a little bit. The legitimacy of this team is in question. But in games like this, Robert Saleh is going to have his guys clicking. I'm not saying they have the coaching advantage in this one, but I think there is a case more than it ever has been in the Bill Belichick era. And I honestly think, guys, if they play Mac Jones in this one, the Jets might actually have a quarterback advantage in this game. And they have the better defense. The Patriots just got humiliated by the single worst passing offense in the NFL. And the Bears in New England on prime
Their
time.
asses kicked, dude.
They got their shit kicked in by Justin Fields and this horrendous Bears offense. How am I supposed to give this team 2.5 points in a divisional game on the road? I'm not doing it.
It's in New England, though, right?
No, it's in New York.
New York, okay.
They're 2.5 point road favorites. After that, give me a fucking break. I'm picking the Jets in this one. I have them covering too.
Man, yeah, this is a one where I want to bank on a Belichick bounce back game. But after seeing what I saw against the Bears, who are arguably the worst team in football,
in a game he was going to pass for second all time in wins.
and I will say that Mac Jones interception wasn't his fault. It hit that wire. That's kind of a shitty situation. That swung the game.
He didn't look good either way.
That swung the game for sure. Though.
He
The
didn't look
momentum
good.
was definitely on the Bears side after that interception. But, man, yeah, this is a tough one. This is a pick 'em for me. But I do think because we haven't really seen what the Jets have done without Breece Hall yet, because Breece Hall has been the lifeblood for that offense this year. He's been an incredible offense receiver and running back for them. He's been responsible for a lot of the points for that team. And this is a game I can see the Patriots defense really stepping up and getting after Zach Wilson as well. Granted, I know Quentin Williams and the crew there on that defensive line, they're going to want to get after him, pin their ears back and get after their whoever's playing quarterback, whether Zappe gets any playing time, which is a possibility here as well. This is man. I'm picking the Patriots only because I just think that this is. I don't think that Bill Belichick. I think he's going to find a way to get his team a win here over a divisional foe. And I know the Jets are rolling high after coming off of consecutive wins and a hard fought battling game in Denver, ugly game in Denver. But I just think this is I'm just going with my gut here. I'm going with the get right game for Belichick here. They're still a good team. They got Jacoby Myers back. It was his first game back last week. He played well. And he's a solid receiver for them. And I think they got another week for Damian Harris to get right. He was coming off that hamstring injury. Both of their running backs, Ramondre Stevenson's an absolute stud. I think if they can get that running game going and they can control the clock, that bodes well for a Belichick type of game if he can slow the Jets down. And like I said, Breece Hall is gone. He is their biggest playmaker all year so far. Now you're gonna have to depend on Zach Wilson to go out there and make throws. And Corey Davis, I think, is banged up, so he's down to a couple youngsters. One of the receivers is wanting out, so I don't know what that's gonna happen there. So I'm going with the away team. I'm going with the Patriots here, man. So that's my pick.
Man, I think Bill Belichick is still stuck in his old ways. I think Mac Jones is going to start this game. It won't surprise me that Zappe is going to come in like he did last game, trying to kind of save the team in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Because when we saw it last week, he came in 7 points in two back-to-back drives.
He didn't play well for the rest of the game, though.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
It couldn't have been any worse than Mac Jones was during that game. I just think the Jets are the hotter team right now.
They are.
For sure.
And I think after a ass whooping like that last week, I think that the Patriots are shook. Obviously we expected a lot more from them. I think of the pressure mounted on Mac Jones, being that Tom Brady 2.0 probably got to him. Obviously with what's his name?
Bailey Zappi.
No. With the dude that you watch on First Take? Wild, or what's his name?
Oh, Kevin Wild. Some first things first.
Calling him baby goat. Putting that pressure on that quarterback at such a young age. He was a rookie, and they were already calling him baby goat. Tom Brady 2.0, and I think that pressure has mounted him, and we've seen it this season. That
it's not just that; it's getting tape on somebody.
And we've seen it this season that he's not the quarterback that I think everybody expected.
Yeah.
We're almost halfway through the season, so I know that a lot can change between now and the end of the season, but I think we've seen enough of Mac Jones to kind of say, like, I don't think he's what we all expected from him or thought that he was.
Where he's drafted for sure.
Yeah. So I think the Jets just being the hotter team, I think having probably a better defense than what the Patriots have, especially after what we saw last week.
They have arguably the best cornerback in football right now, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah,
He's
so
not just best rookie. He might be the best corner in football right now.
yeah, so I don't see how the Patriots can come back and bounce back from after that ass whooping last week from the worst offensive football.
Yep.
I just don't see it. I think Bill Belichick, like I said, is still stuck in his old ways. He doesn't adjust or to the new football style. I think he still thinks that Tom Brady's the style of football is still effective, and we see that it hasn't been.
I mean,
for
they
the
won
past 2 years.
11 games last year. So I mean, it's not like his stuck in his old ways has been a bad thing. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
He has a losing record without Tom Brady in his career. So.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna pick the Jets in this.
They
game.
just
Yep. Then we have a couple more I want to get to, guys. One of them feels like a definitive game. The other one is actually, I think, going to be a very fun game, maybe the funnest game of the week. We have the Seahawks hosting the Giants. Now, the Giants come in here with the better record at 6-1. The Seahawks are 4-3. But the Seahawks have been so good and so fun offensively. Now, I will place the caveat out there. It doesn't look like DK Metcalf will play in this game. I know he has a patellar tendon injury. It's not a tear because obviously he'd be out for months. And Tyler Lockett's been a little banged up. The reason why this matchup is so much fun to me is, one, obviously, if you look at the quarterback-coach duo, I think the Seahawks actually have the better quarterback-head coach duo. I think Brian Gable's on his way up, but Pete Carroll's clearly proven himself as a head coach in this league.
like it's unfair to put Dable
And
over.
Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. I think he's playing better this season. I think it's also because he's been put up in a better situation. I'm not a believer of Daniel Jones. I do think that Saquon Barkley is an MVP candidate this season. He's been absolutely phenomenal. My guy, Kayvon Thibodeau, and that front seven for the Giants have been really good this year. But here's the thing about the Seahawks. They're at home, which we know Seattle's always a good favorite. When you have those teams from the East Coast going to the West Coast,
Tough place to play.
It's tough to do that. It's tough to swing that over. The thing about the Giants' defense, they like to play a lot of man. They play a lot of man coverage. Geno Smith has been an elite quarterback this season against man coverage. He's actually, I think he's second in all stats against man defense in this league. So even if DK Metcalf can't make it a go, I still think he can overcome that loss. But here's the biggest thing. There has been such a budding blessing for the Seahawks this season in Kenneth Walker. This kid has been stupid great.
For sure.
And this is going to be one of those matchups where the Giants don't have like this significant running back advantage like they've had for a lot of these weeks. This is a week where they might actually have a guy that's up there with Saquon right now. Kenneth Walker is unbelievably great this year. And the Seahawks defense has been playing better football. They're not great by any means. They're the type of defense that can really put the pressure on Daniel Jones, because on the offensive side, the Seahawks are scoring points, which means that Daniel Jones is going to have to play more of a pivotal role in this game. I don't believe in him. And on the road like this, going all the way across the country, I'm picking the home team. They're a 3-point favorite with a 44.5 over-under. I think it stays right at the over-under. I think it's going to be about 44, 45 points that are scored, and I think the Seahawks are going to win this game by 3 points.
If there's a chance that DK and Tyler Lockett don't play, and if that's the case, they are not deep at receiver. Kenneth Walker has been a godsend for the last 3 weeks once he finally got the start. Which they should have started him from week one. He's only been starting for the last 3 weeks, and he's been absolutely just destroying fools. And it's been fun to watch because he's on my fantasy team. Listen, Linda, if you're listening, I have picked against the Giants for 4 straight weeks.
Shout out to Linda Dorsey.
I have picked against the Giants for 4 straight weeks now, and they continue to prove me wrong.
She's going to hate me this week.
Hey, but I'm saying, like I was telling her, like if you want me to pick against them, it might not be a good thing, or a pick for with them, because it might not be a good thing if I pick them. But I'm picking them this week, so hopefully,
There you go.
I hope I don't buck the trend. I'm picking the Giants here, and if they lose, don't blame
She's
me.
be so pissed at you, dude,
I'm
when
telling
they lose.
you, man, if they lose against the Seahawks without DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, they're both gone. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm picking the Giants finally. I'm picking the Giants this week. I think this is a good chance for them to go get this win, especially if Tyler Lockett's, if he's out there, he's definitely not going to be nearly to even 60, 70% probably. He's pretty bigged up all week. He's been having limited practices. DK's not playing, most likely. So we're looking at Will Disley at tight end, a couple backup guys at receiver that they're not deep in position, and banking on Kenneth Walker to go out there and just actually just manhandle it, which it could happen. The Seahawks could go full heavy run game and own the clock, and they can find a way to win. And Geno's been good enough to find guys to pull out wins, and that can definitely happen. They're at home. They have a lot of things working for them in that sense. But the toughness and the resilience of this Giants team that continues to find ways to win, whether it's defensively or through Saquon, not through Daniel Jones, but through finding ways to win in spite of Daniel Jones. They're a resilient bunch, man. And they got one of the most resilient, if not arguably the coach of the year so far this year, and Dayball, who I love and I'm rooting for. So I'm picking the Giants this week, Linda. Hope you're happy. Don't be mad at me if they lose.
I will
Sorry.
say this real quick, just for some matchup perspective. In third down efficiency percentage, the Seahawks are fourth in the league, where the Giants 17th. In sacks, the Seahawks are top 10. The Giants are bottom 12. And in interceptions, the Seahawks have 5 to the Giants 1. So just throwing that out.
Yeah,
there.
when you don't throw the ball, I mean, you're going to have low interceptions.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I mean, not having DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in this game is.
I think Lockett's going to give it a go.
He probably will, but it's.
I do.
It's
he's
gonna
been banged
be
up.
kind of like who was it on Thursday? Was it Thursday? Yes, for the Bucks. I think it was their tight end. Was it their tight end that gave it a go and they went out?
This past
Or
game?
was it the Ravens? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, you're talking
Mark
about Mark
Andrews.
Andrews.
They gave it
Well,
a go,
he had,
and then
he had a knee issue, and then he ended up hurting his shoulder.
Yeah.
yeah. So
And he's
they
my starting
got-
tight end in my fantasy league, so shit. Don't like it.
So yeah, I mean, if I'm Tyler Lockett and I just wouldn't give it a go just to because I don't know how serious his injury
You gotta take
is.
the long game.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
they have a chance to, make the
Playoffs.
playoffs.
They
And
may
It's
not
like
have a
make
long
that
game, though,
play-
so you might have to play. Because they win this game, they're 5-3 in sole possession of the NFC West.
yeah. But I think the Giants with Saquon Barkley
yeah, that's
and that defense, bro.
is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Giants defense, I love this. I love this team.
They've been playing really good situational football.
And you know what
That's how they've been
this
winning.
team reminds me of? Of kind of like the Eli Manning era, where obviously he wasn't the reason they were winning. It was their defense. This is kind of the same way, but with the running back and the defense as a collective.
Like late Eli years? Or
Yeah, late Eli
was
years.
pretty damn good, man. Those Super Bowl runs. Great, but he was
yeah.
him and OBJ, and especially
I
in the
mean,
later years. I mean, they had some numbers, but yeah.
But yeah,
definitely defensive teams for sure.
Yeah, so
The
and
defense
I-
is nothing compared to those
no,
defenses.
not yeah, exactly. Obviously, you can't. But
Well, and I'll be honest with you, the Giants haven't really faced any good offenses this entire season outside of the Ravens.
and I don't think
And
the
they haven't
Seahawks-
even been a good offense.
And I don't think the Seahawks are
they-
a great offense. If you take out DK,
Really?
if you take out DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I don't think they're.
I would tend to agree it hurts them.
Geno
Geno Smith's been
is
insanely good
Geno
this
Smith's
year.
been the
Geno-
top
yeah, he's-
6 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, they've had a great offense this year. And just to point it out, they've played the Titans, Panthers, Cowboys without Dak, Chicago, Green Bay, Baltimore, and Jacksonville. Like, they've not played good offense. The Giants haven't. So I'm just saying, like, this will be their best offense they've faced all season.
That's what I will say about the Giants. I've yet to see a game where they just go out there and just take the game.
That's what I'm saying.
They haven't. But
All
what I
close
will say
victories.
is that Dayball has these guys playing
Yes.
great situational football.
100%.
When they have a chance and they smell blood, they go for it, and they've come out on top every single time in those situations.
And Saquon's the best player
That's
on the
how you
field.
win
Saquon
tough
will be the
games,
best
man.
player on
and
the
maybe
field.
they
Yes.
just traded the cancer of the team. So now
Stop
now,
it, bro.
Jesus
They don't like
Christ.
throwing to receivers, bro. That's not his fault.
All right, so you guys are both picking the
I'm picking the
Giants?
Giants.
Okay. Then the final matchup that I want to touch on, there's several more that we can go on, but we're just, we can just keep going. Yeah. There is a matchup that I think everyone is assuming will be the victory on Sunday Night Football on NBC. The Bills are hosting the Packers. There's something about this matchup, Dan, that I'm not comfortable with. It's a game that the Bills should just roll. They should win this game by 3 touchdowns.
Had a bye week to think about.
And there's something that makes me feel like this game's going to be uncomfortably close for the Bills. You can call it whatever the theories of them coming off a bye week and being rusty, or overlooking this opponent. Because if I'm not mistaken, after this game, I think they play the Jets, which is a divisional game in New York. So they can overlook the Packers because the Packers have been such a disappointment this season. It's a home game in primetime, and we all know, man, in Buffalo on primetime, they are incredible. They are. It's a deadly, deadly place to play. But I heard the way Aaron Rodgers talked in that presser this last week about, asking about going into this matchup, and he made it sound, he flipped it, and I liked what he did. He said that this is the perfect thing for them. And that's crazy to say because,
psychology.
yeah, you're going against the number 1 seed in the AFC right now at home in primetime after a tragic home loss to the Commanders and another loss at home previous game against the Jets. You would think that this 10.5 point spread that they have for the Giants or the Bills being minus 10.5 point favorites at home, you would hit the over. I'm not. I think the Packers are going to have their best game of the season this week. I'm going to pick the Bills to win this game because they are clearly the better team at home in primetime. They should win this game. But I think this game is going to be close. I think the Packers are going to give it their best effort. I think they're finally going to utilize Aaron Jones the way they should, because you saw the way that the Chiefs, when they were finally moving the ball, they were getting the ball to the running backs in the flats, in the open space, and creating opportunities. That's the only way the Packers can win games right now offensively, because they don't have the proven commodities at wide receiver anymore. So throw the ball to your tight ends and your running backs, Tunyon, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. Get these guys involved early. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I think the Packers defense is going to bring it. Something tells me that Adrian Amos and those guys in the secondary are going to make things difficult. I'm not saying the Bills won't score points in this game. I think they will. I think they'll score over 25 in this game. But I don't think this is going to be a 37-17 type of victory. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. I think this is going to be a 4 to 6 point victory for the Bills. It's going to be a closer than anticipated kind of game. And then we're going to ask ourselves, was this more about the Packers being a legitimate, like a sleeping giant right now? Or maybe the Bills aren't the great team we think they are. Maybe they really are overlooking some of these opponents and they are having some trouble closing out some of these games. That's the questions I think we're going to ask. I am giving the Bills the victory, but I have the Packers covering the 10.5, and I think this game is going to be a much closer game than people are anticipating.
Listen, guys.
Uh-oh.
Hear me out.
Uh-oh. Oh, shit. He's going to fucking He's
Sammy
gonna fucking
Watkins
do it.
revenge game.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
What?
Listen, I'm picking the Packers to win this game.
Oh, my God. I love it. I love it.
Aaron Rodgers is not going to lose 4 straight games. He's not going to lose 4 straight
It's like
games.
Tom Brady will never lose 3 straight, right?
No, dude, that's different.
Woo! I like it, Trev.
Aaron Rodgers is actually playing good football this year. He's playing fairly well. Tom Brady's been terrible. Granted, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been throwing the touchdowns he should be throwing, but this is just, if there's a get right spot, I know it's the Bills, man. I know. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Aaron Rodgers is gonna lose 4 straight games. I just think that I think this is a get right spot for the defense. I do. I think this defense is still very talented. Bakhtiari is playing this week. They're gonna give Aaron Rodgers some time. They're gonna need him, especially if there's any kind of pass rush there from Von Miller to get after Aaron Rodgers, and he's been under pressure a lot lately. I think he connects with Sammy Watkins on a deep touchdown. I'm not saying it's like a massive revenge game for Sammy Watkins. That was kind of just a play. But I think Sammy Watkins scores this week.
Whew.
I think Sammy Watkins.
Man, I hope you're right for obvious reasons, but Trevor, you have no idea how many L's, how many W's we'll hand out to you, man, on social media if you get this right.
And I think this is an Aaron Jones game. I think Aaron Jones absolutely just goes full demonic mode against this defense. And there's these the linebacker core for the Bills isn't really like some stout front. They're a smaller, kind of faster linebacker group, which is kind of how the league has kind of been trending more towards. But I think the speed and the passing ability with the combination of the banger and Aaron and A.J. Dillon, I think that duo is actually going to really get it going this week. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go have some big game. I think he'll throw maybe a touchdown or 2. I think one of those is going to go to Sammy Watkins and maybe to the tight end Tunyon, who I love. He's been getting a lot of targets and a lot of attention this week, and he's been doing really well. Man, I think the Packers actually take control of this game and force the Bills to play down to their level, similar to what the Dolphins did. And that was not a banged up Dolphins team, but that team is kind of similar, not similar to the Packers, but the way that they forced the Bills to kind of slow their tempo, and they couldn't play as fast as they wanted to and take the lead like they wanted to. They tightened up when things got tight, and they made Josh Allen make the mistakes down the stretch. And I think that's what. And I still believe in this Packers defense, man. I do. I think this defense is still talented. And I think the Packers go find a way to win this game, man. I don't see Aaron Rodgers losing 4 straight. I could very well be wrong, and I will not be surprised.
That'd be the biggest upset of the season.
Dude, that's been the way of the season, though.
Yeah.
There's been upsets every
You make a fair point.
There's been upsets every week this year. There's not been a dude, we've seen double-digit favorites lose consistently
And again,
every week. The Packers
Jets,
have been one of them.
A road game against the Jets next week is a
Yeah.
big thing. Finally,
Right.
they're a 5-2 team.
Right, and I just think I know everyone. The Bills had the Bills were rolling. You know, they're coming off that high from beating the Chiefs, which is like their mid-season
That's a
Super
good
Bowl.
point, man.
And they're going into the bye. They're all riding high off that big win against the Chiefs. I think this is a letdown spot. Like, oh, the Packers have been playing like shit. Aaron Rodgers, bro. When Aaron Rodgers is playing this free, and he knows that look, they have nothing else to lose. They've lost 3 straight. Fuck it. I'm going to go out here and have an Aaron Rodgers game. I'm going to find Aaron Jones going to ball out. I just think this is a great situation
it
for the
could happen,
Packers
man,
to find their way.
because it is
And
sandwiched
what
in between
better
the Chiefs game and the Jets game.
And what better way for the Packers to get it together and find a momentum than going and beating the Bills, bro?
Golly.
I just think it feels right to me.
And it would make so much sense losing back-to-back home games to the Jets and Commanders
Bro,
to go beat the Bills in Buffalo.
And they could go the Packers very well could get beat by 20 points here. That could very well happen as well. I won't be surprised if the Bills win, but I'm going with my gut on these games.
I'll say this real quick. I think there's a better chance the Packers win this game than get blown out.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I think there's a better chance they win this game because Trevor's 100% right about this game being sandwiched in between 2 big AFC games. I think that this is the kind of game where the Bills kind of come out a little rusty, don't look as sharp. I still think they're clearly the better team, which is why I'm picking them to win.
Well, and I will say I'm going to say this real quick. The weakness of the Packers defense has not been their secondary. Their secondary has been good. They've struggled against the run. And the Bills offense, they barely run the ball at all.
Yeah.
Right? And Singletary's he played well against us. That was a fluky game, if I'm being honest. And we've been terrible against the run. So we haven't let anybody run on us so far with that bend, don't break defense we were playing against them. Josh Allen obviously is a runner.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to generate pressure, and I think that secondary is going to force. I think they're going to force some mistakes from Josh Allen. I'm just going with my gut here. So.
Yeah, and they're playing in Buffalo. I can see this like kind of like that Steelers game last year in Buffalo that nobody expected the Steelers to win.
Yeah,
at all. They expected
exactly.
them to get blown out.
And they lost. Remember last year against the Jags?
Like Jack,
9-6?
was it 9-0?
9-6.
Josh Allen had like 4 turnovers in that
Yeah.
game. I'm
Yeah,
just
so-
saying.
He wasn't even the best Josh Allen on the field in that
Absolutely,
game.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think the only difference is that the Bills are coming off of a bye week, so I think that helps them up a little bit more to be able to plan for this game.
That's true, yeah.
So
A bye week that they just came out beating the Chiefs, which is their mid-season Super Bowl, though.
Yeah. Hang the banners.
So,
There's some, yeah.
I mean, I'm picking the Bills in this game.
For sure.
I'm not gonna be a Trevor here.
For sure, man.
and pick the Packers, but I can very well see that. We saw it last year in Buffalo against the Steelers. Everybody expected the Bills to just go in there and just destroy the Steelers because they were a terrible
Bad
team.
That was way worse than this Packers team.
Yeah, it was a terrible team. So what did Steelers do? I don't know. They just fucking managed to fucking pull out a win that nobody expected.
Yeah.
So
TJ Watt went off in that game.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, coming off a loss against the Commanders, against the Jets, against the Giants, I just don't see this Packers team going into Buffalo and says like, yeah, we fucking go beat your ass. I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
They have the mentality of nothing to lose, though. That's dangerous.
Those
as
are
well.
dangerous
Yeah,
teams.
those are yeah.
Aaron Rodgers at the helm.
I mean, they have a lot to lose. I mean, they have to win this game. The Packers do.
I don't know if they necessarily have to, though, because they would still be in the playoff picture, 3-5.
I mean, the Vikings are running.
Maybe not the division, but as a
Yeah.
wild card team, they'd
NFC
still
is-
very much have a chance. There's, like I said, I think there's only 4 teams in the entire NFC that have winning records.
I'm not saying this is a must-win game. For me, I was just saying like 4 straight losses. I just don't.
No,
I don't know.
yeah, okay. I just think the Bills are by far the better team.
Easily the better team.
I think they have the better coach, the better quarterback.
Sorry, 5 teams in the NFC have a winning record.
And there's something about AFC teams traveling or NFC
But-
teams, not interdivisional, NFC teams facing AFC teams. Sometimes those matchups can be weird.
Yep.
AFC teams tend to know each other well. And they tend to know the good and bad of each
Yeah, yeah.
team. NFC teams don't study AFC teams as much. AFC teams don't tend to study the outer divisional teams. So this,
I can see
some
that.
of those upsets come from those kind
And
of
we saw
situations.
it last week with the Packers and the Bears.
Right.
We saw it last week. So
Yeah.
I mean, you
Oh,
very
you're talking
well.
about the Patriots and Bears. Yeah.
Yeah, Patriots and Bears. my
Right,
bad.
exactly.
Yeah,
No one
so-
expected the Bears to
Yeah,
win.
nobody.
man.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I think that the Bills are just going to go out there and do what they do.
As they should.
Do you think they cover the 10.5?
It's going to be a close game.
Okay.
I think it's going to
So
be a
no,
close game.
yeah.
No.
I will say, if you're picking the Bills, I would take the over on the to cover on the 10.5 because when they win, they tend to win big. Like outside the Chiefs game, they've blown some teams out this year.
But then I'm giving the Packers some credit because like you stated that they don't study each other as well. So I think it's gonna be a good game. I think overall it's gonna be a great game. But I think at the end of the game, it's going to be the Bills who come out on top. But it's going to be a good game.
I love it. So we're going to look at the AFC playoff standings as it currently stands right now. The Bills are the number 1 seed, Chiefs 2, Titans 3. Oh my God, Ravens with the 4 seed. Those are your 4 divisional
We'll say
winners
about
right
the
now.
Titans real quick.
Go ahead.
Malik Willis is starting this week.
Oh, so Ryan Tannehill is out.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was banged up, but he was going to play, but then he got sick this last practice, so he's dealing with the illness. So,
So the
I'm
Titans
kind of
are-
excited to see Malik.
The Titans
man.
are finally playing their best
Right,
quarterback. So the Titans are the 3 seed right now. Ravens are the 4. Those are your divisional winners right now. Bills, Chiefs, Titans, Ravens. Then you have the Jets, Dolphins, and Chargers as your current wild card players. So what I wanted to do is look at these teams right now and look at who do you believe is the Super Bowl contenders, playoff contenders, and just absolute fraudulent pretenders. Outside of the Bills and Chiefs, there isn't a team in the current AFC playoff picture that we can say with any true confidence is for real. We can't. The Titans and Ravens both have serious inefficiencies and have lost very frustrating games. The Jets have a great defense, but a very underwhelming offense, as we have alluded to, while the Dolphins and Chargers are dealing with more and more injuries and questionable head coaching decisions. And there are teams on the outside like the Bengals who just seem to be on the rise, and the Colts who may have actually upgraded at quarterback, sitting Matt Ryan. I want to go down this list, like I said, and get your guys' thoughts on this. So I want to start because, like I said, I'm not even going to talk about Bills and Chiefs. We both know that they're Super Bowl contenders. We can just address that and be over with it. The Titans, I want to start there. Okay, they're 4-0 this season. Versus teams with below 500 or below records, but are 0-2 versus teams with above 500 records. 5 of their remaining 11 games are against teams with winning records. Another is on the road at the Packers, and Trevor's obviously still very much big on them, and I still think they're going to get better. Tannehill has been awful, and now he's injured, and Trevor, you said Malik Willis is going to play. Yep. They don't have any receiving options whatsoever. I mean, Robert Woods, I think, is their best receiver, and he's a wide receiver 3 at this point of his career.
Not been good.
Still too heavily reliant on Derrick Henry, who's still great, but this isn't a league where you rely on running backs more times than not, and it pays dividends for you. As it currently stands, as crazy as it sounds, with the Titans being the number 3 team in the AFC playoff structure, I actually think they're frauds. Maybe Malik Willis, who I've been big on, maybe he shows some promise here and turns them into a legitimate playoff contender. It's still up in arms, or up for grabs. But just looking at how different the Titans are against good teams as opposed to bad teams,
Right.
with five still predominant playoff teams still on their schedule, I think they got their easy victories out of the way. I think this is still maybe an 8-win team. So unless they somehow fall into a wild card scenario, I don't think they're a playoff team. So I'm going to say they're frauds. What do you guys think right now?
The Titans?
Yes, the Titans.
They're a team that's been. Obviously, Mike Vrabel's an incredible coach.
Yes.
And they've been winning up the back of a surprisingly better defense than I expected, with a lot of guys down. But their defense in the back of Derrick Henry's, who's been playing well this year, I thought this would be more like he hasn't been incredible, but he's had some big weeks that have gained wins on the back of him. Quarterback play has been bad. Tannehill's been bad. The receiving core has been bad, and then they lost their rookie receiver so far. He'll be back in a few weeks, but. Yeah, Traylon Burks is a guy they've been depending on to be a good rookie receiver. He's out, so I think they're more fraudulent than they are. I mean, I know they're 4-2, which is I think that's definitely more of a fraudulent 4-2. I don't believe in them if they make the playoffs, which they probably will. They're just not a team I would bank on to win.
Yeah.
The way that they play football, they play a slow pace and very run heavy, and if they get behind, they're done. They're not a team that can play. They're similar, and obviously they're not as nearly as good as the teams of San Fran, but San Fran is a team that's built to, just because of their quarterback play, it's not built to be trailing from behind and trying to play some late game heroics to come back and win. Those teams like to run the ball, they like to play really solid defense, force you to play their tempo, and that's how they win with the lead. So those kind of teams I just don't bank on, man. Especially in today's era of football, high pace, fast pace, high scoring. When they face teams like that, like if they face the Chiefs and things like, I just think like which is coming up soon. I just don't think it's a good matchup for them, and I would say they're more fraudulent than not. So yeah, I feel they're more fraudulent.
Fraudulent as in like they're not going to make the playoffs,
Right.
or
Well, they're not as good as their record probably
Yes,
says.
the record
they're
looks better than
4-2.
what they really are, so therefore
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think they're fraudulent, but I think with that division, the way that every team is playing that division,
Definitely not
they
contenders.
none of those teams are contenders. I don't think they're just going to make one game in the playoffs and lose that game. I don't think they have anything to show for in the playoffs. All of those teams, Colts are playing pretty bad right now, and then with the Titans losing their rookie wide receiver, Tannehill going down. Was it last week?
Yeah, he had a
to
knee
an
injury, I think. Yeah.
So I
Malik's
don't even know if
starting
he's
this week.
playing this week.
No, Trevor just said Malik
Malik
Willis is
Willis is
playing.
Yeah, so I mean, if Malik
Willis.
Willis
Yeah.
shows me something that he's better than Tannehill,
He's good, man.
then I can see them making a push or trying to make a push in the playoffs. But if he shows me nothing this weekend, I can see them winning the division, but really not doing anything in the playoffs.
And then you have the Ravens, a team that I was very big on start the season. They're 2-3 versus teams with a winning record so far.
Yeah.
They're 3-0 versus teams with a losing record. They still have trouble closing out games. Lamar Jackson hasn't been anything close to what he's normally been. Their defense is so soft. I mean, they're very soft. They missed multiple opportunities to pick off Tom Brady this last week in the red zone. They didn't. Yep. It almost cost them a lead. Yet they're still in sole possession of a division that has a
2-0 in the
team.
division.
Yeah, it has a team like the Bengals in it that are playing really good football this last month.
Bengals are 0-2 in the division.
Exactly. So the Ravens have a good chokehold on this division with the Steelers being disappointing and the Browns being bad. Guys, I am still expecting the Ravens to find their groove. They have not played good football to this point. They're too good to be this bad on a consistent basis. Their schedule does get a little bit lighter as the season goes on. They don't have to play the Chiefs or the Bills after what's already taken place. They should have beaten the Bills already. They were up 20-3 at half. I do, although they're not the team I expected them to be, I still expect them to be a good team. I have them as a legitimate playoff contender. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but I do expect them to be a legitimate playoff contender at this point.
Yeah, I still like the Ravens. I'm still a believer in Lamar Jackson to get it together. He's been without his wide receiver one for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
And his obviously his number one target and Mark Andrews has been banged up. I think they found something in Isaiah Likely though.
Yes.
I like that kid a lot. I think you're gonna see a lot more of him with the two tight end sets. I think even with Mark Andrews coming back, I think you're gonna see some Isaiah Likely. That kid is a good athlete.
It's likely you see Likely.
Yeah, exactly, and he's got a really good feel for the game, man. Like he's for his young guy. Like he has a really good feel for the game. He knows how to find the spots, and Lamar was finding him. I was watching him in the preseason football, and Isaiah Likely was balling. Granted, preseason, but I like seeing when he's carried that over into the regular season when he's when called upon in a big game against Tampa Bay. And Lamar is 2-0 against Tom Brady in his career.
Yeah.
So, I like the Ravens a lot. I still think this roster is far too talented. The defense, they were without Calais Campbell, so that's a lot of their pressure has been generated by Calais Campbell up the middle. He's still, granted, is he an older guy? Yes, but he still generates a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks, and the surrounding cast feeds off that. He's that leader of the defense. And Humphrey is still a guy that is a one-man wrecking crew. He's
Kyle Hamilton looked good.
One of the best in his position. Yeah, so when those guys are all... And Parker Peter's been pretty good this year. He's been getting... Obviously, he always gets burned at times, but...
Drop that damn pick,
He's been playing pretty solid football this year so far. But yeah, should have had a pick, which is it's an uncharacteristically dropped pick from him. He usually is a sure-handed interception guy. But I still love this team. I still love Lamar. He's been... Like I said, he's been without a couple weapons the last couple weeks, but I think once they get everybody healthy, Deshaun Jackson's on the roster now, so that changes things. Kicking the tires on that old guy,
Yeah.
but yeah, I still respect John Harbaugh tremendously, and I think Lamar is just one of those X factor guys that would just find ways to win. He's been finding ways to lose lately, which is not like him. So I'm going with the overwhelming sample size of him finding ways to win rather than lose.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think the Ravens are a fraud. I think they're a good team. I just think they just have bad luck going into the fourth quarter. For some reason, they can't seem to get the ball going. They go away from what's working to trying to put an ice and put the game away, but it completely backfires and fails. But I think that's something that they're slowly correcting, and we've seen in the past couple weeks where they've actually won leading into the fourth quarter, which obviously before that, as soon as if they went with the lead in the fourth quarter, they would lose the game. But so they're slowly correcting their mistakes, and I think this team has the potential to go into the playoffs and try and make some kind of obviously not Super Bowl contenders, but yeah, I think this team has the talent to do what we expect from them. Especially this defense, which we expected a lot from this defense. But yet again, this year they're suffering from injuries in both their offense and defense. Not as crazy as it was last year, but they're still struggling with some injuries. And obviously getting those players back as the season goes on it's going to be key for them.
I think they're much better than the record. I mean, they're 5-3, but they should have a couple more wins on there.
They should have beaten the Bills. They
Yeah.
should have beaten the Giants. Yeah, they should probably have maybe one loss on their.
Yep.
I mean, even the Dolphins game they choked, so they should be undefeated.
They could be
if we're being
7.
honest here.
They should be 7-1 in my
and
mind.
I think you're right, Eddie. I think they're going to start correcting these mistakes. They have too good of a head coach not to. Which, by the way, he looks like he's 44 and he's like 60 years old now. It's wild. Then we have the Jets, maybe the best story in the league so far this season. Ironically, both New York teams have been incredible. They haven't had they haven't lost a game since their head coach, as I mentioned earlier, Robert Saleh, talked about keeping their receipts. I thought that was hilarious at first, but man, that dude's backed it up. You got to give him respect. Their defense hasn't allowed more than 20 points in a game in a month. Already have won 4 road games, which is absurd. And yet I'm not buying them just yet. As crappy as that sounds, I don't want to be the wet blanket guy because here I am hyping them up, having them beating the Patriots, and I think I'll get to this in a second. This team really struggles to score offensive points, and they just lost their best offensive player in Breece Hall. I think he has a torn ACL. If I'm
He was
not
most
mistaken.
likely going to be the offensive rookie of the
He
year.
was absolutely balling it.
Yeah.
Only 1-2 versus teams with a winning record, and they have 5 more games on their schedule remaining versus teams with a winning record, including 2 versus the Bills. Which I'm going to tell you guys right now, I have the Jets beating the Bills next week.
Oh boy.
You have the Packers. Don't start with me. That's at Buffalo.
Packers, not the Jets.
The Jets have a better record than the Packers.
Come on,
back
dude.
off.
We're talking about Zach Wilson and
I
Aaron
have
Rodgers
the.
here.
I'm going to say that now, and I'll stick to it. I have the Jets beating the
Christ.
Buffalo Bills.
Looks like the Bills are losing back-to-back games.
Hey, they lost 5 of 8 after beating the Chiefs last year. They lost 5 of 8.
They blew their load.
Just saying, man. I think they are I think they can be a playoff contender. I do think the Jets, because of the start they had, being 5 wins, you get to 8, 9, 10 victories, you're a playoff team. I do think they are a playoff contender, but there is no chance in hell this team's a Super Bowl contender. They're not frauds because, like I said, their defense is really good. Robert Saleh has got this team going. They've beaten good teams. They've won road games. Their offense sucks, but we've seen teams get into the playoffs with bad offenses. We've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Every single year, there's a bad offense that makes the playoffs. I think the Jets are that team this year. I think they're going to win 9, 10 games this season and get into the playoffs. As crazy as that sounds, and they are playoff contenders in my eyes.
Yeah, man.
Hey, laugh now. Laugh now. But the Jags beat the Bills last year 9-6, as we just talked about.
I'll say this.
That was a 2-win team.
I'll say this. The Jets are riding high right now, but I don't think they're going to have a better streak than they've had as of late. The Saleh era is here. I will 100% say that. The defense is getting right. The defense has players. This team has so much talent all the way around, young talent. I mean, I know some Jets fans that I know personally, and they're just like always similar to how the Chiefs fans were. We just have so much trauma in our past. We're just waiting for the other shoe to fall, and I can't buy in on them yet, man. I got to see a convincing win. I know they had that. The one convincing one was against the Packers. That was just a terrible display from what the Packers gave us in that game. But I will say, man, that was a convincing win to me. They dominated that game on both sides of the ball, and that was impressive as hell. That is the one game I will give them for sure. They lucked out on a couple games. That Browns game was strange. That Flacco, that was just a strange win. I'm not bought in on them yet. I'm going to say they're more fraudulent than they are for real. They definitely could make the playoffs if things shake out. And it depends on how some of these divisions shake out, how the Browns, finish this season. They could creep up. What happens with the Titans and the Colts. Those two teams could take a spot from them as well. The Chargers could very well take a spot from them. But there's a chance that they make the playoffs here. That's for sure. Do I think they're contender in any way? Hell no. They're a team, if they make the playoffs, they're going to go get destroyed in my mind by any of these teams that make it. But they are fun. They are young. Zach Wilson, I do believe in the talent of Zach Wilson. He's not efficient in any way yet. He's very inefficient the way he plays football, and he makes some bad decisions. But he's got he's got the eye test, like a Jay Cutler to me. He has that he throws a good ball. He's a gunslinger. He takes chances, but the chances haven't worked out for him as far as a quarterback play yet. But if he gets it together and the season goes on, he gets a little more seasoned. They could have something there, and that defense I think is really good already. It's getting better and better every week, and they might have the best cornerback in football in Sauce Gardner, who's an absolute stud. So I like them, but I'm not buying them yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're making the playoffs.
I was gonna say, you have them as a playoff team?
No.
Okay, they're frauds then. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. No, I think they'll make the playoffs. They're a good team. They're a young team still. They're very well coached. I just don't think they're going to win the division. I think the Bills are going to win the division. But I do think they make the playoffs as a wild card team. They have that potential. obviously we don't know yet. Obviously, everything could change here in the next few weeks. But
Can I ask you guys a question though? As far as the division, how it shakes out, do you think they have a better record than the Dolphins and the Patriots this year? Then, do you think?
I definitely think they have a better record than the Patriots.
I don't.
You think the Patriots are going to win 10 games this year?
I think they win more than the Jets this year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whew.
There's a lot of football left, man.
And the Patriots are not a good team.
And the Jets haven't had a lot of convincing wins outside of
And they
one.
haven't had one bad loss. The Patriots have 2.
That's fine, man. I'm just that doesn't really matter. That there's got to be trends there. They haven't strung along a lot of bad losses.
You can't
And
count the hits and not the
Jets
misses.
haven't strung along a lot of good wins. I'm just gonna say that.
What are you?
We'll revisit.
You
this.
have the Packers winning in Buffalo, but them beating them in Green Bay is a
What does that
good
have
win.
to do with the Jets? It has nothing to do with the Jets.
It has everything to do with the Jets. You just discredited their wins.
No, I didn't. I said they haven't strung along a lot of convincing wins. They had one really convincing win this year.
I get it, but they can only play
That's
the
not me
schedule they play. They have 4 road wins this year. 4 of their 5 wins are on the road.
Yeah, you're gonna tell me that one in Cleveland was convincing to you?
No,
that's my point.
I didn't say the Jets are a Super Bowl contender, but they're a legitimate playoff team.
You always jump to the top. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they haven't strung along any convincing wins. They haven't. They've had one convincing win, which was against the Packers, and was impressive. I gave them that. But they haven't strung along, just like the Patriots haven't strung along a lot of convincing losses. They've been in every game, and they've had some good wins as well. But I'm just saying, we'll revisit this. It's fine.
I mean, they scored 31 points in Cleveland,
I think they
and that's a
finished-
bad
I
offense.
think they finished last in the division this year.
really,
Yep.
Man,
really,
Yep, I do.
wow.
I mean, as
okay.
much as you want to talk about they're so much better than the Patriots, they're only 2 wins ahead of the Patriots, guys. Like, if the season finishes out and the Patriots have one more win than them, are you really going to be that surprised?
I'm just saying they.
And I think we all agree that the Dolphins are better.
They are literally
do we
undefeated
all
on the
agree
road.
do we all agree that the Dolphins are better?
I think so.
Okay, so
But,
the Dolphins are.
But
gonna,
I was big on the Dolphins. to
Okay,
begin
but the
with.
Dolphins will probably finish second in this division, and I think the Patriots are only 2 games behind them. You're telling me the Patriots are 2
Okay,
games behind and can't catch
But
them?
would that be shocking to you if the Dolphins and Jets finished 10-7?
No. But I'm saying what I think is going to happen. I think the Patriots find a way to find more ways to win more games than the Jets. Maybe one game. They're only 2 games behind them, dude. We're not acting like they're like far and away
but
better.
the Patriots are not good at anything. What are
Yet
the
they're 2 games. They're only 2 games behind them.
I get it, but Trevor, the Patriots have had a very easy schedule to this point, and one of their easiest games, they just got destroyed at home. What makes you think the Patriots are a good team?
I mean, literally last year they were a playoff team and they had a Pro Bowl quarterback.
They had
I'm
the
saying.
easiest schedule last season.
They don't have the easiest schedule this year, though.
I know, but they still have an easy schedule. And the Bears
I'm
were
talking
supposed
about- I mean-
we all picked the Patriots to win by multiple scores last week.
Yeah. That was a massive letdown spot. I mean, the Chiefs
that-
lost to the Colts, for Christ's sakes. I mean, there's teams
Okay,
that happens a
I
lot.
get it, Trevor, but the Chiefs didn't get their teeth kicked in. The Colts won by a game-winning
We were
drive.
terrible against the Colts.
No,
What are you talking about?
exactly. The Chiefs handed the loss to them. The Patriots sucked in that game.
We had no business losing the Colts, and they had no business losing the Bears. It's football, man.
I get
That's
it,
what happens.
but the Colts. It was at their house. The Chiefs muffed the punt, missed multiple field goals. Travis Kelce dropped the touchdown. They lost by 3.
yeah, I mean, an
The
interception
Patriots
happened.
got beat by multiple
and
touchdowns.
the Patriots. Yeah, no, the Patriots lost the momentum game when
Against
when
a
the football
horrible
hit the
team.
wire and the other team got the ball. I
Like
get
the
it.
Colts are clearly better than the Bears. Like we can definitively say that. The Colts are not a good team. They're 3-3-1. The Bears are a terrible team.
The Colts have been pretty bad. But yeah.
Again, in New England, on a primetime game, Bill Belichick's going to pass Howlis for the all-time.
benching their quarterback. I mean, that's
I'm just saying,
Justin
man.
Fields ain't
Like,
getting benched, bro. I'm
those
just
are
saying,
apples
like-
and oranges, in my opinion. Those comparisons, I just think the Jets are a significantly better team
Do
than
you
the
think,
Patriots.
you think it's apples and oranges compared to the Patriots losing to the Bears and the Chiefs losing to the Colts?
Yes,
the Chiefs have no business losing to the Colts.
I just gave the context. Despite the fact the Chiefs had their worst game of the season, they lost by 3 points on the road.
the Chiefs
Patriots got shelled by a bad Bears team at home.
Their quarterback.
Trevor, I'm just saying that the Bears are a bad team on the road. They can't score points, and they beat the crap out of the Patriots in New England. Am I lying here? Am I making this up?
I understand the dynamic of who's better. The Chiefs are far better, and the loss to the Colts. The Colts may be a little bit better than the Bears, but like I don't think it's that crazy to compare those 2 losses.
The losses could have been any more different. The Chiefs still could have won that game
I'm
multiple
not
times
talking
despite
about how
all
the
those bad
losses
things.
happened. I'm talking about the severely different expectations to who we all. You just said we were all said the Patriots should win by double digits. We all expected the Chiefs to dominate.
But wouldn't you guys agree that had more to do with the fact the Bears are bad?
I'm not. Bro,
I had the Patriots 6-11.
the Colts are bad, and we still lost. That's my point. The dynamic there is similar. We all were way over on the favorite of the Patriots. We all were way over on the favorite of the Chiefs.
I mean,
we
Trev,
both lost.
you said that the Patriots haven't had a lot of bad losses. They lost by 13 to Miami. They lost by 11 to Baltimore.
Miami absolutely went nuclear, and they're all healthy at that time.
What
do you mean?
I mean, the only teams that they've beaten this year are Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Cleveland. Those are
And the
worst
Jets
teams.
were supposed to lose to Cleveland. They took a miracle from them to win. It's not.
I get it, Trevor. I'm saying the Patriots have not beaten a good team this year, and they've lost to bad teams.
Okay. It's a long season. I'm saying we will revisit this when the Jets are last in the
I mean, they still got to play the Jets, Vikings, Bills, Cardinals, Bengals, Dolphins, Buffalo again. Where are the 10 victories in that? I don't see them. They don't have an easy game left on their schedule outside of maybe the Raiders, and that's in Las
I'm not
Vegas.
saying they have to win 10 games.
I'm just saying the Jets have a much more favorable
Jets have
schedule.
to win 10 games.
The Jets have a much more favorable schedule than the Patriots do. Much more.
That doesn't mean much, dude. The season's been strange. There's been losing. There's been upsets every single week. I mean, the Giants have won 4 straight games, for Christ's sake. Like, what do we? I mean,
Okay, so you have the Jets as a playoff team. I have them. Okay, Trevor doesn't. Okay, now moving to the Dolphins. This is a team I was very big on start the season. Injury-ridden team this year. Tua has been in and out of the lineup. Teddy Bridgewater was out of the lineup. They were going to Skylar Thompson. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek's dealt with injuries. Gesicki's been in and out of the trade block. We don't know what's going on with him. Xavier Howard's out here giving out STDs. Like, we just got a lot of stuff going on with the Miami Dolphins.
bro, that's a rough story.
And not to mention the fact that
suing
Mike
his ass.
McDaniel's been making some really weird. Like, I like him, but he's been making some really like odd decisions on that 4th and 3. Like, what the fuck?
His
are you doing?
shtick might get played out with those fans
Yeah, that was
pretty quick.
bad. And the whole concussion thing with Tua looking really bad on the franchise, the collusion stuff with Tom Brady. Tough schedule to start the season too. Yeah, I would definitely say that played a factor as well. But they've already beaten the Bills and Ravens, so they've proven they can play against good teams. And I had this team in the playoffs from the jump, and I'm not budging. I think the Dolphins are a good, legitimate team, like we just talked about. I think they have a. I said from the beginning of the season, I think the Bills beat them for this division by 1 game. And now with them having the tiebreaker over the Bills, the pressure is now on the Bills to beat them later on in the season. And I think that the Dolphins still have a chance to win this division, as crazy as that sounds. I'm still not the guy that believes the Bills are going to finish with the 1 seed. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's still going to be either the Chiefs. I think it'll probably be the Chiefs. I think the Bills are going to lose. They're going to stub their toe because Trevor, you kept making that point earlier about them winning their midseason Super Bowl, and then they struggled last season when they did the exact same thing. I think that's how the Bills are going to play down the stretch, guys, and I think they're going to lose some pretty head-scratching games, whereas the Dolphins are going to continue to gain ground, and with them having that tiebreaker, that's going to be fun to watch down the stretch. I still think the Bills win the division, but it's not going to be by much because the Dolphins are a legit team. I have them as a legitimate playoff contender.
Yeah, me too. I like the Dolphins. I think when healthy, if Tua can, they weren't very impressive with Tua's return last week.
No,
they were not very good.
In fact, they were bad.
They should have destroyed. But I mean, I just love the weapons. The 2 speedsters between Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill that's such a tough thing for defenses to prepare for. And then Gesicki is a good tight end, regardless of what you think of him. He's inconsistent, but when he's implemented into the game plan, when he's not just being a blocker, because there are those weeks where he just blocks and they want to run the ball. Mostert's been a good running back for them so far. They have Chase Edmonds, who's the scat back of the team. This offense is loaded, and it's a fun offense. And the defense is good too when they get it together. I mean, they've had very inconsistent games where they'll play stout in that secondary, especially. But the offensive line is really good. They tend, as ironic as it is Tua being protected. He's dealt with some major injuries already, but it has a good offensive line, and they can protect him. And if they protect him long enough to make plays, I put them up against most teams in the NFL. And especially if they make the playoffs, they're a threat. That's a dangerous offense. And McDaniels is a bright mind, a bright, young, growing mind in the league. I think he's going to be a fun head coach for a while. Strange cat, but he's very, obviously one of those just strange guys that's just a beautiful mind, though. I think he's a very smart head coach, and I think he'll get better. But if Tua can stay, and they have a good backup too. Even if Tua goes down a couple more games or whatever, I think Teddy Two Gloves is a solid backup.
Yep.
And he works that system well. A very conservative guy that will just get the ball in the playmaker's hands, similar to like Alex Smith kind of was. So, yeah, I like them. I like them a lot. I think they're a fun team. I think that offense is electric when both those guys are going and doing their best. So, I think they win a lot of games. I think they finish second in this division and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I do think they make the playoffs. They have such a great team out there. Gesicki, Hill, Waddle. Yep. The only concern, I guess, that people should have is can Tua stay healthy? Because we've seen Tua throughout his entire career, even college, is injury after injury after injury. Can we see a Tua stay healthy and lead this team to a deep playoff push? Yeah, I can see it. Even without Tua, like Trevor said, with Teddy, Teddy can come in there and fit just perfect with this team.
Yeah,
I think any quarterback can come in here, and if you have those kinds of weapons, I think you can succeed in this team. So yeah, I do have him finishing second in this division as well. But I think it's gonna come down to maybe the last couple games of the season to see if the Bills win the division or if the Dolphins win the division.
All right, and then we have a couple more teams I want to talk about. One of these teams are legit in my eyes, and one of these teams are not, and I was never big on them to begin with, even though they get the hype every single year. And let's start with them, the Chargers. So the Chargers are currently in the 7th spot for the wild card. If the season ended right now, they would technically make the playoffs. This is the worst team in the NFL with a winning record. Look across the board right now, and every single team that has a winning record in the league is better than the Chargers.
Herbert's been bad the last couple weeks.
They can't run the ball.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. They
not
can't
looked
run
good.
the ball.
Yeah.
They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They have one of the worst head coaches in football.
Dropping like flies.
They have no home field advantage, and as always, they are insanely banged up. J.C. Jackson's not out for the year.
Mike Williams.
Yeah, Mike Williams is out for at least 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa, no end in sight of when he's
Keenan
going to come
Allen can't
back.
stay healthy.
I mean, Corey
crazy.
Linsley's banged up.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert's still banged up. The Chargers are frauds. And I told you guys from the beginning, for the second consecutive year, this team is not going to make the playoffs. They are 4-3 right now. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, it doesn't get any easier. And again, they have no home field advantage. They are depleted across the board. And Brandon Staley is a terrible head coach.
Yeah, that loss to the Seahawks was rough to watch last week.
And I called that shit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the easier games they're going to have for the rest of the season. They are not a good team. Justin Herbert cannot. Guys, this is why I said last year he is an elite talent, but is not an elite quarterback.
He's not a winner.
Elite quarterbacks can
not.
elevate teams.
He's not a winner
He
yet.
doesn't elevate teams. Just against the Broncos a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He threw the ball, 50 times and had 0 touchdowns.
He's doing his best Tom Brady impression.
I mean, this team, guys, they're a disappointment again.
Yeah.
And they're frauds. They're going to miss the playoffs again, Trevor.
Yeah, I if they weren't as banged up as they are right now, I would say that the talent, and I believe in Justin Herbert as the talent, would find a way to win. But they are such a terribly coached team. They don't know how to play situational football. They're the most banged up team in football every year, it seems like. He just lost his only true deadly weapon in the offense outside of Austin Eckler, because I can't even place Keenan Allen in that category yet because he's yet to stay on the field consistently. Mike Williams has been good when he's healthy, and he's called upon to be that guy, and he's a touchdown threat every single week. He's down for a solid month plus. That's a tough stretch for them to be without him. Austin Eckler can only do so much. Herbert has not looked good to me, even talent-wise, the last couple of weeks. I don't think he's healthy either. I think this is a wash season for them, and it sucks because this was supposed to be this season before he gets paid.
Yep.
To take advantage of that, and it's terrible, man. He's a what 500 record right on his career, or below 500.
19-20. He had a
my
chance to finally go over
God,
500
dude.
in his career.
Yeah, he's just not a winner yet. And he's in a bad situation. Granted, it should be on paper a great situation because that roster is loaded. But they cannot keep. I don't know what is in the water over there, man. They cannot keep people healthy in that program. It's strange. I don't know what it is. It's every single year you can count on it, man. So, yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, man. They're gonna miss the playoffs, not because I think they lack talent or they're not a good team. I think they are a good team when healthy, poorly coached nonetheless. But I think a good, solid team when they're healthy. But they're not healthy, and they're not gonna be healthy for the rest of the year. It looks like, and I can't bank on that to be a playoff team. And if they made the playoff, I would not bank $5 on them. So, yeah, they're gonna miss the playoffs.
I'm with you guys on this one.
Yeah!
I think the Chargers. I wouldn't call them frauds. I just
Unfortunate.
unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunate.
Bad luck.
Yeah.
Just
They're talented
injury
as hell.
after injury. We saw J.C. Jackson a couple of weeks ago go down,
They
and then
paid
he's
him
out
so
for the
much money,
season.
dude.
And then
Oh,
last
God.
week we saw I think it was Mike Williams go down.
That was the same game.
Yeah.
Was it the same game?
Yeah, JC's been banged up all year, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's insane the amount of key players that obviously Keenan Allen not playing pretty much
Yep.
all this season.
Yep.
It's just they can't catch a break. I don't know what it is, and then
They're
obviously
catching all the breaks.
The wrong break.
the wrong break, and Justin Herbert probably playing his worst football in his career the past 2 games.
Yep.
He hasn't really shown anything who Justin Herbert really is. I think he has great potential, but I think that he is limited to what his head coach is doing to him. I think it comes down to the head coach and believing in all these statistics or whatever they fucking call it.
Analytics.
Analytics. of going 4th and 1 every single fucking time. It's like,
Yeah,
I think
if you're a good team, you can do that.
I think this coach is ruining this franchise. I think this franchise had a great head coach. I think this team could potentially be in the fight for the division with the Chiefs because
sure.
they have the roster to do it.
I've done 11 games this year.
Yeah, they have the roster to do it. And it's crazy to see how bad they're struggling this year. I get it, injury after injury after injury, but at the same time, if you're a good team, you can kind of help overcome those big key losses. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're not going to be able to replace that same player, but you can help the damage be pretty minimal to what it could be. But they're not doing that. So, yeah, I just don't see the Chargers getting any healthier and going into the playoffs.
I like the fact that we all just agreed on that universally. And then we have one final team that I want to touch about because I think that these are the only relevant teams that we should talk about. These other teams that need to earn their right. I think the Colts need to earn their right to get back in the conversation.
We don't know what Sam Elliott is going to look like either.
He might be an upgrade. Who knows? He might be terrible.
Can't be much worse.
Yeah, exactly. Matt Ryan's been atrocious.
Yeah.
The last team I want to talk about is a team that I'm actually very big on, and I was big on them from the beginning of the season because they made a lot of upgrades and they're finally starting to show. The Bengals. This team is like Undertaker in the coffin. You know, you see him dead, and you think it's over, and all of a sudden that motherfucker just rises up. They have won 4 of their last 5 games. They are banged up. Jamar Chase is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks. Might even be longer than that.
He barely avoided the IR, man.
Yes, barely avoided, and who's to say how he'll be when he comes back, because that's a big injury. But Joe Burrow has looked awesome over this last month and some change.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about this Bengals team that people do not pay enough attention to, but I think is the most incredible stat of the season. They have not given up a second half touchdown.
Fucking insane.
This season. That is unbelievably great.
Yeah.
They are by far the best second half defense in the NFL, and it's not even close. This team, man, could legitimately get back to the AFC Championship, and they're not even in the playoff picture yet. They're still on the outside looking in. But guys, I'm telling you, this team is for real. I know at first they looked really bad, but a lot went wrong for them at the beginning of the season. A lot was going wrong for them. They found their groove offensively. Their offensive line has finally started to gel, and their defense is for real. This is a very good team. You can make. I'm gonna go this far. I think they're the 3rd best team in the AFC right now. I think they're the 3rd best team in the. I think they're better than the Dolphins. I think they're better than the Jets. I definitely think they're better than the Chargers. I think they're better than the Titans. Better than any other team outside of the Chiefs and Bills. Definitively. I think the Dolphins and them are pretty neck and neck, but they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better skill position players overall because I think that Joe Mixon gives them that edge, and they have a better offensive line than the Dolphins do, even though the Dolphins have a good offense, and they have the better defense. The Dolphins have a good defense. The Bengals have a great defense. So I think the Bengals right now, man, if everything goes as planned, Jamar Chase gets back healthy, this team could be back in the AFC Championship, guys. I could legitimately see it. They are 100% a playoff contender, borderline Super Bowl contender.
No, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but I do believe they are a playoff contender. I got to see more from them, man. Like, I know they played well the last couple weeks, but if you look, I mean, so they lost to Steelers in week 1. Steelers are a bad team. I know they don't have TJ Watt. They had TJ Watt in that game against the Bengals. They lost that game by 3. The Steelers are bad, and they lost that game. They lost to the Cowboys the very next week, 20-17. They've been fully healthy since that. The only team that they really convincingly beat was the Jets, 27-12. Then they went and beat the Dolphins, but that was the game Tua got knocked out, and then there was just a terrible game from the Dolphins after that. They won 27-15 on that game, but that was a strange game. A lot of injuries in that one for the Dolphins. Then they went on to lose to the Ravens, who I think are the better team still. I still think the Ravens are the better team. And then they went and beat the Saints barely. They went down there and barely beat the Saints. That was a neck-and-neck game the whole way, and the Saints we know are not a good team right now. And then they went and beat the Falcons. They beat the living Christ out of the Falcons, 35. So that was their only real big blow-up game. And after that game, Jamar Chase, who's the key contributor that game, is out now for the next. But I will say this. Their schedule lightens up pretty good when Jamar Chase is missing. They play the Browns twice, they play the Panthers, and they play the Steelers again, and then they play the Titans. Obviously, they play us coming up in a few weeks, a handful of weeks. But their schedule is not that bad, man. So even with the healthy T. Higgins and a Boyd and a good running game and that defense obviously being what it is, they have allowed teams to get leads on them in the first half.
Yep.
So that's why the second adjustment is so impressive because their second half adjustments have been great. And they haven't allowed any second half touchdowns, but they've been giving up a healthy amount of points though in the first half. And if you do that against the Chiefs, or you do that against any of these competent other true contenders, which they don't really face though. So I mean, Jamar Chase picked probably the best time to get injured because the Browns, Panthers, Steelers are the next 3 games. You know what I mean? So I think they can win all those games without Jamar. I'm 100% sold they are a playoff contender, but I do think a lot of the games that they've been a little strange this year.
Would it shock you if they go 9-1 down the stretch?
No, because their schedule's pretty easy. But that doesn't really sell me on who they are truly.
And they have the Bills and Cincinnati.
Yeah, the Bills. That'd be a fun game
At the end of the season too.
The game against us and the Bills is the true test to see who they really are. Yeah. Because a lot of things we all know, we all agree, a lot of fluky things broke their way last year. A lot of things, calls, just certain things that injuries to other teams, things that broke their way down the stretch of the season last year. Mahomes having an absolute hiccup of a game, strange, but that does contribute to the point that their second half adjustments on defense is incredible, and that showed from that game against the Chiefs when they shut Patrick Mahomes down for the most part. Shows that the second half adjustments for the defense has been incredible since that point. So I will give them that. Their defense has been good. Their offensive line has been playing better. Joe has not been getting hit nearly as much as he was the first 4 weeks of the season. That's huge for them. But Jamar Chase going down is a test. I know their schedule is light, but if they struggle offensively down the stretch against these PUD matchups, and Jamar Chase being down, that's when I want to kind of see how they respond to being tested down a guy, because we've seen that all the good teams tend to bounce back and respond when they lose. And look at the Chiefs doing this season without Tyreek Hill. Everyone was doubting us. Mahomes is balling out, having one of his best seasons of his career. That's what true professionals, that's what true elite contenders do. I want to see if Joe Burrow can do that without Jamar. Yep. So I am buying them as a playoff contender for sure. Not even remotely close to a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
Yes, playoff contender for sure. I do think they have the team, the talent, the quarterback.
The coach is good too, man.
Yeah, the coach to lead them to the playoffs. Yes, I do think their schedule does lighten up after now.
Yeah.
They have a pretty easy schedule coming up until they face the Chiefs and the Bills. I think those are the 2 toughest.
Got to play the Ravens again.
I still think that's the 2 toughest opponents they have
at
left.
home. Though it is at home
for sure.
Yeah. 5 home games still left on their schedule.
And Ravens barely beat them. Yeah, it's the last game.
So. But with Jamar Chase, I want to see what Joe Burrow is without Jamar Chase. Can he put up the same amount of numbers? Can he put up the same touchdowns that he usually does with Chase? Because Jamar Chase has put some of those numbers has inflated some of those numbers for Joe Burrow, making those ridiculous catches.
After the catch,
after the catches,
Sure.
Like like a 10-yard. No. It's like a 10-yard throw and taking it to the house. Kind of like what Tyreek Hill was to Patrick Mahomes in a way.
For sure.
So it'll be interesting to see how this Bengals offense works without their best weapon. Are they going to go into the running game and just involve Mixon a lot more than they have in the past, or are they still going to rely on T. Higgins and expect him to carry the load of Jamar Chase?
I keep an eye on trends, and they've been getting better as the weeks have gone on, but they haven't had many convincing wins yet as a trend. They haven't strung along any convincing wins. They've had some
good
bad
opponents
losses already this year.
Against good opponents too.
Right.
So I got to see what they showed me in the next few weeks. But yeah, I do think that they're in the playoffs just for the simple fact that their schedule lightens up a lot.
Yeah.
Up until, like I said, they face the Chiefs and all that.
Browns twice in the next 5 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So
Titans and Panthers. They play some bad
Titans should be a trap game though, bro. Titans tend to win weird games like that. I can see Titans.
We'll see how Malik Willis looks this week
for sure.
Yeah. So I think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to get Jamar Chase at the right time, and they're just going to, do their thing.
Awesome. Well, that is our current AFC playoff picture and how we see it right now. We'll do one next week for the NFC. Let you guys know what we think about them right now. But yeah, we thought it'd be a good opportunity with the Chiefs having a bye week to spend some time to look at the AFC as a whole and see where we think things are going, how things have gone, and we'll leave it there. We have one more order of business to get to, guys. What's it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish up each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports, they deserve those L's in the world of sports. Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, who's holding the L for you this week, and why is it F1?
It's not F1. But there's the Mexico Grand Prix, so check it out. Boom. Tomorrow, I believe it's 12 o'clock? Yeah, I don't know. That's tomorrow on ESPN. Check it out. I'm going to give it to the Astros in Major League Baseball. Why am I going to give it to the Astros? Well, because of a player called Nick Castellanos who plays for the Phillies.
I know where you're going. I like it.
I'm sure you guys seen the ending of the game. He had a saving catch to send it to extra innings.
By the way, great call by Kyle Schwarber, their center fielder, to go shallow.
Yes.
Because it was perfect play.
Yep.
Yeah.
But when the last out was caught, the first thing he did was when he started running was lift his jersey and his shirt up. We all know what.
Oh, yeah.
We all know what that reference was. We all know what.
There's no
he meant.
wiretap here, motherfucker.
Yeah, send me the fucking the
Don't
little
buzz me.
vibration.
Don't buzz me, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. The Astros, I think, are forever going to be known as the cheaters who got a World Series out of it. Unfortunately, they didn't take that trophy away. I, in my opinion, I think that's something that the league should have done, because cheating in a major event like that, it just has no room for sports. I get the whole the PED era or whatever they call it. I get it. They were all cheating, but at this point, I think they were the only team out there making it very well known that they were cheating, but they didn't get caught till after. So yeah, man. I love what Nick Castellanos did there. I think they deserve all the hit that they get for that cheating scandal, and they continue to get. And I really hope the Phillies win this World Series, and I hope they all lift their shirts, like looking at their dugout. You know what I mean? And they all celebrate like that. What is it, like the Jose Altuve, kind of like that? No, just go like that and kind of say no.
Yeah, I love it.
So, yeah, man. For that reason, the Astros have to do me a favor and
Hold this L. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
Klay Thompson knocked down 4 3-pointers in the second half of Thursday night's 123 to 110 win over the Miami Heat. But in the post-game press conference, he wasn't all smiles after the game as he had to address an all-time great. Thompson said he had, quote-unquote, one thing to say, and proceeded to address the recent comments from Hall of Famer and current TNT analyst Charles Barkley, who said on Tuesday night that Thompson's play was, quote-unquote, slipping, and that he's, quote-unquote, not the same guy he used to be. Thompson implored him to try a little empathy while he continues his recovery. I'm just going to play what Klay had to say here real quick.
I got one thing to say. It hurts when, someone like Charles Barkley with the platform he has says you're not the same player prior to the injuries you have. It's like, no duh, man. Consecutive years, I tore my ACL and my Achilles in consecutive years and still help a team win a championship. I mean, it hurt hearing that because it's like, man, I put in so much freaking effort to get back to this point. Like, it's hard to even put into words what I had to do to be the player I am today. And it's like, I played 57 games in 3 years. Like, give me some freaking time to get that back and just hear someone say, oh, he's not the same as he was prior to the injury. It's like, duh. Like, who goes through something like that and comes back? I don't know. It just hurt my heart hearing that. But you know what? I'm going to internalize it, and it's going to be fuel for me to be even better. And I think I'm very proud of what we accomplished last year, and I feel like I was a huge part of it. So I'm not going to let these injuries be a crutch for me. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to have a great year. I bet on that.
I just want to say I love that from Klay Thompson so much. I'm going to say, man, Charles Barkley put his foot in his mouth on that one because, first of all, Charles Barkley, a ringless Hall of Famer, doesn't know what it's like to taste that sweet nectar of not only one championship, not only two, not only three, 4 championships Klay Thompson contributed to. And is 100% a massive piece of that nucleus had winning those championships. Arguably the second biggest contributor outside of that KD era to Steph Curry. Being one of the second greatest shooter only to Steph Curry in the NBA. So that was I don't think he could have said any better. He wasn't self-deprecating in any way. He wasn't feeling sorry for himself. He was agreeing that he's just going to use that as fuel. But he did admit that it hurt to hear that from Chuck, as it should. I mean, that's not what you want to hear. I mean, he's a guy that's battled. But I mean, the lack of awareness from Charles Barkley to say that about, he's like, well, no, duh, man. I've come off two injuries that one of the two most guys don't even come back from,
yep,
and or are even remotely the same.
Yep.
And he's been playing at a high level. He hit 3 3-pointers in that game to ice that game against the Miami Heat, which I did watch that game. It was a battle. He played a pivotal moment. And granted, it's just a regular season game early on in the year, but still, seeing him in the early part of the year kind of getting his feet under him, well, no duh, he's not going to look like it's a long season. He's coming back from 2 treacherous injuries, man.
Yep.
So give the guy some credit for
the
actually
same leg, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. One was the knee, one was the Achilles. So that was terrible. I mean, this is terrible timing, terrible lack of awareness on Chuck's part. So I don't think Clay could have said it any better. I love that he's outspoken about that. He's become more of an outspoken guy as the years has come on. He did sound like he was looking before he did that interview a little bit.
Per usual,
dude. Yeah, he sounded like he was like already
Clay likes the green.
taking a couple drags of the ganj there. But yeah, I love the guy. I've grown to like him a little bit more. I didn't like him too much early in his career, but I've come to like who he is as a person. And I love that he even addressed that right away. He said, I have one thing to say. He didn't even want to talk about how good he played that night. He just wanted to address those comments that he took, to heart and didn't like it. So for that, the lack of awareness, I love Chuck, but do me a solid, buddy, and hold this L.
Do you guys remember what happened on March 23rd, 2022? Just take it. Do you have a guess whatsoever in the sports world, and particularly in the NFL? March 23rd, 2022. Okay. Tyreek Hill was traded to the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, that was your birthday gift, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 2 days before my fucking birthday. And the year before that, we re-signed DeMarcus Robinson for one more year. So I've just been having some great birthdays. Thanks, Chiefs. The Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins for 5 draft picks. And there was, needless to say, a lot of reaction to that. It was the biggest story all offseason. What the Chiefs are going to do, how they're going to react to that. We've talked about it a million times on this show. And thanks to Eddie, I think we've established and staked our flag. We're done doing that. That doesn't mean we don't got some receipts. And my favorite thing to look back on is when other athletes put out their name and their takes out there and try to make it sound like they're confident and leaning into the fact that the Chiefs are now showing blood and they can smell blood in the water. And it shouldn't shock anybody that this guy's the one that was speaking out. So NFL.com posted it on their platforms, and you obviously have all your people out there, your normal guys, your normal ladies out there, putting out their opinions on those threads. One notable comment came from one Keenan Allen, who said on that very same post, and we have the transcripts and the receipts right here, quote, "This one gonna expose some people." The shrug emoji. Glad he out the division, too, with 2 crying, laughing emojis, and then hashtag respect. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Chiefs are 5-2, sole possession of the AFC West, highest scoring offense in the NFL by a wide margin, by over 2 points, 3 40-plus point games. Patrick Mahomes is on pace to have his best statistical season outside of his 2018 season, which he won MVP. And the Chargers, who Keenan Allen plays for, are looking to be what we all agreed on, are a fraudulent team that are not going to make the playoffs once again. And Keenan Allen has missed 6 games. So who exactly has been exposed since that time period and since that trade took place? And he says he's glad he's out the division too. Well, in hindsight, Keenan, so am I. Because the Chiefs got better. The Chiefs got 5 draft picks and got 3 starters out of that draft. And looked to be a young, promising, upcoming team after 4 straight seasons of hosting the AFC Championship. So hashtag respect to you, because you just gave us a lot more ammunition for this season and seasons to come. So Dr. or Mr. Keenan Allen, you need a doctor, because my God, you're always injured. Do me a solid and hold this L.
What I love about that tweet is he put hashtag respect while being disrespectful.
Gotta love
It's like, bro,
it's
come
like
on.
it's like the I ain't being racist, but or no disrespect, but it's always whatever you say after that's gonna be racist or gonna be disrespectful.
Yeah, that's funny.
Appreciate you, Keenan Allen, and I appreciate all you guys. You guys have been awesome, man. I know you guys hang tough. We have even our Starcade Media family out here giving us some comments and correcting us on some of the things things that we may miss up on. That's the beauty of a live stream show, man, that you sometimes mess up on things, myself more than anybody else. But that's what we do here, man. That's we have fun each and every week, and we appreciate all you guys. If you have not already done it, we would love it if you went to our YouTube channel and went ahead and subscribed. Our subscriptions have gone up a lot, but we want to get a little bit further out there, guys, to monetize some of these things, get out more merch, do more things with you guys, be more active. The only way we're going to do that is if we get more support, and we appreciate each one of you who have already done that. Spread the word for us. We really appreciate you guys. You can follow us on all of our platforms that you see at the bottom of the screen. But, man, this has been a fun-filled show. I know it's been a bye week, but, man, we've had plenty to talk about because the sports world continues to evolve and rotate, and we have always something to talk about. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for chiming in and being a part of what we do here at the Spoken Podcast. So for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for the great Clay Wendler that puts all this stuff back together and the backdrop, go follow Red Tribe Cinema as well. He dropped a banger this week, reflecting on the Chiefs beating the Niners like he did. There's an awesome little drop at the end of the show that I know some of you have been around for a long time to remember Joe Montana. You'll appreciate it. I'm Lance Twidwell, the Spoken Podcast. Episode 190 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're here in 1 week's time to talk about the Chiefs taking on the Tennessee Titans, maybe Malik Willis led, maybe Ryan Tannehill led. All I do know is I'm feeling really good about that matchup, and I can't wait to break it down. We out of this bitch.
Later.